हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। तो आज मैं इसका नेक्स्ट पार्ट लेके आ चुका हूँ गाइस। तो बिना किसी देरी के चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं।
Chapter 100, Little Kitty fuses with the 200,000-year vicious beast level Dark Holy Dragon Right Claw. Fu Yi naturally noticed the black dragon claw phantom appearing on Zuching's right hand, but at this moment, he was very dissatisfied with this external spirit bone. Change it, absolutely must change it. Since Zuching had already become his wife, this external spirit bone absolutely could not be something of such low grade. Item, Dark Holy Dragon Right Claw Bone 200,000-year vicious beast level external spirit bone stock, 99,999 plus, price, oh. He looked at the items in the system mall. One had to know that this Dark Holy Dragon possessed an extreme darkness attribute, and its boost to Zuching would absolutely be enormous. System, give me one first. Congratulations to the host for successfully purchasing 1x 200,000-year vicious beast level Dark Holy Dragon Right Claw Bone. Detecting the host's inner desire, now helping the host's dependent, Zuching, absorb the Dark Holy Dragon external spirit bone. Huh, the system has this function too. How come he didn't notice it before? But that wasn't important. What was important was being able to replace that piece of trash Dark Knight Demon Dragon with this Dark Holy Dragon external spirit bone. Just at this moment, within Zuching's mental force C, the remaining mental force of the Dark Knight Demon Dragon was rampaging. However, Zuching was very clear that as long as she held out against this assault, the reward she would obtain would be unimaginable. Roar, roar, roar. The Dark Knight Demon Dragon was still showing off its power in Zuching's mental force C, unaware that a certain big shot who didn't want to reveal his name was about to arrive on the scene. A woo. The next moment, a terrifying dragon roar directly shattered all of Zuching's defenses of her mental force C. A giant dragon, over 1,000 jong long and filled with an aura of extreme darkness, looked down at Zuching and the tiny remnant soul beneath it. Roar. A shocking dragon roar spread out from Zuching's mental force C. The next moment, this massive dark dragon actually swallowed the Dark Knight Demon Dragon instantly. Zuching was completely stunned. How could such a terrifying giant dragon appear in her mental force C? The only possibility now was that her big brother Fu Yi was helping her from the outside. A woo. The dark dragon merged into Zuching's mental force C at this moment, and Zuching suddenly felt the spirit power within her body surging. A touch of coolness appeared on her right hand. Meanwhile, in the outside world. After Zuching completed the fusion with this vicious beast level Dark Holy Dragon Spirit Bone, her body was filled with an aura of extreme darkness. Meng Yiren and her grandparents, who had noticed this anomaly on the side, were frozen in place. Clang. With the help of the system, the Dark Holy Dragon's dragon claw was perfectly absorbed. And Zuching's spirit power soared in a straight line at this moment. Just the energy brought by this external spirit bone and the spirit ring pushed her own spirit power to the high level of 39. Now, she was only one level away from reaching the spirit ancestor realm. Hu tilde. Zuching exhaled a breath of turbid air. She felt her body light and airy, and her physical strength seemed to far exceed what it was before she absorbed this spirit ring. However, when she checked the spirit power within her body, she couldn't stay calm. Brother Fu Yi, my spirit power. However, before Zuching could finish, she saw three strange figures in front of her, including a tall, old man who looked quite disheveled. Not bad, already level 39. The distance to the next breakthrough isn't far. Seeing the little kitty finish absorbing the spirit ring and spirit bone, Fu Yi walked directly to her side and pulled her into his embrace. Yatilda brother Fu Yi is bad. Although Zuching was startled by Fu Yi's action, she had no intention of dodging. Instead, she obediently hid in Fu Yi's embrace. This scene was witnessed by Meng Yiren and her grandparents. Since you have finished absorbing the spirit ring and spirit bone, let's go. Fu Yi pinched Zuching's little nose. Of course, he naturally knew that the little beauty Meng Yiren was present, but so what? Zuching was his wife now, and he had just taken her body. If he were to neglect his own little kitty just for Meng Yiren's ethereal favorability, what difference would there be between him and a piece of trash? Him. Zuching naturally understood why her spirit power had surged like this, and that sky-covering black dragon in her mental force C, these things must have been caused by her big husband Fu Yi. Young friend, wait. Just as Fu Yi was about to take Zuching and leave this place, Meng Shu actually called out to him directly. What, still want a beating? Fu Yi looked back at Meng Shu, and at this moment, the Dragon Duke was extremely panicked. Your Excellency, this old woman would like to know which academy you are a teacher at. Just at this moment, Snake Granny, who had let Meng Shu call out to Fu Yi, spoke up, and Meng Yiren looked at her grandmother with a blank gaze. Asking about my location, could it be to make it convenient to seek revenge on me later? Fu Yi didn't understand either. What on earth were Meng Shu and Snake Granny doing? He had been out playing with Zuching for 4 days. If he didn't go back, that girl Xiao Wu would probably stir up some trouble again. No, Your Excellency, you have misunderstood. This old woman is Chao Tianxiang. My husband, Meng Shu, is the sect leader of the exotic beast sect, known as the Dragon Duke. Among spirit masters, most call us the Dragon Snake couple. What the hell is this self-introduction? What are they trying to pull? Meng Shu was also stunned, not knowing what his old woman was trying to do. So, get to the point, or I'm taking my little kitty and leaving. Fu Yi couldn't be bothered to waste words with them. So what if he was the Dragon Duke? So what if she was Snake Granny? He just wanted to go back and perform routine duties with his group of wives. I want my granddaughter to join the academy you are too. Meng Shu, ODO. Zuching, Ya Jie Ya. Fu Yi. His tilde if it's about this, it doesn't seem impossible. So that's it. The academy I am at is Tianshui Academy. The students inside are all girls, and I am just the lead instructor there. Hearing the request to let his granddaughter Meng Yiren enter Tianshui Academy, Fu Yi indicated that it was absolutely no problem. Of course, the little kitty in his arms still needed to be held tightly. After going back, that group of little girls would swarm him, and Zuching probably wouldn't even be able to grab a spot. After all, she was his newlywed little bride, so appropriate privileges should be given when the time was right. However, your little granddaughter's talent isn't particularly good. I believe you saw that during the battle with Zuching last time. Regarding Meng Yiren, her talent was indeed not high. Of course, that was compared to Zuching and the others. Compared to other spirit masters, Meng Yiren's own spirit and talent were considered to be in the ranks of a genius. Your Excellency, Yiren is very diligent in her cultivate every day, and besides. Chapter 101, The First Tianshui Auditor. Listening to Snake Granny's words, Fu Yi pondered for a moment. Although he appeared to be deep in thought, he was actually just putting on a show. After all, he didn't consider himself a particularly good person. To put it nicely, he was just a playboy who fell in love with every girl he saw. To put it bluntly, fill in the blanks yourself. I can agree to let your granddaughter join Tianshui team, but she must first join as an auditor. If, after 2 months, the members of the Tianshui team that I lead acknowledge your granddaughter's strength and character, then she can officially join our team. That's right, what Fu Yi said was joining the team, not joining the academy. If it were joining the academy, Meng Yiren would definitely be able to join given her talent. But if it were the team, Meng Yiren's talent wasn't particularly good. In his opinion, her talent was at most comparable to Hai Ru's, or perhaps even slightly lower. Snake Granny naturally understood the meaning behind Fu Yi's words and nodded directly to show her agreement. Yiren, from today on, you will follow this mentor to Tianshui Academy to study. It's no solution to keep you cooped up in the sect all the time without going out. Snake Granny patted her granddaughter on the shoulder, but at this moment, Meng Yiren was still in a daze. Why did she have the feeling that her grandmother had just sold her out with a few simple words? Little girl, are you sure you want to follow me to cultivate? The training of our Tianshui team is very arduous. Fu Yi didn't blush at all when telling lies, and the little kitty curled up in Fu Yi's arms was completely stunned upon hearing this. Cultivation is arduous. Where is it arduous? Every meal consists of high-level spirit beast meat, perfect simulated cultivation environments, complete sets of cultivation technique, footwork, and the top-tier yoga technique that accelerates cultivation. Aside from the mandatory group battles every afternoon, they only had the practice of the top-tier yoga technique before nightfall. They start training at 2 o'clock every afternoon, conduct 1 hour of actual combat practice, and then use the top-tier yoga technique to accelerate their cultivation speed for the night and the next morning. It can be said that throughout the entire day, except for the time from 2 o'clock to 4:30 in the afternoon, the rest of the time is free for them to arrange. However, the girls in their team are famously hardworking. Everyone is practicing and training with every spare second. After all, with such good conditions and such a handsome and gentle. Meng Yiren still hadn't recovered from the shock. She looked back at her grandmother, only to see the determination in her eyes, and that look of being disappointed at her lack of success when she looked at her. I am willing to join. Hearing her granddaughter agree, Snake Granny finally breathed a sigh of relief. She had always been a good judge of character. Not to mention that this was someone who could become a titled Douluo at such a young age. He definitely had his own unique insights into cultivation, and Yiren would definitely gain a lot by training with him. Since that's the case, don't move. I'll check your physical strength. Since Meng Yiren was temporarily a member of his Tianshui team, he should check Meng Yiren's body. Fu Yi took Zuching and slowly walked in front of Meng Yiren. At this moment, Meng Yiren stood motionless in place. She had met Fu Yi and Zuching before, so she didn't think they would harm her. ZZZZT. Fu Yi pointed a single finger at the center of Meng Yiren's eyebrows. The next moment, faint wisps of electric current gradually spread from the center of her eyebrows to all her limbs and bones, and Fu Yi naturally learned of Meng Yiren's physical information when the current fed back to his fingertips. Tisk, I really didn't expect it. This girl Meng Yiren is really hiding her true colors, she actually has AC cup standard. It's really not bad, and her butt is also very big and good for childbearing. Ahem. Fu Yi meant that Meng Yiren's current physical constitution could completely absorb a spirit ring under 1,800 years, and her mental force was also quite good. He definitely didn't mean anything else. But having said that, regarding these English letters, one has to mention Zuching's good sister, Zhu Zuyun. That is at least an E, maybe even an F. Fortunately, Zuching still has a lot of room for growth, but her current D cup firmly ranks second among all of Fu Yi's wives, second only to her sister, Zhu Zuyun. I have to say, the genes of the Star Luo Zhu family are truly good. Fu Yi. B. Awesome. Your body is quite good. Go absorb this man-faced demon spider that is over 1,700 years old. With your physical constitution, it is just right to absorb this spirit ring. After hearing the first sentence Fu Yi said, Meng Yiren almost couldn't hold it in and wanted to call Fu Yi a pervert, but fortunately, she heard what Fu Yi said afterwards. Grandma. Meng Yiren was still very reserved at this moment, and the Dragon Duke also raised his own question. But isn't the limit for an ordinary spirit master's third spirit ring around 1,200 years? Fu Yi, ya. Believe it or not, are you her teacher now, or am I her teacher? If something happens, I can take responsibility. Stubborn, keep being stubborn. Since you already agreed to let me lead her, you're now running over here saying my teaching has problems. Are you messing with me? You. The Dragon Duke was so angry at Fu Yi that he directly clutched his chest, while Snake Granny stood aside with her old partner. Old man, since we have let Yiren become a student in his team, we must trust the judgment of the Crowned One. Listening to his old woman's words, the Dragon Duke remained silent. Crowned One. The other party was indeed a Crowned One. How could the spirit power of someone who could beat him, a high-level spirit Douluo, be low? Sigh tilde perhaps I am just old. Meng Yiren absorbed the spirit ring, while Fu Yi held the little kitty and waited silently on the side. Snake Granny and the Dragon Duke were looking at their granddaughter with nervous faces. You must know that this was a man-faced demon spider over 1,700 years old. Although they had previously thought about hunting it to serve as their granddaughter's spirit ring, that decision was made based on a misjudgment of the man-faced demon spider's spirit ring age. Now that they clearly knew this was a 1,700-year-old man-faced demon spider, although Snake Granny believed that this mysterious young man, Fu Yi, would not harm her granddaughter like this, she still couldn't help but be afraid in her heart. Time passed minute by minute, and the sweat on the little girl Meng Yiren's forehead became more and more abundant. Drip. Sweat from the center of her eyebrows dripped onto the ground, and at this moment, Meng Yiren's pretty face was filled with solemnity. Fu Yi also found a cool place to sit on the ground with the little kitty, and he was still keeping a close eye on the situation on Meng Yiren's side. In his view, there was almost no problem for Meng Yiren to absorb this spirit ring. Of course, when a problem arose, he would naturally step in to solve it. However, before any problem occurred, he wanted to test the willpower that Meng Yiren possessed. After all, this was a super spirit ring that, in the original story, the Child of Luck, Tang San, had almost lost his life to barely absorb. Chapter 102, Meng Yiren's Opportunity, 8 Spider Lances. Meng Yiren's absorption of the man-faced demon spider was just like Zhu Qing's absorption of the Dark Knight demon dragon. The spirit rings of such super spirit beasts would always contain a small remnant of the spirit beast's soul. Tang San from the original work suffered deeply from this, but Tang San was only 12 years old at the time. One must know that as one grows, a spirit master's physical strength and skeletal development will become increasingly stronger. This situation can also be clearly reflected in spirit masters. Not to mention a girl like Meng Yiren, who conducts hidden weapons training and physical training every day. Her physical fitness is not much weaker than the original Tang San, but her mental force might not necessarily be able to withstand the erosion of the man-faced demon spider's mental force. Brother Fu Yi, do you think Meng Yiren can successfully absorb this spirit ring? Zhu Qing was naturally an emotional and kind-hearted girl. Seeing the expression of pain and endurance on Meng Yiren's cheeks, she couldn't help but feel a pang of heartache. It's fine, I just checked. Her physical strength is very high. As long as she can withstand the mental attack from the man-faced demon spider's remnant soul, there shouldn't be any problems. After hearing the words of Fu Yi and Zhu Qing, Snake Granny and Dragon Duke couldn't help but break into a cold sweat for their granddaughter. One must know that soul shock only appears in 10,000-year spirit beasts, yet this 1,700-year level man-faced demon spider actually possessed soul shock. Your Excellency, my granddaughter she. In the end, Dragon Duke couldn't sit still. After all, this was his precious granddaughter. Without the cultivation of a spirit king, how could she possibly withstand the soul shock? Rest assured, the soul backlash erupted by a 1,000-year level man-faced demon spider is far less powerful than the soul shock produced when absorbing a 10,000-year spirit beast. Fu Yi took in the expressions of Dragon Duke and Snake Granny completely. Upon hearing his words, they also breathed a slight sigh of relief. 1 hour later, Meng Yiren's clothes were completely soaked with sweat, and a puddle of water remained around her. At this moment, her willow eyebrows were tightly knitted, and her originally rosy face appeared extremely pale. But at this very moment, inside Meng Yiren's sea of mental force, this was a strange, huge spider. It had 8 thin and long legs, like spears, exceeding 3 meters in length. These long legs were not only thin and long, but the tips were also extremely slender and sharp. Its entire body was covered in a black carapace, shiny and bright, reflecting a deep purple luster under the light within the sea of mental force, just like black metal armor. On its lower abdomen, there were some white patterns. These white patterns intertwined and converged, forming the shape of a ferocious human face. That's right, this was the man-faced demon spider that had been dealt the final blow by Meng Yiren. However, looking at its current posture, it was likely angered to death. After all, being inexplicably knocked unconscious, and then waking up is a remnant soul to find itself being absorbed by someone else. Man-faced demon spider, I am more wrong than Doi. At this time, Meng Yiren's mental body had been firmly stuck to the spider web that resembled steel wire by this remnant soul. That's right, Meng Yiren had lost in the confrontation with the man-faced demon spider. Fu Yi perceived the situation within Meng Yiren's sea of mental force immediately through some small means. He slowly stood up and walked straight to Meng Yiren's side. Seeing Fu Yi stand up, Snake Granny and Dragon Duke hurriedly cast their gazes toward him. Tisk, this little thing is quite stubborn. Fu Yi muttered to himself, then pointed a finger at the center of Meng Yiren's brow. A wisp of 9-colored radiance surged directly into Meng Yiren's sea of mental force like a fierce dragon crossing a river. Trapped deep within the sea of mental force and about to be devoured by the man-faced demon spider, Meng Yiren only felt an aura of extreme terror staring fixedly at her. And the man-faced demon spider's fangs were only 0.01 centimeters away from Meng Yiren's neck, but in that short distance, the opponent stopped all movement. Roar. A dragon's roar, laden with majesty, instantly flooded Meng Yiren's sea of mental force. But at the very next moment, Meng Yiren witnessed a scene she would never be able to forget in her entire life. This was a giant dragon that blotted out the sky and sun. The opponent's gaze, full of arrogance and disdain, made Meng Yiren feel extremely fearful. Not for any other reason, but because the sea of mental force she was in was actually held in the hand of this 9-colored giant dragon. Similar to the feeling of standing in Tiga's hand. At this moment, Meng Yiren only felt that in the opponent's eyes, she was like an insignificant ant. Accompanied by a 9-colored radiance that suddenly burst forth, the remnant soul of the man-faced demon spider instantly turned into fly ash. Subsequently, the 9-colored giant dragon disappeared, and her sea of mental force returned to its original state. In the outside world, Fu Yi slowly withdrew this wisp of his aura, which had been diluted dozens of times. Behind Meng Yiren, 3 spirit rings quietly emerged. Yellow, yellow, purple. 1,700-year level man-faced demon spider spirit ring, successfully absorbed. A long time later. Hu tilde cough, cough, cough. Consciousness returning to her body, Meng Yiren gasped for breath. Although her face was still a bit pale at this moment, it was fortunate that she had finally absorbed the man-faced demon spider spirit ring. Of course, this was the first impression of Snake Granny and Dragon Duke. However, the first thing Meng Yiren did upon waking up was to look around, and finally, she cast her gaze on Fu Yi, who was sitting to the side with Zhu Qing. Was that giant dragon in my sea of mental force created by you? Meng Yiren stood up. Although she was somewhat exhausted from absorbing the spirit ring and confronting the man-faced demon spider's remnant soul, she still stubbornly stood up to ask Fu Yi. This little girl's willpower is not bad, I'd give it an 85. However, since you are in my team, you must focus on cultivating your weak mental force. Fu Yi looked back at Meng Yiren. If one were to judge by the mental force in the legend of the Dragon King, her mental force would only be around 300 or so. After all, in the Douluo era, anyone who could be called a genius would be considered a peerless genius in Do 3. Of course, since they are people from two different time spaces, the combat power standards are definitely different, so Fu Yi just said it casually. But regarding the matter of Tang Wulin, who possessed the Golden Dragon King bloodline and had unlocked the first layer of the bloodline, being unable to defeat a 100-year level man-faced demon spider all by himself. It's truly embarrassing for the Golden Dragon King bloodline. Heaven knows how low the combat power of Spirit Masters was in the Do 3 era. The protagonist group of 4+3 cannon fodder players, 7 people in total, almost overturned while fighting a 100-year man-faced demon spider. 100-year man-faced demon spider in the Do 3 era. Tisk, if you have the ability, line up for me, damn it, come one by one. Encountering a man-faced demon spider in the Do I era, I feel like I can counter-kill. Encountering a man-faced demon spider in the Do 2 era, feels like I can't win, but I should be able to run away. Encountering a man-faced demon spider in the Do 3 era, just destroy it, hurry up, can't win, and can't escape. Thank you. If it weren't for you, I might have had my soul eaten by that man-faced demon spider. Meng Yiren was now terrified. She did not want to experience that feeling of having her divine soul bound and unable to move a second time. It's fine. After all, I am your team leader now. If there's nothing else, go say goodbye to your elders. It's time for us to leave. Chapter 103. Decadent Nobles, Sudden Death. Poochie. Click, click, click. Just at this moment, the clothes on Meng Yiren's back were instantly pierced. Accompanied by the sound of tearing fabric, 8 dark blue spider legs burst out from her back. Upon feeling the anomaly behind her, Meng Yiren subconsciously looked back. It didn't matter if she didn't look, but one look. That's right, Meng Yiren was frightened by her own external spirit bone. Yiren, granddaughter. How had Dragon Duke and Meng Shu ever seen such a spectacle? Seeing the anomaly on their granddaughter, their aged eyes were filled with nervousness. Tisk, I didn't expect it to actually exist. Fu Yi murmured softly. Zuqing looked at Fu Yi with a face full of curiosity. Actually exist? What existed? Alright, be quiet for a moment. Fu Yi walked slowly to the front of Meng Yiren with Zuqing. But at this moment, she could not control her external spirit bone, the 8 spider lances, and those dark blue spider legs were waving wildly in front of her without any pattern. But such an attack could not stump Fu Yi. Seeing him wave his hand casually, the external spirit bone was completely fixed in place. Then, he reached out and gently tapped 3 mysterious acupoints on Meng Yiren's body. The 8 spider legs behind her miraculously retracted automatically. Accompanied by a clicking sound, Meng Yiren finally fully completed the fusion with this external spirit bone. Little girl, your luck is not bad. You actually managed to absorb an external spirit bone by chance. Fu Yi gently pinched her fair chin. At this moment, because she had retracted the external spirit bone, the spirit power in her body instantly dropped by 40%. That's right, this is the disadvantage brought by the external spirit bone in the early stages. Although it provides the user with 100% of all attributes when used, it directly absorbs 40% of the user's power when retracted. In the original work, this drawback of the 8 spider lances was only completely eliminated after Tang San upgraded the 8 spider lances to the Sea God 8 wings. Overall, the pros outweigh the cons. It can be used as a peerless ability with side effects. External spirit bone. The expressions of Dragon Duke and Snake Granny became nervous at this moment. Although they had heard of this term, this was the first time they had seen it, let alone happening to their own granddaughter. You two don't need to be so nervous. An external spirit bone cannot be taken away after complete fusion, and I have already helped this little girl fully complete the fusion with this spirit bone just now. Fu Yi felt helpless. After all, who wouldn't be confused by the way these two old folks were looking at him like he was a thief? I am. Meng Yiren was clearly still in disbelief. She knew about spirit bones, but she had never heard of any external spirit bone. Don't complain when you've benefited. It is a super spirit bone that other spirit masters dream of. Its true value is no lower than 100,000-year spirit bone. Hearing Fu Yi's explanation, Meng Yiren's pupils shrank. These ugly spider legs were actually comparable to a 100,000-year level spirit bone. Old folks, I will ask you one last time, are you going to let this little girl come with me? 3 minutes later. Hello, nice to meet you again. My name is Meng Yiren, Spirit, Snake Staff. My name is Zuqing, Spirit, Hell Civet. Fu Yi was holding the little cat in his arms, while carrying Meng Yiren by the back of her clothes as they traveled. No choice, there has to be a distinction between a wife and a student. At this moment, they were moving toward Heaven Do City at an extremely fast speed. Because Fu Yi had released a spirit power shield, Meng Yiren and Zuqing did not feel any airflow. Before long, Fu Yi found the place where Xiao Wu and the others were located according to the system's positioning navigation. A lecherous middle-aged man wearing luxurious clothes, covered in gold, and with a fat, round figure, brought a spirit emperor bodyguard and dozens of spirit ancestor thugs, looking lecherously at the members of the Tianshui team who had just finished their match. And Shui Binger and Xiao Wu naturally noticed them, but... Little beauties, I see that you are all quite pretty. Do you want to come back with Uncle Gucci, times 12. Before the other party could finish speaking, a tall figure shrouded in black mist instantly erupted from the shadow at Xiao Wu's feet. The left chest of every one of them turned into a black hole at this moment, and the organs inside disappeared without a trace. That's right, it was a limit Douluo level black armored puppet that felt someone was about to make a move on Xiao Wu and the others, so it took a step ahead to nip all unstable factors in the bud. And the surrounding crowd and nobles who wanted to watch the fun, upon seeing a black shadow rush out from the shadow of the leading girl and instantly kill everyone, all subconsciously took several steps back. However, at this moment, those nobles who originally wanted to make a move on the Tianshui members discovered that in the shadows of all of them, there were actually 9 pairs of scarlet eyes scanning the surroundings. Where had those onlookers ever seen such a spectacle? One black shadow was already terrifying enough, but if there were several such black shadows in the shadows of this group of girls. Those nobles who originally wanted to attack such a group of beautiful girls felt cold sweat instantly break out on their foreheads. But before they could react, they saw the shadows at Xiao Wu and the others' feet erupt instantly, and more than a dozen pitch-black shadows instantly shuttled through the surrounding crowd. Poochie. Poochie. ... This was a massacre without suspense. Under the precise guidance of the system, these 100% loyal puppets instantly killed all the nobles who expressed their intention to participate in this conspiracy. The scene was filled with blood and gore. Shui Binger and the others were frightened by this scene, while Xiao Wu was someone who had seen big scenes. She could guess that the black figures appearing in their shadows were protection measures given to them by Fu Yi. But fortunately, the bystanders were all driven away by these decadent nobles at the beginning, which led to the fact that no one knew about their deaths except Xiao Wu and the others. Of course, there were also some small nobles who followed their big brother to watch the fun, and they had their limbs cut off, luckily keeping their lowly lives. Sister Xiao Wu, are they? Shui Binger was worthy of being the captain of the Tianshui team. She was the first girl to come to her senses after Xiao Wu. But before Xiao Wu could respond to them, a familiar figure appeared in front of them. Tisk, finally couldn't help it. I thought you had given up. That's right, it was Fu Yi. He accurately found the location of Xiao Wu and the others by relying on the locator on the puppet. Looking around, this seemed to be the passage leading to the central competition venue, and the group of fallen people around should be those who violated the orders he gave to the puppets. Brother Fu Yi, you're back. Seeing Fu Yi return, Shui Binger, who was the first to come to her senses, gave him a big hug and then looked at Zuqing playfully. Her eyes seemed to be saying, you have had Brother Fu Yi all to yourself for 4 days, now it's my turn to take over your position. Chapter 104, The Disgrace of Shui Xing. Late at night, the interior of the Heaven Do imperial family was in an uproar. The spacious main hall was resplendent with gold and jade. The massive pillars were carved with lifelike dragon and phoenix patterns, and the floor was paved with smooth marble. At the very front of the main hall, an old man sat on the throne in the center, his naturally imposing expression causing the officials kneeling below to tremble all over. Shui Xing, are you saying that someone openly harmed members of our imperial family at the Great Spirit Arena, and that the few who survived had their hands and feet cruelly severed by the other party? After a long while, the old man sitting in the high position finally spoke, and the treacherous-looking middle-aged man standing beside him nodded. That is correct. Their methods were extremely cruel. According to the survivors themselves, those who harmed them were students from Tianshui Academy. If Fu Yi were present, he would definitely be able to recognize who the two people in high positions were, the Emperor of the Heaven Do Empire, Shui Yi, and Shui Yi's younger brother, Prince Shui Xing of the Heaven Do Empire. Tell me, what was the reason? Shui Yi was a 1,000-year-old fox, how could he not know exactly what his younger brother was trying to do? However, Tianshui Academy had once sternly rejected their imperial family's olive branch, so he did not have any good feelings toward Tianshui Academy either. Your Majesty, regardless of their reasons, that is no excuse for killing dozens of imperial family members. As long as your Majesty gives the order, I will definitely bring them to justice. Shui Xing's words pulled Shui Yi's thoughts back. He naturally had guessed the sequence of events with high accuracy. Although Shui Xing might not have acted correctly, he was his younger brother after all, and he would not do anything to him. However, the dignity of the imperial family absolutely must not be violated. I understand. Go and handle things cleanly, do not make me come and clean up after you again. Shui Yi waved his dragon robe, his cold gaze sweeping over the trembling officials below. Court dismissed. At 4 a.m., Shui Xing gathered 2 Spirit Emperor-level retainers from within the imperial family. During this time, he had already found out that Han Rian, the dean of Tianshui Academy, was not here, and the Tianshui team was led by only 2 young people, a man and a woman. In Shui Xing's view, it would be quite heaven-defying if the other party's strength was at the Spirit King level, so he took the 2 Spirit Emperor retainers to bring all the members of the Tianshui team to justice. Uncle, are you really going to make a move against the Tianshui team? A youth with an excited face held a folding fan, his eyes filled with agitation. Hee, it's just an academy composed of a bunch of women. Back then, when I threw an olive branch at them, that woman actually dared to threaten me. Now, I'm going to let that bitch know what pain is. As Shui Xing said this, a lewd smile appeared on his sallow, aged face. One had to know that those girls from the Tianshui team were all top tier. Once they were in his hands, he could play with them however he wanted. Uncle, I want Shui Binger. That little bitch actually tried to attack me before. Once she is captured, I will directly cripple her cultivation and make her kneel in front of me like a dog. Hearing his nephew's words, a cruel smile appeared on Shui Bang's face. Hee, don't they all pride themselves on being pure and chaste? After crippling their cultivation and drugging them, won't they just be a bunch of sluts for us to play with? At 5 a.m., the morning sun had not yet climbed above the horizon. On the top floor of the Tianxiang Hotel, Fu Yi was playing tricks with Xiao Wu, that little bunny. With the surge of warmth, this true man's battle of 1 against 4 was drawing to a close. Brother Fu Yi, you are cheating. Item, 1-hour trial card for a 12-hour time barrier. Function, can change the flow of time. 1 hour in the outside world equals 24 hours inside the barrier. Stock, 99,999 plus. Price, oh. Item, 1-hour trial card for a 24-hour time barrier. Function, can change the flow of time. 1 hour in the outside world equals 48 hours inside the barrier. Stock, 99,999 plus. Price, oh. Item, 1-hour trial card for a 1-week time barrier. Function, can change the flow of time. 1 hour in the outside world equals 1 week inside the barrier. Stock, 99,999 plus. Price, oh. Looking at this dazzling array of time barrier cards, Fu Yi felt incredibly comfortable. Originally, he was worrying about what to do because he had too many wives and not enough time. Now, it was great, he had unexpectedly found such a divine artifact. You have to know that his original intention was to choose suitable god positions for his wives, but it turned out the second one listed right after the dragon god position was this god of time. Driven by curiosity, he found the abilities unique to the god of time, regarding time-based retroversion and acceleration, as well as different types of space barriers. I didn't cheat. We agreed that I would take all of you down in 3 hours, and it was 3 hours. Look, the sky hasn't even brightened yet. Xiao Wu looked at Fu Yi with a face full of shame and anger, but she didn't even have the strength to speak anymore. After giving Fu Yi one look of shame and anger, she fell straight into a deep sleep. HMPH, brother Fu Yi, foul. 3 hours inside the time barrier equaled 6 days in the outside world, which meant that Fu Yi had ravaged the three of them for a full 6 days, while only 6 hours had passed in the outside world. Regarding Xiao Wu's weak appeal, Fu Yi indicated that his cheat was officially recognized. How could it be revoked by just a few words from her? However, just as he was about to lie down and sleep between his 3 wives, he sensed 3 auras rapidly approaching him. I didn't expect the Heaven Do imperial family to act so quickly. Along with Fu Yi's detection, he became clear on who the visitors were. I didn't expect there to be 2 spirit emperors. But if you, Shui Xing, also came here, then things would be very interesting. If only 2 spirit emperors had come, Fu Yi would at most have slaughtered them. But if this old guy Shui Xing also followed, then he could not be blamed for being cruel. A wicked smile appeared at the corner of Fu Yi's mouth. Shui Xing's lecherousness was even worse than that of Dai Mubai and Ma Hongjun. Since the other party could come here, it meant he wanted to make a move on his little girls. Since he wanted to make a move on his people, he would have to make the other party wish they were dead. The next moment, 3 light purple talismans appeared in Fu Yi's palm. That's right, these were exactly the soul bewitching talismans that Fu Yi had previously used on Yu Xiaogang and Tang Chuan. It's a pity that only 3 people came, it's too good for that old bastard Shui Xing. As the 3 soul bewitching talismans dissipated into mist, Shui Xing and the 2 spirit emperor retainers, who had just arrived at the entrance of the Tianxiang Hotel, instantly froze on the spot. At 10 a.m., the sky was already bright, but at this moment, the edge of the imperial city was teeming with people. An ancient poem says, outside the imperial city, by the city wall, Shui Xing's artillery fire connects to the sky. Hey, indecent, this is indecent. One old woman over 50 years old, upon seeing this situation in front of her, immediately covered her face and left the place, cursing loudly. Holy crap, Prince Shui Xing is heroic. Tisk, I didn't expect His Highness the Prince to be a peanut, oh no, a corn kernel. Although it is rumored that the imperial family is very decadent, isn't this a bit too? Chapter 105, Arranging some new work for Xiaogang. Heaven Do Imperial City is the most prosperous place on the continent, solemn and majestic, towering and lofty. It is built from huge stone blocks, incomparably sturdy. The walls present an ancient tone, having weathered the baptism of time, with slight traces of mottled marks, yet adding a sense of vicissitudes. At the base of the wall, a few wild grasses occasionally grow stubbornly, adding a touch of vitality and agility to this majestic wall. However, this quiet ancient city seems a bit too lively today. Bastards. You 2 bastards. Stop. Quickly stop. Ah. Piercing screams came from the corner of the wall outside the imperial city, and the surrounding crowd who came to eat melons and watch the excitement mostly opened their eyes wide, carefully observing this strange scene that is rare in 100 years. Most of the onlookers were old men and elderly women who liked to join in the fun, while other girls ran away after hearing the sounds here. Some wealthy merchants from other places and high-rank spirit masters also took out their recording crystals to record this interesting moment. Wow, keep screaming, even if the Heavenly King came today, you wouldn't be able to escape this old man's. Just as the 2 spirit emperor brutes wanted to say something else, their figures stopped together in the next moment, and then, in Shui Xing's terrified gaze, they drew out the tetanus blade. Their originally fanatical faces became dull in an instant, as if they had received some kind of order, and the short blades slashed down toward the Shui Xing in front of them instantly. Don't do it. Shui Xing howled crazily, but the 2 spirit emperor retainers could not hear his voice at this moment. The retainer stabbed one of Shui Xing's eyeballs directly with one blade. Poochie. Ah. Shui Xing's screams were endless, and blood splattered everywhere. Accompanied by Shui Xing falling into a pool of blood, the 2 spirit emperor retainers actually pulled out the short blades inserted into Shui Xing's body and stabbed them directly into their own hearts. Poochie. Poochie. Accompanied by bright red blood spilling all over the ground, the people watching the excitement around were all scared back a few steps at this moment. Dead. Someone is dead. On the other side, inside the Tianxiang Hotel, the morning is always so beautiful, Fu Yi stretched comfortably while bathing in the morning sun. The fate of those 2 retainers and Shui Xing was naturally arranged by him. Since they wanted to make a move on him, they had to be mentally prepared for ruining their reputation and dying. As for why he only castrated Shui Xing and blinded one of his eyes without killing him, Fu Yi simply felt that the other party could still play with him a little longer. After all, he is a character who was forcibly whitewashed in the late stage of the original work. If he died just like that, how boring would it be? As for Yu Xiaogang, tisk, his current life is very happy and fulfilling. Inside a dark and slippery cave on the outskirts of Sodo City, dozens of blurry figures were waving steel whips with great force. Third brother, don't rush to whip, didn't I just take over? Second brother, is the iron whip ready? That adult has repeatedly declared that we must make him wish he were dead in these 3 months, whipping him for 20 hours every day, and helping him recover his wounds while whipping him. Of course, Fu Yi was still too kind and didn't kill him directly. After all, he spent 10,000 gold coins to hire a dozen people to serve Yu Xiaogang, with all kinds of massages available, and they could also help him loosen his skin and pull his bones. I hope he can try to survive in pain and even more pain. After all, Fu Yi is not a demon, at most, he extracted the other party's divine soul and hung it on a divine fire oil lamp to burn for a few million years. It seems that in his system, there are gadgets where 1 second outside is 10,000 years inside, which will be just right for Yu Xiaogang to use then. As for letting Yu Xiaogang die, sorry, he is reluctant to let the other party die now. At noon, inside the palace. Lying below the high platform was Shui Xing, who was wrapped in bandages, and lying beside him were the 2 spirit emperor level retainers who had no signs of life. Everyone present held their breath at this moment, because they knew very well that the person on the high platform was on the verge of exploding with emotion. Shui Xing, I need you to give me a reasonable explanation. The furious voice shook the entire palace, and there was a bit of gnashing of teeth under the rage. Big brother, shut up, I am not your big brother. And you, my good younger brother, you are my good big brother. Shui Yi overturned the gold-threaded table and chairs in front of him in a fit of rage, and the spirit fruits specially picked by professionals on it were smashed to pieces. Bung. The table fell to the ground with a huge sound. Big brother, Shui Xing wanted to explain, but Shui Yi, who was overwhelmed by anger, kicked him in his old face. At this moment, the eye socket that had originally stopped bleeding was kicked open by the other party's kick, and a stream of blood flowed out from Shui Xing's eye socket. Why didn't you just die with them? Do you know that because of this incident today, our Heavendo imperial family is likely to become a laughingstock for others in the next 10 or even 100 years? Only Shui Yi's roar remained in the main hall, while Shui Xing and the ministers remained silent, because they knew that from now on, this incident would become an indelible pillar of shame for the Heavendo Empire. For a long time, Shui Yi seemed to have recovered, looking at his younger brother who had done such an absurd thing with eyes full of unbearable pity. Shui Xing, your title of prince is void from this moment on, and your power in the imperial family is henceforth reduced to the level of a count. Shui Yi was ultimately unable to strike hard at his own younger brother. You must know that without the other party's secret help, he would not have been able to quickly consolidate his power after succeeding to the throne. Shui Yi was ultimately unable to strike hard at his own younger brother. You must know that without the other party's secret help, he would not have been able to quickly consolidate his power after succeeding to the throne. But after such an absurd thing happened, he must investigate it thoroughly. After all, even if his younger brother is lustful, he would definitely not be interested in two men. Such a huge embarrassment appearing in Heavendo must be someone working in secret. And to be able to make two spirit emperors and his own younger brother fall for it at the same time, the other party is at least a spirit Douluo or even a titled Douluo level character. Suppress today's incident for this king. Then go and investigate for me. I want to see who dares to lay a hand on the members of my Heavendo imperial family. Shui Yi was truly angry to the extreme this time. He ultimately had to clean up the mess for his younger brother. Just as he said before, the dignity of their Heavendo imperial family cannot be trampled upon. Chapter 106, Douluo. In the afternoon, the weather was pleasant and the breeze was gentle. Fu Yi, as usual, brought the young girls from Tianshui Academy to compete. Although yesterday's events were indeed unpleasant, they now understood that with big brother Fu Yi and big sister Xiao Wu present, they had absolutely no need to worry about their safety. Big brother Fu Yi, are we starting the team battles today? Shui Binger asked with some confusion, looking at the newly registered team battle token in Fu Yi's hand. Yes, not just team battles. I've also signed you up for 2-on-2 matches. From now on, you will have to fight 4 matches every day, 2 1-on-1 matches per person, 1 2-on-2 match, and then 1 7-person team battle. The Great Spirit Arena has a rule that each person can only participate in 1-on-1 battles twice a day, while 2-on-2 and team battles can be done once a day. Of course, this rule was naturally established for the sake of the Great Spirit Arena's livelihood. After all, every battle involves betting. If those nobles were to send people here to engage in underhanded tricks, the ironclad rule of only 2 matches per day could also reduce the losses for the Great Spirit Arena. Alright. Shui Yuir frowned, her face full of unhappiness. However, except for the few days when Big Brother Fu Yi took Zuqing to obtain a spirit ring, as long as Big Brother Fu Yi was present, he would definitely watch them from the stands and come to pick them up when they came off the field. Thinking of this, Shui Yuir wasn't as unhappy anymore. After all, this way she could get Big Brother Fu Yi to give her more princess carries. Hee, sister, I want to be in a group with you for the 2-on-2. Wu Ling, how about we group together? Ning Rongrong seemed to have forgotten at this moment that Wu Ling was already a spirit elder. Just at this moment, Fu Yi came to Ning Rongrong's side and patted her little head. Rongrong, this time I've arranged for you and Zuqing to be in a group. I have other arrangements for Wu Ling. Feeling the warmth of Big Brother Fu Yi's palm, a hint of excitement appeared on Ning Rongrong's little face. One must know that because Ning Rongrong was a spirit master of the support system and her own cultivation had not yet reached the spirit elder realm, Fu Yi had given her strict orders these past few days to seize the time to cultivate. After all, everyone in Tianshui Academy was now at the spirit elder level. Ning Rongrong might have brought some bad habits from the 7 treasure glazed tile school and was not particularly proactive about cultivation. It should be known that when she first arrived here, Zuqing's spirit power was about the same as Ning Rongrong's. Yet Zuqing had reached the spirit elder level earlier than Ning Rongrong. Perhaps it was because spirit masters of the support system naturally cultivate slowly, or perhaps it was because this little girl Ning Rongrong liked to be a bit clever. While these things were harmless, a team of all spirit elders should have given Rongrong some sense of urgency. Big brother Fu Yi, Rongrong is already level 29 now, I will continue to work hard. That's right, Ning Rongrong was now a level 29 spirit master, and it was not far from level 30. It was believed that as long as she kept working hard, she would definitely be able to achieve a breakthrough to the spirit elder realm in less than half a month. You have to know, this was breaking through 3 levels in 2 months, which was absolutely unthinkable within the 7 treasure glazed tile school. However, just as Fu Yi had finished getting the newly issued identification plates for the 2-person and 7-person groups and was preparing to take them to the match, a tall figure appeared in front of them. Kid, come with me. However, before the other party could finish the first sentence, they heard a voice that was as familiar as could be. Douluo, you old guy are still alive. Fu Yi. Oh no, Your Excellency Fu Yi. How could it be? Impossible, this is impossible. The moment he saw Fu Yi, Douluo's brain completely shut down. He had calculated everything, but he never expected that the person that old bastard Shui Xing wanted to kill was actually his own lifesaver. Looking at your expression, I'm afraid you were entrusted by someone to come and abduct me, or perhaps kill me right here and now. Fu Yi saw through Douluo's abnormality at a glance. After all, this old thing usually just liked to tend to flowers and plants. Let him come to cause trouble for him. Even if he were given 10 times the courage, he wouldn't dare. This. Alright, Douluo was silent, but a flash of anger appeared on his old face, not directed at Fu Yi, but anger towards Shuixing. Xiao Wu, help me lead the team again today. I might need to go and resolve some personal issues with this old guy. Fu Yi looked back at his wife, Xiao Wu, and Xiao Wu seemed to have guessed something at this moment, a hint of curiosity revealing itself in her ruby-like eyes. Hee, big brother Fu Yi, go ahead. Having Xiao Wu here is enough. Xiao Wu gave Fu Yi a bear hug, and then, quite brazenly, gave Fu Yi's butt a squeeze. Regarding Xiao Wu's actions, Fu Yi also gave a response. He leaned his mouth gently to Xiao Wu's ear and said slowly in a voice that only the two of them could hear. Come to my room again tonight. Fu Yi's words made Xiao Wu's cheeks flush. If it were before, Xiao Wu wouldn't be afraid, but the current Fu Yi had the magical ability to turn 1 hour into 24. If she really stayed in a room with big brother Fu Yi for a whole night. No, absolutely not, she would break. However, seeing Xiao Wu's little expression, which had become somewhat fawning due to fear, Fu Yi completely ignored it. I won't make you come, I'll go to your place tonight. At this moment, Shui Binger watched big sister Xiao Wu and big brother Fu Yi's intimacy with a crimson face. Her heart turned sour. It wasn't just her, Shui Yuer and the other girls all had only one thought in their minds at this moment, their plans all had to be moved up. Speak, was it that old bastard Shui Xing who sent you to take action against me? Because the Imperial Palace was not far from the Great Spirit Arena, Fu Yi and Douluo just walked and talked, not in a hurry. It partly involved Shui Xing's intentions, but it was mainly the intention of Emperor Shui Yi. Douluo was extremely helpless at this moment. You have to know that Shui Xing had saved his life, and although Douluo was bloodthirsty, he valued those who had done him favors and his own reputation extremely highly. He also kept in mind to this day the life-saving favor from Shui Xing, as well as Fu Yi's favor of detoxifying his daughter and saving his own life. Hey, they are just a bunch of extravagant and rotten nobles. Daring to take action against my students, killing them directly is really letting them off too easily. Fu Yi didn't have any good feelings towards the Heaven Do Empire, but the other party's overbearing style made him feel annoyed. If they dared to take action against his little girls today, tomorrow they would dare to hold a blade and cut him down. Fu Yi didn't like killing, but that didn't mean he wouldn't kill. Douluo, when I kill later, just stand on the side and don't move, otherwise I will cut you down too. Fu Yi looked back at Douluo. He hoped this old guy would be sensible. Even if he was currently a level 94 titled Douluo, he would absolutely not be able to withstand a single strike from him. Ahem, that goes without saying. Chapter 107, Strutting into the Imperial Palace, the witty Douluo. The magnificent palace hall featured golden pillars and exquisite cloud dragon patterns, with dragon bodies winding and coiling. Fu Yi led that old guy, Douluo, into the Heaven Do Imperial City with great ease. The decor was decent enough, but he wondered if it could withstand a single punch from him. As for the exquisite gardens or anything else, Fu Yi didn't care in the slightest. Letting Douluo invite him into the Imperial Palace. Fu Yi didn't quite understand this word, invite, so he would have to have a good discussion with that old guy Shui Yi later about what the word invite actually meant. The Heaven Do Imperial Palace was extremely luxurious. He had been here twice before, but only for incognito visits to bicker with that brat of a sister, Qian Runshui. However, given her pitifully low favorability rating, Fu Yi felt a bit helpless. After all, over at Spirit Hall, Fu Yi had caught that little girl Qian Runshui in Bibi Dong's chambers, begging for hugs and comfort. But every time he went over, Bibi Dong would very naturally leave with him to attend to official business. Perhaps it was because Qian Runshui believed that Bibi Dong's love for her had been siphoned away by that bad brother-in-law, Fu Yi, which caused her favorability and opinion of him to fluctuate wildly every time. The Heaven Do Imperial Palace was filled with palace maids working and eunuchs directing them. When they saw Douluo, who was following meekly behind Fu Yi, almost everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. After all, Douluo used to visit the Heaven Do Imperial Palace frequently, and most of the maids here recognized him. One had to know that even at his weakest, Douluo was still a titled Douluo, not to mention his fearsome reputation outside. Where are we going now? Are we going to slaughter that old man of the Heaven Do Empire first? Looking at the astonished gazes of the surrounding maids and eunuchs, Fu Yi was wondering whether he should go find that girl, Qian Runshui, to catch up later. Tonight would also be a good time to go visit Bibi Dong, and while he was at it, he could snatch away her sister Donger right in front of that Tsunere girl, Qian Runshui. Ahem, isn't that all up to your mood? I'm just a guide, once you arrive at the destination, I'll leave. I won't interfere with whatever you want to do. After hearing Fu Yi's words, Douluo felt a chill down his spine. After all, he had been beaten so badly by the other party that he couldn't even lift a finger. However, he also owed the other party a debt of gratitude. The toxins in both his and his granddaughter's bodies had been neutralized, and his cultivation and spirit had both evolved to varying degrees. Disc, that's true. Later, I'll have that incompetent ruler of the Heaven Do Empire kowtow to me 3 times. If I'm not satisfied, I'll just dismantle a few parts of him. He is a monarch of a nation, after all, I can't just slaughter him like that, right? Fu Yi looked completely at ease, while Douluo was broken out in a cold sweat. Bro, isn't this idea even more terrifying than just killing him? About that, if you kill him directly, there will be a lot of follow-up trouble, so. Douluo still wanted to try to persuade him, as he had once been saved by Shui Xing of the Heaven Do Imperial family, otherwise, he wouldn't be alive to see Fu Yi again. Can't kill him directly, then help me administer a slow-acting poison to him. Just make sure he dies within 3 days. Douluo was right, killing him directly would indeed be annoying. Since he had already slaughtered quite a few members of the Imperial family, if he didn't kill him, the other party might still fight him to the death. Poisoning was the best method. Brilliant, simply brilliant. As expected of an old thing who has lived for decades, this Douluo is even more ruthless than him. I pretend I didn't say anything. Why did he have to chime in? If that old Emperor of Heaven Do wanted to die, he should die far away. Now it was great, the trouble had been dragged onto himself. Disc, and this is the famous poison Douluo. You're chickening out just from being asked to poison an incompetent ruler. That old thing Douluo Bo was quite wicked. What about the debt of gratitude to the Heavendo imperial family? Didn't Shui Xing just save his life once? Didn't he also spare his life? One life for one life, doesn't that cancel it out? 3 days won't work. The time is too short, and the people inside can easily find out that it was the poison I administered. Fine, fine, just make sure he dies within 3 years. You should have some colorless and odorless slow-acting poison, right? If not, should I have that silly girl of mine go get some for you? To uphold justice and peace, this incompetent ruler Shui Yi had to die. He hated being targeted. One can be a thief for 1,000 days, but no one can guard against a thief for 1,000 days. Furthermore, what if one day, hundreds of limit Douluo suddenly popped up in this vast Heavendo imperial city and hurt his wives? The ancients said, the probability of being killed by raindrops is 0.00000.01%, but it is definitely not zero. Only absolute caution could ensure the safety of himself and his family. That works. Within 3 years, no one will be able to find out it was me. Then what was that nonsense you were spouting earlier? About the Heavendo imperial family having a debt of gratitude to you? Ahem, those who adapt to circumstances are wise men. In the imperial court, as Fu Yi and Douluo Bo walked in together, all the officials began to whisper among themselves. That's right, Douluo Bo, who had originally said he wanted to leave early, was now tagging along, not for any other reason than to find some amusement. After all, since Fu Yi had told him to poison Shui Yi, he certainly wouldn't do anything to this incompetent ruler Shui Yi. Moreover, since he was the one administering the poison, he definitely wouldn't run into any trouble. Douluo Bo, tisk, the old man is truly witty. Fu Yi walked in front, and Douluo Bo walked behind. This spectacle piqued the curiosity of the surrounding eunuchs and officials, who all wondered if the young man in front was courting death. After all, the person following him and bringing him here was the fearsome poison Douluo Bo. So it was you who killed my imperial clansman and beat the prince of my Heavendo imperial family into a state of critical injury and disability. Shui Yi looked at Fu Yi with a face full of anger, a wave of imperial aura washing over him. Fu Yi simply nodded silently and then looked at the other party with a calm expression. So what, aren't you going to kneel and kowtow to me now to show your respect? At some unknown moment, a soft and comfortable sofa appeared behind Fu Yi, and he sat down on it with a swagger. Using Douluo Bo, the weakest titled Douluo, to escort him here for trial. Now let's see who is judging whom. You glib-tongued brat, you have already paved your own path to death. Brat, don't be arrogant. Your Majesty, we request to execute this villain. Your Majesty, such a person who defies imperial authority must be executed. ... Among the officials present, a few were clamoring the loudest. It was clear that they had just lost family members, so they wanted to come to Fu Yi and have him send them down to see their relatives. Wanting to go down and see those pieces of trash. Very well, I shall satisfy you. Chapter 108, the tide has turned. 1, 2, 3, 4, all in such a rush to see your families. Stop waiting in line for your numbers, I'll send you down right now. Fu Yi's whisper reached everyone's ears. What did they just hear? This brat in front of them, who looked like he had just come of age, wanted to send them down. Thud, 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 ... Just as they were preparing to retort with mockery, they saw the few who had been clamoring the loudest collapse to the ground. It was as if they had fallen asleep, and even when the people beside them kicked them, they wouldn't wake up. The dull thuds of heads hitting the ground finally silenced the barking of those ministers. A few officials standing nearby, who were a bit bolder, used their index fingers to check the breathing of the fallen officials. Without exception, every single one of them had stopped breathing. Your Majesty, they're all dead. Finally, the terrified voice of a eunuch, who was crawling backward on the ground in fear, broke the silence. However, at this very moment, dozens of swift figures emerged from the shadows and launched a lethal assault toward Fu Yi. The strongest among them was, shockingly, an 87th level spirit Douluo. The lowest cultivation level among the rest of the attackers was that of a high-level spirit emperor. But in Fu Yi's eyes, a spirit Douluo, a spirit emperor, were they any different from flies? Clang, clang, clang. Douluo Bo had retreated to the very back early on and was sitting steadily on the viewing platform. He didn't worry about Fu Yi's safety at all. After all, wherever this freak was, he was the greatest danger himself. It was the people around him who should be careful, not him. Crisp sounds emanated from the surface of Fu Yi's body. That's right, he hadn't used any defense at all. The dragon god scales he constantly maintained on his skin were the best protection, it was just that under normal circumstances, one couldn't feel or detect their existence. Hey, 2 spirit Douluos, 3 spirit saints, and 7 or 8 spirit emperors. It seems the experts of your Heavendo Empire aren't all that numerous. At that moment, Fu Yi's gilded pupils transformed into a 9-colored hue, and a faint, majestic aura enveloped everyone's hearts. However, upon feeling this aura, Douluo Bo only felt a sense of nostalgia. Douluo Bo, yes, that's it, this is the feeling. This was the exact aura he had when he stepped on my face back then. Thump, 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 ... The sound of knees hitting the ground was incessant. Under the suppression of this strand of dragon god's dragon might from Fu Yi, everyone present was forced to their knees, bowing their heads to the ground. Meanwhile, the Heavendo Emperor, Shui Yi, due to his insufficient strength, was pressed onto his dragon throne by this pressure and could not move an inch no matter what. Shui Yi, look, your subjects have all knelt. Why do you dare not to kneel? Fu Yi stood up gracefully and walked slowly past the various ministers. With every step he took, the pressure on Shui Yi, who was sitting on the dragon throne, intensified. Tap, tap, tap. As Fu Yi drew closer, Shui Yi's body was already being pressed out of shape, his entire frame forced into a very awkward posture, pinned tightly against the dragon throne. So, why don't you kneel? Your Majesty, Shui Yi. Looking at Shui Yi's old face, which was already distorted by the pressure, Fu Yi didn't care whether the other party responded or not, and continued speaking to himself. The actions of your imperial family have seriously affected the daily lives of me and the girls in my team. Therefore, you need to compensate us with 5 billion gold coins first. As for mental damages or whatever, tisk, I am merciful, so I'll waive those. Upon hearing Fu Yi's words, Shui Yi nearly vomited blood from anger. 5 billion. The other party was trying to empty the national treasury of his Heaven Do Empire. How was this any different from taking his life? But before that, I hope you can realize your mistake. Start by kowtowing until I am satisfied to show your sincerity. Fu Yi continued speaking to himself and then immediately released the suppression on Shui Yi. Huff, 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 cough, cough. The sudden disappearance of the pressure allowed Shui Yi to breathe fresh air. One must know that he was only a spirit king. Where would he have the power to resist an existence that even spirit Douluos and spirit saints had to kneel before? Tisk, you old man really have no sincerity. Anyway, the Heaven Do Empire is due for a regime change, so I'll just kill. However, before Fu Yi could finish, he heard a very urgent sound in front of him, followed by Shui Yi's pleas for mercy. Thud, thud, thud. I was wrong. I shouldn't have caused trouble for your excellency. All the faults lie with my foolish brother. I guarantee I will hand him over to you. Please raise your hand high and let me go. No, please just treat me like a fart and let me go. That's right, Shui Yi had knelt. He knelt quickly and hard, and his kowtowing was fast and fierce. Meanwhile, Douluo was watching everything on the field with a satisfied expression. Not bad, really not bad. His trip was not in vain. After all, this scene of an emperor kowtowing frantically was truly a once-in-a-century sight. Where was the arrogant and domineering aura of the Shui Yi who was now kowtowing frantically? In the Xuanwan world, the ruler of a nation is like an ant in front of powerful cultivators, and although the Douluo continent is the floor tile of the Xuanwan world, oh no, the sewer. It's the same here. What sovereign of a nation? What emperor? If that old guy Qian Douluo had a whim and came to the Heaven Do imperial family to snatch away Shui Yi's young wife, do you think Shui Yi would dare to make a sound? Of course, that's just a saying. Qian Douluo wouldn't really, cough, cough. Though, who knows? An ancient saying goes, the probability of being smothered to death by a cat's big butt is extremely low, but it is definitely not zero. Watching Shui Yi kowtowing frantically, Fu Yi was no longer in a hurry. He walked slowly toward the few people who had just ambushed him. At this moment, they were already suppressed by the dragon might emanating from Fu Yi, forced to their knees with their heads pressed to the ground. Do you all still remember which hand and which foot you used to ambush me just now? Fu Yi's voice, combined with the sound of Shui Yi's frantic kowtowing, mingled together like a devil's whisper, lingering in the ears of these few people. And the strands of sword intent on Fu Yi's body, solid as reality, wandered all over their bodies, as if in just an instant they would be hacked into thousands of pieces. I used my right. Finally, one of them couldn't withstand Fu Yi's pressure and spoke up first. However, before he could finish his sentence, Fu Yi lightly swiped his fingertip, and the other party's right arm and right leg turned into a blood mist almost instantly, sticking to the faces and clothes of the others. Thud. Ah, my hand, my leg. The middle-aged man, whose pair of limbs had been pulverized, let out a mournful cry. Fu Yi merely frowned slightly and kicked the man directly in the head. Crack, bang. The middle-aged man, who only had half a body left, was kicked directly against the wall to the side. From the sound just now, it was evident that he was not far from death. Right hand. I used my right hand. Left leg. It was my left leg. I was. ... Seeing their companion die so miserably before their eyes, this group of retainers, who had been greedy for power, wealth, and beauty, all panicked. They were all afraid that the next one to die would be them. Now, the only thing they could do was cooperate. So annoying. Hacking off left hands and right legs is really troublesome. It's simpler to just hack off half the body like before. For all, no. Chapter 109, the Heaven Do treasury emptied, the vast sea cosmic shroud taken. Gucci. Gucci. After a dozen or so consecutive slashes, the group of power-hungry high priests were left half-crippled. However, Fu Yi was a kind soul. Seeing them grit their teeth and endure the pain without crying out, he didn't proceed to take their lives. Meanwhile, Shui Yi was still kowtowing frantically at the front. Considering that more than 2 minutes had already passed since Fu Yi began punishing the high priests, he felt that Emperor Shui Yi was quite sincere, so he decided to show some leniency and let him live for 3 more years. Your sincerity is passable. Stop kowtowing for a moment. Let's discuss how you intend to settle the 5 billion gold coins you owe me. Thump, thump, thump. Shui Yi seemed to have gotten addicted to kowtowing. He didn't even hear Fu Yi's words. Pa. Fu Yi showed no mercy, delivering a resounding slap directly across Shui Yi's aged face, sending him stumbling. I said, stop kowtowing. Let's talk about the compensation first, understand? Shui Yi was jolted awake by Fu Yi's slap. The surrounding ministers, who had been unable to lift their heads due to Fu Yi's aura, were now kneeling in terror. After all, this was a man who dared to slap the emperor's face so casually, killing them would likely only require a single thought. Understood, understood, I understand. Shui Yi hurriedly pressed his forehead to the ground, his entire body trembling uncontrollably. It was too terrifying. The other party's cultivation was frighteningly high. The guards outside the palace heard the commotion within the hall, but without Shui Yi's imperial decree, they were not qualified to enter. Thus, even though they were anxious, they had to obey Shui Yi's orders. I'll give you half an hour. If the compensation isn't enough, I'll use the heads of your royal family to make up the difference. I won't bully you, one head is worth 100,000 gold coins. I hope your subordinates work quickly. Fu Yi sat leisurely on the dragon throne, his face relaxed. Do not think that 5 billion is a lot for the Heaven Do Empire. This was a powerful nation that had prospered for thousands of years. The original text stated that the 7 treasure glazed tile school was the wealthiest sect on the continent, but Fu Yi felt that this was completely unreasonable. After all, the 7 treasure glazed tile school was a sect that had only risen in the last few hundred years. The treasure appraising ability of the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda was naturally formidable, but even if they had frantically collected treasures lost outside over the last few hundred years, could they really be compared to a nation like the Heaven Do Empire or the Douluo Empire that had flourished for thousands of years? The famous military strategist MacArthur once said, you can say the Heaven Do Empire is weak, but you cannot say it is poor. Do you think an empire capable of supporting an army of millions would have no money? Why don't you let the 7 treasure glazed tile school try to support an army of millions? However, 50 billion gold coins would definitely make this old guy Shui Yi bleed heavily. Perhaps the private treasuries of these nobles would even be emptied by this wave of his. Do not underestimate the savings capacity of these empires, nor the purchasing power of gold coins. In the Douluo II era, a 100,000-year spirit beast embryo sold for 150 million gold coins. For a country that has prospered for thousands of years, having savings of 50 billion gold coins is a very normal thing. After all, saving 100 million in 10 years means 1 billion in 100 years, 10 billion in 1,000 years, and so on. Excluding the money spent on maintaining the army, Fu Yi had calculated in his heart that these 50 billion should be just enough to empty the remaining savings of the Heaven Do Empire. Your Excellency, why don't you come with me to the National Treasury and take it directly? You can take whatever you want. Shui Yi was still prostrate on the ground, not daring to have any more thoughts of resistance. The other party had not used his spirit, had not released a spirit ability, yet could deal with the several high priests of his Heaven Do Empire with his bare hands, and could easily withstand the attacks of a spirit Douluo with just his physical body. His army would likely be unable to resist the other party at all. The only way out now was to pay the compensation and save his life. That works. However, if you dare to play any tricks, your head will be held in your own hands. Fu Yi's words were as cold as the ice of the winter solstice, and Shui Yi nodded continuously to show his agreement. Then let's go. 100 million. 500 million. 1 billion. 35 billion. Fu Yi looked at the Heaven Do treasury, which had become empty just as the valuation reached 35 billion, and fell into deep thought. He looked back at old man Shui Yi. Disc, it's short by 15 billion. You have 10 minutes to think about what items you can use to pay off the debt. Fu Yi never took so much as a needle or a thread from others, except for those who provoked him. After all, although he had everything and lacked nothing, it didn't affect his enthusiasm for robbery. Who would complain about having too much money? Furthermore, the other party was the one who struck first. The one who strikes first pays the compensation. Didn't they understand such a simple principle? As the saying goes, a slap lands, that's a luxury bag, a punch comes, that's a car selection in progress, a fractured leg leads to feigning a coma, just grown a few times and that's a mild concussion, the down payment for a city center apartment is covered. Fighting equals money, this theory worked in his previous life, and it worked just as well here on the Douluo continent. The premise is that one has sufficient strength. Declaration in advance, this is not robbery. This 50 billion is the mental damages he is paying me. He is justified in his actions. Shui Yi's brow was dripping with sweat. 2 minutes later, he finally opened a secret compartment on the wall, inside which was placed a four-cornered diamond-shaped crystal. Upon seeing this object, Fu Yi knew clearly what it was, the vast sea cosmic shroud, also known as the heart of the ocean. Your Excellency, this is our nation's treasure, the vast sea cosmic shroud, and it is also an object that may be related to a divinity. Shui Yi's hands were trembling. This was a national treasure related to a god. If he weren't afraid that the other party would truly kill him, Shui Yi would never have brought this out under any circumstances. Vast sea cosmic shroud, and a divinity. Are you taking me for a fool? Just because you say it's related to a divinity, does that make it so? I could also say I am a divinity walking on earth, do you believe that? Enough, the vast sea cosmic shroud was not worth 15 billion gold coins. In the hands of an ordinary person, this thing would very likely become a death warrant. Fu Yi tossed it into the system storage casually, but still gave Shui Yi a very reasonable price. It can only offset 5 billion gold coins for you, because whether this thing is truly related to a divinity remains to be verified. I cannot determine it is an item related to a divinity based on your word alone. Fu Yi's response was concise, and upon hearing that it could only offset 5 billion gold coins, Shui Yi's entire demeanor became dazed. The Heaven Do Empire's treasury had already been emptied by the other party, and now this national treasure, the vast sea cosmic shroud, had also been taken away. Shui Yi only felt his heart bleeding. Chapter 110, Princess Shui Ke pledged to Fu Yi. Not enough, you're still short by 1 billion gold coins. You only have 8 minutes left. Once the 8 minutes are up, your head will roll. Think carefully about whether money or your life is more important. Fu Yi felt that this old thing, Shui Yi, must be hiding something. After all, this was a great nation that had existed for thousands of years. Could the contents of the national treasury really be worth only 4.5 billion gold coins? However, the reality was indeed so. Currently, Shui Yi truly couldn't squeeze out another cent. Although the nation was prosperous, the nobles needed their salaries too. This year's salaries had just been distributed a few days ago, and on top of that, the army had just received an allocation of 300 million last month. The Heaven Do Empire was truly out of money now. There's no more money. The salaries for the army and the nobles were just distributed a few days ago. The imperial treasury truly has no money left. Shui Yi was frantic with worry. After all, this concerned his life. If things went wrong, he might actually die here. Oh, no money. What should we do then? How about using your head to pay off the debt? A faint smirk appeared at the corner of Fu Yi's mouth. When the other party had moved against his women, they hadn't thought about holding back, yet now that he was asking for 5 billion in compensation, the other party was being so stingy. He had no intention of letting the Heaven Do Empire off. Since they had laid hands on him and his family, they couldn't blame him for tearing off all pretenses. Debt settlement. Yes, debt settlement. I can use the commercial streets within the empire's borders to settle the debt. Finally, as if thinking of something, a glint of light flashed in Shui Yi's eyes. Commercial streets. That's somewhat interesting, but I don't need any so-called commercial streets. That can't be counted as debt settlement. Fu Yi couldn't take such things away, so they didn't count. This. However, at this moment, a slightly light-hearted sound of footsteps came from not far away. It was clear that the person's destination was this Heaven Do treasury. Hey, why isn't there even a single guard at the treasury today? But this is fine too, this princess is too lazy to enter through the side door anyway. A light, ethereal voice drifted in from the doorway. The next moment, a girl dressed in a small palace gown came skipping into the treasury. Why are all the pots and jars here gone? Even my favorite little crystal spinning wheel is gone. But at this moment, the young girl didn't notice the haggard-looking Shui Yi or Fu Yi, whose eyes held a hint of surprise. Have you made up your mind? You still have 3 minutes to choose what to pledge for the remaining billion gold coins. Although Fu Yi was curious about what Princess Shuike, a little girl he had met once before, was doing at the treasury, Shui Yi currently owed him 1 billion gold coins, so he simply ignored the little girl. Suddenly, a glint resembling that of an old fox flashed in Shui Yi's eyes as he turned his gaze toward his youngest daughter, Princess Shuike. Your Excellency, I will betroth my youngest daughter too. However, before he could finish his sentence, Fu Yi directly interrupted him. No, I have women, I don't need you to betroth a princess to me. Fu Yi was very clear about Shui Yi's little scheme, trying to tie him to the same boat using just one Princess Shuike. How could that be possible? No, Your Excellency, you've misunderstood. My meaning is that I will pledge my daughter, Princess Shuike, to you. I only hope you can grant me a few days' grace to repay the 1 billion gold coins. Fu Yi, Princess Shuike, #degree. Princess Shuike had also noticed the conversation between her father and the other person by now. Her own father wanted to pledge her to the other party just to get a few days' grace to pay off a debt. Princess Shuike only felt her heart twitch, it was very painful. Father, how could you? Hearing her father's words, Princess Shuike felt as if her heart was being violently torn apart. Shut up, you have no say here. Before Princess Shuike could even say a few words, Shui Yi directly barked at her to stop. Indeed, the most heartless place is the imperial family. Women of the royalty, especially the emperor's daughters, could only be used as tools for political marriage if their cultivation talent was poor. In Shui Yi's current view, it was time for Princess Shuike to make some sacrifices for the country. One who could sit on the imperial throne was inherently heartless, let alone when the survival of the nation was at stake. Fu Yi didn't speak, merely watching Shui Yi's heartless display. Meanwhile, Princess Shuike had been frightened into collapsing on the floor by his stern and cold gaze. The expression on Princess Shuike's face, who had arrived at the treasury with laughter, had now become numb. She didn't understand why the father who usually pampered her in every possible way would actually pledge her to someone else. Your Excellency, look at it this way, I will raise the remaining billion gold coins within a month. In the meantime, how about my daughter is pledged to you as a servant? Shui Yi's heart was also trembling, he wasn't sure if the other party would agree to this request. However, Fu Yi did not respond to him. Instead, he walked straight to the side of Princess Shuike, who was slumped on the ground with a numb face. He slowly crouched down and brushed aside the strands of hair scattered on the side of her cheek. I didn't expect that we would meet again in such a setting, little sister Shuike. Fu Yi's voice roused a sliver of consciousness in Princess Shuike. At this moment, she only felt that this voice was very familiar, as if she had heard it somewhere before. Her brown pupils gradually focused from their vacant state, and she finally saw clearly who the person in front of her was. It's you, big brother Fu Yi. Princess Shuike was startled. After all, she had met Fu Yi once before, but she never expected that their second meeting would be in such a situation. When Shui Yi saw that his youngest daughter actually knew this excellency, some other thoughts immediately surfaced in his mind. Your Excellency, shut up. This little girl can be worth 500 million gold coins. Just pay off the subsequent 500 million within half a month. Buying an exquisite and cute princess for 500 million gold coins, this wasn't a losing deal for Fu Yi. In half a month, I expect to see a donation of 500 million in Tianshui Academy's account. Furthermore, from now on, this little girl is my servant and has nothing more to do with your Heaven Do imperial family. Saying this, Fu Yi casually picked up Princess Shuike by the sash at the back of her palace gown. Princess Shuike, who was less than 1.5 meters tall, was held in Fu Yi's hand like a large toy. Yes, thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for your mercy. Thump, thump, thump. Asterisk. Upon hearing Fu Yi's words, Shui Yi subconsciously knelt down and kowtowed. Meanwhile, the little princess, Shuike, looked at her father with a face full of disappointment. Although she didn't know exactly what had happened, her father actually wanted to pledge her to someone else to be used as a servant. She was his daughter. Chapter 111. 3 months later, Du Guyan joins Tianshui. I'm sorry, team leader Qin Ming, but I want to quit the Wangdu team. In the waiting room, all the members of the Wangdu team were present, but upon hearing that their captain wanted to leave the team, everyone fell into confusion and bewilderment. Big sister Yan, why do you want to leave the team? What will we do without you? Our coordination is clearly so good. Yu Feng was the first to speak. Although he was effeminate, the entire team highly respected Du Guyan as their honorary captain, and even the vice captain, Yu Tianeng, could not compete with her. There is no need to discuss this matter further. From now on, let Yu Tianeng take the position of captain of the Wangdu team. After speaking, Du Guyan walked towards Yi Lingling. It should be known that Yi Lingling was the only other girl here besides her, and because the other girl was a spirit master of the healing element, the two had an excellent relationship. Lingling, do you want to come with Sister Yan? I'll look after you from now on. Du Guyan put her arm around Yi Lingling's shoulder with the air of a big sister. Yan, I'd better not. The imperial family has spent too many resources on me, and I can't pay them back. Yi Lingling wanted to leave with Du Guyan, but her reason told her that she could not. Her cultivation could not be separated from massive amounts of cultivation resources, and the resources required to advance each level increased almost geometrically. That is a problem. Then just stay here for a while. Let me go meet with my husband who loves to play hide and seek, and then I'll have him help you redeem your freedom. As soon as Du Guyan said this, the whole room went silent. A husband who loves to play hide and seek. Husband. The Wangdu members, including Yi Lingling, Big sister Yan, you. The two brothers, Shimo and Shimo, finally realized something. The word, husband, had popped out of the mouth of the most unlikely person, which they found hard to accept for the moment. What do you mean, you? I told you all before that I have a man. The year I awakened my spirit, he helped me remove the toxins in my body, and my spirit was improved because of his help. Furthermore, I had already secretly pledged my life to him back then. Du Guyan spoke to herself, and amidst the surprised gazes of everyone, she gave a few more instructions to Yi Lingling before turning to leave. Yan, do you really have a fiancé? But you know, Just as Du Guyan turned around, the owner of a certain dragon spirit called out to her, but Du Guyan looked extremely impatient at this moment. Yu Tianeng, I hope you can conduct yourself with dignity. He is not my fiancé, but my husband. I also hope you can recognize your own standing. I do not like you, and we are not people on the same path. At this moment, a terrifying aura erupted from her body. Even Qinming, who was standing at the door, clearly felt this shocking dragon pressure. An illusory golden dragon shadow appeared behind Du Guyan. That's right, this was Du Guyan's spirit, the Golden Earth Dragon King. Although her spirit still belonged to the Earth Dragon type, thanks to Du Gubo's painstaking efforts over the years, the spirit rings that Du Guyan absorbed were all from at least Earth Dragon type spirit beasts. For her 4th and 5th spirit rings, he even hunted a Crimson Flame Earth Dragon King that had just passed the 10,000-year level, which grew in the crater in the west of the Stardo Great Forest, and a light Earth Dragon that was over 20,000 years old. The evolutionary direction of Du Guyan's spirit was completely different from Du Gubo's. Du Gubo's spirit underwent partial dragon transformation based on the Jade Phosphorus Serpent Emperor, but to a greater extent, it progressed towards the direction of mixed poisons. As for Du Guyan's spirit, because it was influenced by the immortal spiritual plant, the Golden Dragon Sweet Potato, from the beginning, her spirit had been evolving in the direction of the Golden Dragon. Now, her spirit was completely not inferior to Yu Tianeng's Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. Du Guyan's aura, belonging to a level 59 Spirit King, pressed down on them so that they couldn't move at all. She had already tolerated Yu Tianeng, that clinging plaster, for long enough. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of Du Guyan's footsteps grew further and further away from the Wangdu team members, and just as she was about to leave the door, Qinming spoke up. Yan, are you sure you won't reconsider? Hearing Qinming's inquiry, Du Guyan just indifferently shook her head. Team leader Qinming, I only came here to pass the time. Until we meet again. After Du Guyan left, the remaining members of the Wangdu team began to discuss it. Vice Captain, what should we do? The captain has left. Vice Captain, why are you keeping your head down? Why don't you go and persuade? Yi Lingling watched the direction in which Du Guyan left, her expression somewhat dejected. On the other side, in the Tianshui team's waiting room, Fu Yi lay very comfortably on the sofa, enjoying Princess Shui Kei's massage. After 3 months of spending time together, Princess Shui Kei, the little princess whom Shui Yi had sold to him, had become Fu Yi's exclusive masseuse. The members of the Tianshui team had all gone out to compete, so only the 2 of them were left in the waiting room. Big brother Fu Yi, the massage technique you taught Princess Shui Kei. Princess Shui Kei is becoming more and more proficient at it. Princess Shui Kei was standing behind Fu Yi, working hard to massage him. Princess Shui Kei had no ill feelings towards big brother Fu Yi. Perhaps it was because they met as teacher and student the first time, or perhaps it was because, other than wanting her to massage him, he helped her solve all other matters. It's alright, but the strength could be a bit greater. Before coming to Fu Yi, Princess Shui Kei had always been a pampered princess, proficient in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and knew all kinds of aristocratic etiquette. Although she would sometimes be playful like a little princess, this was also where her cuteness lay. Before, in the imperial palace, Princess Shui Kei basically did not cultivate. According to what she had heard from Shui Yi, her cultivation talent was poor, so it was better to learn etiquette, zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and take good care of her body and skin while waiting to marry into a good family later. There was nothing wrong with this on the surface, but if one thought about it carefully, one would know that according to what he said, hadn't Princess Shui Kei completely become a tool for marriage alliances and consolidating royal power. But here at Fu Yi's place, her daily cultivation was synchronized with the members of the Tianshui team, except that she did not participate in the competitions, and her daily job was to pound Fu Yi's back and massage him. Princess Shui Kei's spirit was the Heaven Do Royal exclusive spirit, the Swan, which could be considered a relatively high-grade spirit, but Princess Shui Kei's innate spirit power was not high, only around level 3 or 4. When she first came here, she only had level 15 spirit power. Even though her talent was not good, she had improved to around level 18 after staying here for 3 months. Fu Yi was even planning to give this little girl some extra training to improve her talent. Knock, knock, knock. A slow and unhurried knocking sound came from outside the door. Please come in. Chapter 112, an invitation from Capital, gotta pay more. The door to the waiting room was slowly pushed open, while Fu Yi was still resting with his eyes closed, enjoying a massage from Princess Shui Kei. My dear husband, it's been over a decade, and you still make me come find you myself. A cold, clear female voice reached Fu Yi's ears. He had long known who it was, who else could it be but that little girl, Du Guyan. He had himself to blame for this, he should have brought Du Guyan over long ago. But after putting it off a few times, he had actually forgotten about it. As a result, he was caught red-handed by her while out shopping yesterday. Isn't this little sister Shui Kei? I was wondering why I hadn't seen you in months. I didn't expect you to have been taken away by this guy. Du Guyan's footsteps drew closer, and Princess Shui Kei finally snapped out of her daze. It's Sister Yanzi. Seeing Du Guyan arrive, little stars appeared in Princess Shui Kei's dark brown eyes. Princess Shui Kei knew Du Guyan, the captain of the imperial team. They had even strolled through the gardens at the Heaven Do Royal Academy together in the past. Although Princess Shui Kei was happy to see an acquaintance, she had already been sold by her former father for 500 million gold coins, and she was no longer the pampered little princess of the Heaven Do imperial family. Well, little sister Shui Kei, long time no see. Du Guyan had heard from her grandfather that Princess Shui Kei had been sold by that dog emperor, but she couldn't get involved in imperial affairs, so the matter had been dropped. However, seeing her here giving a massage to this heartless man, she figured her life probably wasn't too bad. Still pretending to be asleep. I've waited for you for so many years. You didn't come to find me when you returned. Do you know how heartbroken I am? Du Guyan walked straight up to Fu Yi, but Fu Yi simply laid back and gave up. Whatever you say, if I listen, I lose. Disc, still pretending. Your woman is right in your face, and you still won't open your eyes to look. Du Guyan leaned onto Fu Yi with the posture of a female rogue, her exquisite, mature face bearing 3 parts anticipation and 7 parts mischievous smile. Ignoring me. A cold, smooth little snake slithered over Fu Yi's abdomen, but this posed no pressure for him. If he said he wouldn't look today, even if the King of Heaven himself showed up. Due to unknown reasons, Du Guyan's current favorability is 100%, favorability locked. At this moment, Princess Shui Ke was completely stunned by Du Guyan's actions. Seriously, sister, you seem even more like a rogue than a rogue. Princess Shui Ke slowly covered her eyes with her fair little hands, but her big eyes couldn't help but peek through the gaps between her fingers at what was happening in front of her. And so, Princess Shui Ke watched as Du Guyan probed back and forth on Big Brother Fu Yi, and then, at an unexpected moment, Princess Shui Ke's cheeks flushed red in an instant, and for some unknown reason, Fu Yi opened his previously closed eyes. Although a hint of unnatural blush appeared on Du Guyan's face, she still looked at Fu Yi, pretending to be calm. Tell me, are you my husband? Du Guyan pressed her cheek directly in front of Fu Yi's face, and the two could feel each other's breath and heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump. Their heartbeats were rapid. Fu Yi swallowed, and one hand reached out to caress her pretty face. That is only natural. I, Fu Yi, have always kept my word. After saying this, while Du Guyan was still stunned, Fu Yi kissed her soft lips. Seeing that she had finally received Fu Yi's response and acknowledgement, Du Guyan did not loosen her grip on the future she had seized. However, Princess Shui Ke was completely frozen in place, unable to recover for a long time. After a while, a knock on the door came from outside, and only then did Du Guyan sheepishly withdraw her fair hand under Princess Shui Ke's slightly shocked gaze. Big brother Fu Yi, we're back. Outside the door, the voices of Shui Binger and the others came in. Du Guyan made a shish gesture toward Princess Shui Ke, who nodded repeatedly like a chick pecking at rice. Come in. After some self-introductions, Du Guyan, this cheerful, big girl, quickly hit it off with all the girls. As for the Imperial team, because they lacked Du Guyan, they could no longer form a team. Sister Yanzi, does that mean Big Brother Fu Yi has known you since 12 years ago? Was Big Brother Fu Yi as handsome then as he is now? Just as the group of little girls were chatting away, another knock came from the door. Hello, I would like to make a deal with your team. So you will give us a 10 million fee, but you want our Tianshui team to go to Soto City to compete. Listening to the other person, Fu Yi remembered that this matter was supposed to be for the Imperial team, right? How did it end up on his plate now? That's right, you just need to take your team to Soto City and play one match every day for half a month. Fu Yi pondered for a moment, then turned his gaze toward this minor noble, though his eyes were filled with the words, profiteer. Increase the commission eightfold, or we won't agree. Fu Yi knew these nobles' tricks very well. Isn't it just going to Soto City to fleece some sheep? They want to use them as hired muscle to make blood money. Fu Yi felt their abacus beads were about to fly right into his face. This. The leader selected from these minor nobles fell silent. Fu Yi didn't care about the other party, after all, while taking 80 million gold coins would mean they'd make less money, they definitely wouldn't be losing out. It seems your excellency lacks sincerity. You had better return. Our Tianshui team does not welcome you. From this person's clothes, Fu Yi could tell they were just local minor nobles, but the base was large enough that they had filtered out one person to come and negotiate terms with him. Isn't 80 million too much? If you can't pay, get lost. It's not like I'm desperate to go. Fu Yi had a firm grasp on the psychology of these minor nobles. After all, now that Du Guyan from the Imperial team had become one of his own, and the other teams weren't anything special, the Tianshui team was one of a kind at this moment. Fine, 80 million it is. I will have the card delivered tonight. I hope you can take your team to Soto City as soon as possible. Hearing the other party agree so readily, Fu Yi already understood the little schemes in their heart. How many fools could come to lead a negotiation? They were definitely looking to rake in the profits early, the other party was trying to swindle their own associates. Chapter 113, Made Princess Shui Ke, Blushing Online Bonus Chapter for Boss Shuiji's Tears. Inside a private room in the Great Spirit Arena of Soto City. Let us congratulate the Tianshui team for once again taking the victory in this match. Inside a luxuriously appointed private room, Fu Yi was lying on a soft sofa made from the fur of a 10,000-year-old demon wolf spirit beast, enjoying the attentive massage service from the little maid, Princess Shui Ke. This little girl, Princess Shui Ke, was wonderful in every way, it was just that her talent wasn't particularly good. She learned technical things very quickly, and since Fu Yi had unique insights into enjoyment, he had searched through the system mall to find many books on acupressure and bone setting. Aside from following the girls of the Tianshui team to cultivate and attend classes, Princess Shui Ke spent the rest of her time learning these things. Brother Fu Yi, how is Princess Shui Ke's technique? Fu Yi lay on the sofa while the little girl, Princess Shui Ke, naturally sat on his buttocks to press the acupoints on his back. Great progress. A little lowly like Princess Shui Ke, who didn't even weigh 70 jin including her clothes, was quite rare for Fu Yi, especially considering how good the food was here. Especially Wu Ling, she was originally a tiny and very cute thing, but now her figure was developing towards a more mature womanly style, and she was already about 1.67 meters tall. Aside from Ning Rongrong, the little witch who was a late bloomer, the other girls were similar, with heights generally around 1.7 meters. Only Princess Shui Ke, this little girl, ate meat and practiced her cultivation but didn't grow taller. Standing among the other girls, she looked tiny and adorable. Rustle, asterisk. Fu Yi turned over, and Princess Shui Ke, failing to react in time, fell directly onto his legs. Ouch. Mouth. Princess Shui Ke's 60 or 70 jin of weight felt like nothing to Fu Yi. Seeing her fall onto his legs, his large hand directly grabbed her small one. At winking face. Come here. With a slight exertion of Fu Yi's palm, the tiny Princess Shui Ke was pulled directly in front of him. At this moment, Princess Shui Ke's light gray long hair was slightly messy, though it was clear it had been neatly tied back earlier. She wore white silk stockings on her delicate feet and a light blue princess dress. However, feeling Fu Yi's movements, her heart was in a panic. Could it be that brother Fu Yi wanted to her? But brother Fu Yi was so handsome and powerful, becoming his girl would surely lead to a very happy future. Asterisk. But right now, she seemed to have been bought by him, so their relationship could only be that of master and servant. But just then, Fu Yi sat up and placed Princess Shui Kei on his lap. Her heart raced like a panicked deer. She had heard palace maids say that a girl's first time would be very painful. Princess Shui Kei sat facing Fu Yi on his lap with her eyes squeezed shut in tension. Fu Yi slowly reached out his hand toward her. Princess Shui Kei seemed to know what was about to happen and waited motionlessly for brother Fu Yi, who had bought her. At this moment, she only felt Fu Yi gently stroking her forehead and cheeks. When she slightly opened her eyes, she saw Fu Yi's peerlessly handsome face slowly approaching her own. Wow, brother Fu Yi is so handsome, I'm really nervous. However, what the little princess didn't expect was that Fu Yi's next move did not go in the direction she anticipated. You should be more careful next time. A girl should dress up beautifully when going out, the hair on your forehead is all messy. After Fu Yi helped Princess Shui Kei tidy her hair, a smile appeared on his face. Ever since she came to Tianshui Academy with him, she followed him around like a little shadow whenever she wasn't busy with her cultivation. A cute little loli, who wouldn't like that? I understand. The blush on Princess Shui Kei's cheeks deepened. In her heart, ever since her bastard father sold her to Fu Yi, she had already preset herself as Fu Yi's maid. As for the duties of a maid, having been a princess, she knew very well what she could and couldn't do. She had originally thought that brother Fu Yi would take her to his room on the first night he bought her, just like her father used to do with the songstresses he bought. But it had been 3 months, and brother Fu Yi still hadn't taken the next step with her. You little girl, what are you thinking about? Why is your little face so red? Looking at Princess Shui Kei's delicate face, which was like a red apple, Fu Yi felt a bit puzzled. But years of experience told him that this little girl definitely wasn't thinking about anything wholesome just now. I'm not. Hearing Fu Yi's words, Princess Shui Kei's face turned even redder, and she buried her head deep into Fu Yi's chest. Fu Yi didn't care if she was shy and lay directly back on the soft sofa. Because she was pressed against his chest, Princess Shui Kei naturally lay down on the sofa with him. Little girl, your thoughts aren't pure. Seeing Princess Shui Kei's submissive posture, Fu Yi's curiosity was immediately piqued. Brother Fu Yi, He blocked her mouth. Regarding whatever Princess Shui Kei wanted to say, Fu Yi indicated that she should hold her tongue for now. Princess Shui Kei's current favorability is 92%. Princess Shui Kei's current favorability is 93%. Princess Shui Kei's current favorability is 96%. Princess Shui Kei's current favorability is 99%. Fu Yi had once read Time Raiders and learned the signature move of the character Zhang Keeling, the Facho finger. His skill in that area was even superior to Zhang Keeling's. Gently pushing open the door, they found that this bad guy Fu Yi was still lying comfortably on the sofa, just as he had been when they left. Little did they know that Princess Shui Kei was still feeling the afterwaves of sensation, but fortunately, the princess dress she wore could hide her predicament. Brother Fu Yi, we've secured another victory. Xiao Wu skipped over to Fu Yi. Seeing him pretending to sleep, a mischievous grin appeared on Xiao Wu's face. Meanwhile, Zhu Yun and Zhu Qing watched Xiao Wu acting silly in front of Fu Yi. They knew that their status among Fu Yi's women was very high. When the two of them worked together, even a lustful limit Douluo like Fu Yi couldn't hold himself back. But just then, Ning Rongrong noticed the rosy flush on Princess Shui Kei's cheeks, and curiosity filled her face. Sister Princess Shui Kei, are you hot? Chapter 114, a pre-match chance encounter with Shrek, Tang Chuan has a breakdown. In the arena, Shrek was battling the mad team. Fu Yi sat in the audience seats below with Xiao Wu, looking completely relaxed as he watched the two future and present Tang Buddhas lead 5 deadweights against the remaining 6 members of the mad team, who had already entered a berserk state. Feeling the lively atmosphere around him, Fu Yi held Xiao Wu and watched the match with great interest, though whether he was enjoying holding Xiao Wu or watching the match was another matter entirely. Wow, brother Fu Yi is so biased, he actually left us behind to go off and enjoy a world for 2 with teacher Xiao Wu. Shui Yuer felt unhappy. HMPH, although teacher Xiao Wu is very beautiful, very gentle, and very talented, but I have already become shaped by brother Fu Yi. Shui Wu said. NYA, I already pledged my life to brother Fu Yi a long time ago, so you little girls shouldn't try to compete with your big sister. Du Guyan said this, a smile playing on the corner of her lips. But someone quickly realized what Shui Wu had just said. She already. Shui Wu, I feel like you need to give us an explanation. That's right, we sisters have always had only one attitude toward traitors. Shui Wu, you must confess everything, otherwise don't blame your sisters for being ruthless. Shui Binger, Shui Yuer, and the other girls said. Hey, no, I didn't say anything, you all misheard. However, the reality was. Yuer, Luyu, Harrow, hurry up, pin Shui Wu down. As captain, I want to personally inspect whether my good deputy is telling the truth or not. Meanwhile, Ning Rongrong, Zhu Zuqing, Zhu Zuyun, Meng Yiren, and Du Guyan, who were watching the drama unfold on the sidelines, inexplicably entered spectator mode. Because this wasn't the first time they had seen such an activity, and even Ning Rongrong, the queen of dirty jokes, had been the protagonist in this kind of activity, exclusive to girls. Thinking of this, a rosy blush appeared on Ning Rongrong's cheeks. Heaven knows how they treated her back then, although it did feel very novel and embarrassing at the time. Let us congratulate the Shrek team for winning this match. On the arena, the 2 Buddhas used every trick in the book except for hidden weapons to finally resolve the members of the mad team. Oh yeah, we won. Oscar, that slovenly sausage uncle, was full of excitement, while Ma Hongjun, who was missing an arm and covered in large scars, looking exactly like a monster from a horror movie, showed no emotion. However, the flames on his body seemed even more fierce and overbearing than before. Tang San and Tang Chuan, the 2 brothers, exchanged a glance. Tang Chuan had exposed the contents and cultivation technique from the mysterious Heaven Treasure record during this battle, and Tang San was now seriously suspecting that his brother had stolen and learned his mysterious Heaven Treasure record. Dai Mubai still had that look on his face as if his father had died. His spirit power had only increased by 2 levels in the 3+ years since then, and now, except for those 2 new students, everyone else's strength had completely surpassed his. Fu Yi was currently sitting in a corner of the spectator stand near the aisle, and Xiao Wu was snuggled in Fu Yi's arms. With her powerful mental force, it wasn't hard for her to detect the gazes of that group of little girls in the private box. But so what? She didn't mind that Fu Yi had many women, because he always fed her until she was full and could no longer take it. Now, her husband Fu Yi even had the magical ability to turn 1 hour into 24. She just wanted to find more reinforcements to help her get through the hard times. After all, Fu Yi was too strong, and even though she was now a level 98 super Douluo, she simply couldn't handle it. Husband Fu Yi, kiss. Actually, Xiao Wu hadn't expected to be promoted from a pet to a mistress, but now it seemed that mother was right to let her take human form early. If she hadn't listened to mother back then, she might still be one of those little girls fighting for favor now. That's right, Xiao Wu's transformation was arranged by a Wu, and it could be said that she had selfish motives. After reaching limit Douluo, she searched the whole world for spirit medicine that could increase the speed at which they cultivate. Hard work pays off, and finally, in the 2nd year after Fu Yi left, Xiao Wu successfully took human form. A Wu, didn't expect that, did you? Everything was arranged by yours truly. Kiss. Fu Yi and Xiao Wu were kissing intimately there, and this scene made the people around them envious. At this moment, Tang San, Tang Chuan, and the others also noticed Fu Yi sitting in the stands. Holy crap, it's that devil. Fatty and Dai Mubai almost shouted subconsciously after seeing Fu Yi, but almost in the next second, they covered their mouths. That's right, they remembered what happened when they had pissed off Fu Yi back then. You have to know that Ma Hongjun currently didn't have a single patch of good skin on his whole body, and his right hand had been cut off directly by Fu Yi. If Flender hadn't exhausted his family fortune to help treat his injuries, he would have long since died at Shrek Academy. Fu Yi, however, didn't pay them any attention at all. After all, how could these motley birds be as sweet as kissing his wife? However, he discovered that although this guy Ma Hongjun looked extremely terrifying on the outside, the dark power hidden in his body seemed to have been burned away by the black fire he had released earlier. Now, the other party's flames already showed faint signs of developing toward the ultimate fire. His junk got burned off, and after a severed arm and disfigurement, he can still have a rebirth from the ashes. However, how could ultimate fire be so easily achieved? Unless he could obtain an immortal herb, or he could reach that sliver of opportunity when becoming a super Douluo to sublimate his own flames. But looking at the current situation, with one arm severed, even advancing to title Douluo was a problem, let alone the deeper level of super Douluo. Brother Fu Yi, tonight we. A bit of playfulness appeared on Xiao Wu's exquisite cheeks again. You have to know that she had been conserving her energy for the past few days, and tonight she was preparing to challenge Fu Yi's majesty again. Whatever you want. You eat every day, yet you never seem to get tired of it. Hee, Xiao Wu only gets more addicted the more she eats. Fu Yi and Xiao Wu's words were heard clearly by that magical Shrek team. They cursed Fu Yi in their hearts as but they were actually very envious of Fu Yi deep down. After all, who wouldn't be envious of having such powerful strength and such a beautiful girlfriend? Especially our God King reincarnation, Tang Chuan. At this moment, his eyes were red, he was panting like an ox, and his eyes were staring fixedly at Fu Yi, as if Fu Yi were his sworn enemy who killed his father. Brother, what are you still standing there for? We have to go back. Tang San was puzzled. After seeing Fu Yi and Xiao Wu, he just recalled the situation with them back at Nuoding Academy. Although there were some misunderstandings between them, most were just trivial matters. After all, he now looked down on his teacher, who had no reserve of knowledge, because besides guessing that he had twin spirits and tricking him into becoming his apprentice, the other party had never taught him anything else. Get lost. I. Chapter 115, Having the Home Stolen, Jealous Tianshui Team Members. Due to the discovery of the time barrier, Fu Yi now had plenty of time. Plus, since his wives were all familiar with each other, they were quite open when they were together. Today was Sunday, and there were no special classes. Of course, if anyone didn't want to rest and wanted to come find Fu Yi for remedial lessons, they were welcome to report for duty. Just like Xiao Wu today, who, relying on her formidable recovery ability as a level 98 super Douluo, always wanted to come to Fu Yi for a few extra lessons. After eating and drinking their fill, Fu Yi brought Xiao Wu back to the room to prepare for remedial lessons. The other girls all knew about the relationship between teacher Fu Yi and Xiao Wu, after all, they had arrived together. However, these young girls all had their own hidden agendas, though tonight was certainly not a good opportunity. Inside the room, Fu Yi and Xiao Wu, this old married couple, washed up together. Although Xiao Wu wasn't very well behaved, she didn't do anything too daring. After washing up, Fu Yi directly released a space barrier. Within this space, the flow of time was 24 times faster than outside, 24 hours inside was equivalent to 1 hour outside. The night passed without incident. The morning sunlight shone on Fu Yi's face. He opened his eyes slightly, looking at the sleeping Xiao Wu beside him, as well as a certain silver-haired girl. After 12 hours had passed within the time barrier, this little princess finally opened her gray eyes weakly. The scenes from last night were still vivid in her mind. She had heard favored palace maids talk about these things before, but she hadn't expected it to be completely different with brother Fu Yi. When she regained her senses, she realized she was being held in Fu Yi's arms. Feeling this, her heart warmed. Although it was a bit painful at first, it didn't seem so uncomfortable afterward. As the effect of the time barrier faded, only 1 hour had passed in the outside world. Xiao Wu, the little girl, slowly got up and rubbed her sore little belly, her eyes looking at Fu Yi who was holding her. Then she bit down on Fu Yi's arm. Ah Wu. With that bite, Fu Yi was also woken up by the pain. Hey, rabbit, let go. If you bite your husband to death, you'll be a widow. Blay, who told you to be so rough with me last night? HMPH, who was it that told me to do? MMPH. Stop it, you're not allowed to say it. Today was the last day for Tianshui at the Great Spirit Arena, and also their last match here. The participants for the match were easily selected by rock paper scissors. The 7-person team for Tianshui team included Zhu Zuqing, Zhu Zuyun, Ning Rongrong, Shui Binger, Shui Yuer, Du Guyan, and Wu Ling. However, the girls who didn't get to play had no complaints, because their team selection for team matches was always done this way. Fu Yi had told them that everyone was a starter and everyone was a substitute. Currently, Tianshui team had a total of 11 members. Although only 7 played each time, the selection process was very fair, and they all really liked this method. Hee Yu Haro, I didn't expect to be able to rest again today. Blay, Rongrong just wanted to swap with me, but I firmly refused. Yeah, why would you want to play in a match when you can watch it? Meng Yiren and the others were peacefully observing the heroic bearing of their sisters from the spectator stand. What they didn't expect was that their group's darling, Princess Shui Ke, was actually carried to the scene by brother Fu Yi. That's right, the 4 girls in the spectator stand were all jealous. Shen Luyu, I never expected Princess Shui Ke to get there first. Yu Haro, I was wondering why Princess Shui Ke didn't come sleep with me last night, turns out she went to steal the home. Meng Yiren, I thought Princess Shui Ke was sleeping with Shui Wu last night. Shui Wu, meow meow meow. Xiao Wu was walking on Fu Yi's right side. However, she wasn't as satisfied at all that brother Fu Yi was holding Princess Shui Ke. Instead, she felt very sorry for the little sister, Princess Shui Ke. Recalling last night, Xiao Wu felt her face flush. Of course, her provoking him had also been met with Fu Yi's thunderous punishment, but fortunately, her recovery ability was very strong. Fu Yi naturally noticed the jealousy in the eyes of the 4 girls in front of him, so he simply placed Princess Shui Ke right in the middle of them. He might not understand girls from Blue Star very well, but he understood girls from Douluo continent quite well. After all, force reigned supreme here, and the strong were respected. Powerful spirit masters were qualified to have multiple wives, and emperors could even have thousands in their harem. It was just that for ordinary spirit masters and commoners, being able to marry one wife was already something to be thankful for. Of course, Fu Yi was cheating, so those who understood. The continent was his backyard. In the future, he would go to the God Realm and slaughter those extortionists, and afterwards, the God Realm would bear the surname Fu, the God Realm would also be his home. In the original work, God King Tang seemed to have done the same, but his cheats weren't strong enough, which is why there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5 Douluo volumes. Alright, you are all good sisters, so get along well. Princess Shui Ke was shoved into the pile of girls by Fu Yi, and Shen Luyu and the other 3 looked like hungry wolves discovering a little lamb, their eyes glowing green. As for Shui Wu, she was calm and composed. After all, she was brother Fu Yi's legitimate girlfriend. Even if Princess Shui Ke really joined, she would still have to call her sister. Princess Shui Ke, Sister Shen Luyu has treated you well, right? Princess Shui Ke, Sister Yu Haro wants to ask you some things. Good sister, can you tell Sister Meng Yiren about what happened last night? On the arena, the Tianshui Academy members and Shrek Academy were confronting each other. And on the spectator stand, besides Splendor, the team leader for Shrek Academy actually had an old acquaintance. Yu Xiaogang, do you think this group of children can win? According to the tactics I've researched, Little San and Little Chuan have a 60% chance of winning this match. A glimmer of cowardice and wisdom appeared in Yu Xiaogang's eyes. Although he didn't quite understand, he had to pretend he did. Chapter 116, Instant Kill Shrek, Martial Soul Fusion. Damn, the girls from Tianshui team are truly stunning. Oscar cheered excitedly, his eyes gleaming, while Ma Hongjun and Dai Mubai exchanged a glance, both seeing the helplessness in each other's eyes. That's right, both of them had been crippled by Fu Yi, faced with even the most beautiful girls now, it was all just empty talk for them. Dai Mubai naturally saw Zuqing among them, but what was the use? He had been crippled and had lost the possibility of seizing the throne, this was one of the reasons why Dai Mubai had been able to restrain himself from seeking trouble with Fu Yi back then. Ma Hongjun was even more miserable, under the scorching fire, he had been burned to charcoal, but fortunately, the evil fire within him seemed to have been purified by that black fire as a blessing in disguise, so he wouldn't be burned to death by the evil fire himself. However, Oscar's words and the lecherous looks he and the new Shrek member were giving disgusted Shui Binger and the others. Little sister, shall we end this quickly? Zhu Yun looked at Zuqing, and Shui Binger asked Shui Yuer the same question. Then let's end this quickly. Shui Yuer and Zuqing nodded in unison. Just then, referee Dodo, who looked like a little angel, had the white dove as her spirit. At this moment, she spread her white wings and hovered above the Great Spirit Arena, providing live commentary. Welcome everyone to the Soto City Great Spirit Arena. I am today's commentator, referee Dodo. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. With her white dove spirit, she was currently hovering near the luxury boxes, and Yu Haro and the other girls, who were still playing around, turned their gaze toward her after seeing the beautiful older sister flying in the sky. Referee Dodo seemed to have noticed the gazes around her. She turned around and saw the 4 cute girls sitting together in the private room. Girls generally like cute things, and referee Dodo was no exception. She waved at them and was about to fly down to continue hosting the match, but before flying down, she also saw Fu Yi standing beside the 4 little girls. Damn, this man is so handsome. This thought suddenly crossed referee Dodo's mind, but she knew very well that now was not the time to look at handsome men. She still had to commentate on the spirit fight match below. Fu Yi also noticed referee Dodo. Their gazes collided at this moment. Fu Yi didn't say anything, just nodded in acknowledgement. However, the 4 girls beside him, including Princess Shui Ke, all cast their gazes toward Fu Yi. Their 5 pairs of beautiful eyes were filled with 3 parts jealousy. They had been sisters living together for a long time, and now their brother Fu Yi was about to be snatched away by a girl from outside, so they had to unite against the outsider. Brother Fu Yi, is Lu Yu prettier or is that older sister from just now prettier? Brother Fu Yi, Haro really likes you. Brother Fu Yi. Fu Yi, oh, don't come over here. Right now, the relationship between the 5 original members of Tianshui team, excluding Shui Wu, and Fu Yi was separated by almost nothing more than a layer of cellophane. But who was Fu Yi? If they didn't speak, he wouldn't act. These girls loved to come and cuddle with him every day, but there were no signs of them crossing the line. Princess Shui Kei, this little loli, was truly bold. She actually washed herself in advance and hid under the covers. There is a good saying in Huaxia, bold people enjoy life early. If you don't take the initiative, how will others know whether the other person likes you or not? Martial Soul Fusion Skill, Phantom Cat Demon. Martial Soul Fusion Skill, Ice and Snow Kingdom. That's right, under Fu Yi's development, Zuqing and Zuyun, and Binger and Yuir all possessed martial soul fusion skills. Damn, my fire has been frozen. Brother, my blue silver stick has been frozen even harder. Zuqing, Zuyun, I didn't expect you. It's so cold, should we just surrender? We really can't fight this. ... The members of Shrek didn't even have the chance to raise their hands to surrender at this moment, and after Zuqing and Zuyun performed their martial soul fusion, they realized before they could even make a move that the 7 people in front of them had already been frozen by the martial soul fusion skill of Shui Binger and Shui Yuir. Sigh, if I had known, I wouldn't have fused. That's great, another match won for free. Hee hee, can't help it, Sister Bingbing and Sister Yuyu are just too strong. ... At this moment, referee Dodo, who was being blown around and trying to dodge the fierce blizzard on the field, was having a terrible time. One must know that Shui Binger's spirit was ultimate ice, and combined with her martial soul fusion skill with Yuir, it was something a spirit elder like referee Dodo could not possibly withstand. Shui Binger and the others had noticed this when they activated it, but it seemed they had realized it a bit too late. A colorful energy barrier instantly protected referee Dodo, who was in disarray amidst the blizzard. 30 seconds later, the blizzard subsided, and on the field, apart from the 7 members of Tianshui Academy, the remaining Shrek members had turned into 7 ice sculptures. Little San, Tang Chuan. As Tang San's teacher, Yu Xiaogang, this obese middle-aged man, limped onto the arena, looking at his disciples frozen in the solid ice, his heart was filled with immense grief. Where is the referee? Where is the referee? They are killing people. They are killing people. Yu Xiaogang's voice was filled with rage, but just then, as Shui Binger snapped her fingers, the solid ice on the Shrek members opposite shattered in response. Pop. Crack. Crack. The ice fell, and Shui Binger looked at Yu Xiaogang in front of her with full disdain. This is the Great Spirit Arena. Losing one's life due to a match is a perfectly normal thing. If this is all the level of you Shrek members, then I advise you kids to go back and drink milk for another 2 years. As the captain, Shui Binger had also observed the members of Shrek. She originally disliked Shrek's style. They were extremely ruthless when attacking others, even killing 3 members of the opposing team when fighting against the war team. Now that she had only frozen the other party, this shameless old guy behind these students dared to jump out and accuse her. You, unreasonable. Yu Xiaogang only knew that his beloved disciples were beaten. Now, looking at the pale-faced Tang San and Tang Chuan, he was furious to the extreme. Hey, let's say that's the case. However, when your team members were killing others, you seemed to be smiling the happiest. Shui Binger didn't want to argue with him. At this moment, she raised her eyes to look at the referee, who was wrapped in colorful energy in midair, with a hint of apology in her eyes. Referee, you can announce the match result now. At this moment, referee Dodo only slowly came back to her senses after hearing Shui Binger's words. After releasing her wings, she pointed her finger at the colorful barrier. It was very hard. Fu Yi saw this and slowly withdrew his spirit power. That's right, Fu Yi was still very gentle towards girls. Of course, if this had been that male referee, Fu Yi wouldn't have cared about his life or death. Male referee, so. Fu Yi, you are a man. Male referee, F***. Referee Dodo seemed to sense something and looked up, only to see Fu Yi with a smile on his face. Thank you. Referee Dodo mouthed, and Fu Yi just nodded faintly. Chapter 117, Dating Referee Dodo, Tianshui members get jealous. The breeze was gentle, and the weather was clear. Referee Dodo, that little beauty, skipped work today and boldly came to the luxury private room, taking Fu Yi away right in front of the Tianshui girls. Shui Binger, so she took brother Fu Yi away right in front of us. Shui Yuir, I knew she wasn't a good person. Yu Haro, what do we do? Brother Fu Yi won't be seduced by that vixen, will he? Shen Luyu, woo, my brother Fu Yi was seduced away. Wu Ling, teacher, brother Fu Yi he. Xiao Wu, it's fine, I'll take you along when teacher fights your master's husband later. ... That's right, referee Dodo took Fu Yi away right in front of the Tianshui beauties, a scene Shui Binger and the others never expected. Outside the Great Spirit Arena, on Gourmet Street. Thank you, if it weren't for you today, I might have. Referee Dodo was blushing. Fu Yi's godlike looks were top tier, and she could feel his cultivation was extremely powerful. All girls admire the strong, and referee Dodo was no exception. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is referee Dodo, and I am currently a commentator at the Soto City Great Spirit Arena. Fu Yi found her excitement amusing. It was like seeing a fan meet their favorite star. That's a cute name. Hello, I'm Fu Yi, currently the lead teacher of Tianshui Academy. Referee Dodo was very beautiful with perfect proportions. She was the living signboard of the Soto City Great Spirit Arena. After all, besides that proud girl in the spirit hall who never showed her true face, the only other beauty with white wings was this little white dove, referee Dodo. Hee hee, so you're a lead teacher. My spirit is a white dove. I'm 18 this year, a rank 31 agility attack system spirit elder. What about you? You seem very strong. Referee Dodo looked at Fu Yi with curiosity. He was the most perfect person she had ever seen, handsome, gentle, and powerful. As the gold medal host of the Great Spirit Arena, her standards were not low. Not bad. My spirit is a colorful dragon. As for my strength, I'm at the titled Douluo rank. Hearing this, referee Dodo covered her mouth and giggled. Fu Yi was puzzled by her reaction. In his view, titled Douluo was quite high. Hee hee, stop teasing me. Everyone who becomes a titled Douluo is an old man. You're so young, how could you be a titled Douluo? Fu Yi, tisk, this little lady is something, but not much. Asterisk. Fine, I'll listen to you. What rank do you think I am? Fu Yi became interested. He was curious about what rank she thought he was. PFFT, I feel like you should be a spirit emperor, or at least a spirit king. Referee Douluo's eyes twinkled with wisdom, and what could Fu Yi say? He had lowered his rank, but she wouldn't believe it. Fine, as you wish, I'm a spirit emperor. Fu Yi was helpless. Nowadays, no one believed him when he said he was a titled Douluo. If he said he was a demigod, no one would believe him even more. I guessed right. Referee Douluo smiled slyly, appearing as if everything was under control. Meanwhile, several figures in black, wearing masks and black hats, were watching them from the shadows. Sister, is it really okay to do this? Of course, we are protecting brother Fu Yi. But, no buts, we. Soon, the dishes referee Douluo ordered arrived. She invited Fu Yi to thank him for his help on the arena floor. The pan-fried tuna here is delicious, and the spicy chicken is a signature dish too. Referee Douluo was eating with both hands, having lost the rigid seriousness she had while commentating. Fu Yi didn't act coy either. Since they were out for a meal, he would eat his fill. Referee Douluo had ordered a dozen dishes, all signatures. They ate and chatted. The owner of the restaurant saw them and gave a motherly smile. Referee Douluo, haven't seen you in a few days and you've already brought a boyfriend to eat at Auntie Chin's place. A middle-aged woman came over. Referee Douluo blushed upon hearing this. Auntie Chin, it's not like that. He helped me, so I'm treating him to a meal. Referee Douluo avoided eye contact with Fu Yi. Auntie Chin, who knew her well, understood what the girl meant. He helped you, so you take him out to eat. And ordered so many dishes. Young man, this little girl Referee Douluo is a good girl. Don't let down her genuine heart. The woman emphasized, genuine heart, and looked at Referee Douluo with tenderness. Auntie Chin tilde. Referee Douluo glared at her, but the woman ignored her and kept talking to Fu Yi about her past. Fu Yi was unwittingly drawn in. Oh, you mean when Referee Douluo was little, she liked to. Yes, and let me tell you. So that's how it was, Referee Douluo. Referee Douluo listened as Auntie Chin, who had watched her grow up, spilled all her past secrets to Fu Yi. Her face grew redder with every word. Even the embarrassing things from when her parents were still alive and she stayed at Auntie Chin's place while they went hunting were told. The key was that Fu Yi was eating and chatting happily, occasionally looking at her with those smiling, golden eyes. That was it. In the span of a meal, her little secrets were almost completely exposed by Fu Yi. Young man, I heard you're a teacher at an academy. Let me tell you, although Referee Douluo works in a place as mixed as the Great Spirit Arena, this is her first time dating. I hope you treat her well. If it weren't for a living, she wouldn't work in a place like this. Listening to Auntie Chin, Fu Yi nodded with a smile. Joke's on her, his system could scan whether she was a good girl or not. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come. Although he was a playboy, he had high standards for his harem. He provided enough dowry, immortal herbs, spirit bones, spirit rings, and even god positions. And Referee Douluo was beautiful enough and self-respecting enough, which was why he agreed to come out and improve their relationship. Don't worry, Auntie Chin. I'll find a connection to get Referee Douluo a new job later and have her be a host in Spirit City. However, just as Fu Yi and Auntie Chin were chatting, an arrogant voice came from not far away. Where's the boss? Why aren't there any waiters? Fatty here wants to eat. Bring all your signature dishes out for me. Chapter 118. Surprise. Fu Yi is really a titled Douluo. A loud thunderclap in the sky, Shrek makes a flashy entrance. Shrek has done all the bad deeds, 2 living Buddhas saving the world. Accompanied by a fatty wearing fire-red clothing with terrifying, festering skin all over his body, he strode in. While he was comfortable, the diners nearby were covered in dust by him. You brat, this is a restaurant, not your home. Do you know what it means to respect others? The diner also had a short temper. After all, those who could come here to eat were basically contestants from the Great Spirit Arena. They fought matches every day for a living, and the night was the only time they could rest, yet now they had been disturbed by such an ugly fatty. Hey, just because of you, you think you deserve my respect. Ma Hongjin's ferocious face was full of arrogance. At this moment, Flender saw this scene but ignored it. After all, Shrek's motto was that those who dare not cause trouble are mediocre, and furthermore, in his perception, the other party was just a small spirit grandmaster. Damn, isn't that girl Referee Douluo, the host who commentated on our match today? She's actually here too. Accompanied by Oscar's exclamation, everyone from Shrek Academy turned their gaze towards Referee Douluo. At this moment, seeing such a group of strange-looking creatures looking at her, Referee Douluo felt a little panicked. But at this moment, Fu Yi gently held her cold, small hand. It's okay, they are just a few idiots who don't learn their lesson. Feeling the hot temperature in Fu Yi's palm, Referee Douluo's heart calmed down a lot. However, Dai Mubai and Ma Hongjun were now not interested in women, so when they heard about a beauty, they just glanced at her hurriedly. But this guy Oscar actually risked his life and came behind Fu Yi. This beautiful lady, my name is Oscar, I am a. However, before Oscar finished introducing himself, Fu Yi looked back at this Oscar, who lacked any masculinity and only knew how to fantasize in his heart. Fu Yi, no, Your Excellency Fu Yi. Although Oscar usually looked quite stupid, at critical moments, his brain reacted very quickly. Just as he saw Fu Yi's familiar face, he stepped back 3 steps, then bowed 90 degrees towards Fu Yi. Fu Yi. When Flender heard the name Fu Yi from Oscar's mouth, his expression instantly became tense. However, when he saw clearly that the person with his back to them was indeed Fu Yi, he immediately came to Oscar's front and bowed 90 degrees. Your Excellency Fu Yi. Flender was truly terrified of Fu Yi now. Back then, the fact that he could save his life after all his bones were broken was because the other party had held back, otherwise, he would definitely have died long ago. Flender, it seems you are still using your old rhetoric to teach your students. Those who dare not cause trouble are mediocre. Hey. Fu Yi's words were also heard by the diners present. Those who dare not cause trouble are mediocre. Isn't this just telling his students to bully others? And saying those who dare not cause trouble are mediocre, if they really provoke a true powerhouse, they will definitely die a miserable death. However, these diners heard Fu Yi's words, as well as the tone of this middle-aged man leading Shrek, and seemed to understand something. It turned out that this group of those who dare not cause trouble or mediocre had provoked this great person. If you can teach, then teach properly. If you can't, just disband quickly. Look at your students, besides bullying the weak and fearing the strong, what else can they do? At this moment, Flender dared not even breathe loudly, nodding his head repeatedly like a chick pecking at rice. Your Excellency is right, I will, when I go back. People teaching people doesn't work, but experience teaches people once and for all. Now get lost immediately. I have an appointment today and don't want to see you. After hearing Fu Yi's words, Flender nodded quickly. Yes, yes, yes. We'll get lost right now. We'll get lost right now. Saying this, Flender and his group hurriedly left, and our God King reincarnation, Tang Chuan, left Fu Yi a vicious look before leaving. But Fu Yi just smiled indifferently at this. Even if the other party were a God King, he wouldn't be afraid, let alone the fact that the other party was just a reincarnation. Following Shrek's departure, the diners staying here looked at Fu Yi with curious eyes, because only then did they remember the title the middle-aged man had used for this young man. Your Excellency, that guy just called you Your Excellency. Could it be that you are really? Referee Dodo widened her beautiful eyes. She knew that Flender, he was the leading teacher of Shrek, a spirit saint powerhouse. Because of their failure, the Great Spirit Arena's savings had been looted, and the other party seemed to still owe money to the Great Spirit Arena. Tisk, didn't you, little girl, just say I was a spirit emperor? Why are you saying I am that powerful title Douluo now? Fu Yi ignored Referee Dodo's surprised gaze and just teased her about what she had just said. But, I didn't expect you to be a titled. Referee Dodo was very panicked now. Her original intention was to ask the handsome Fu Yi out to improve their relationship, but as she asked him out, she discovered that the other party was actually a Your Excellency, a powerful titled Douluo. Little Yi, no, Your Excellency, you. At this moment, Aunt Chin could not sit still after learning that Fu Yi was a titled Douluo. A titled Douluo powerhouse, that was someone even Spirit Hall would desperately try to recruit. It's fine, even if I am a titled Douluo, I should still have a normal life, just like chatting with you, Aunt Chin, and eating with little sister Referee Dodo. However, Referee Dodo was still struggling with one thing, since Fu Yi was a titled Douluo, how old was he now? After all, the titled Douluos she knew were all old men over 100 years old. A titled Douluo as young as Fu Yi. What are you thinking about, little girl? You were just chatting with me, why are you afraid to speak now? Fu Yi pinched Referee Dodo's little nose and cheeks. At this moment, her cheeks were flushed red, and she didn't speak, not knowing what she was thinking in her heart. Referee Dodo's inner thoughts. Oh my mommy, this is the first time I've asked a boy I like out, but I didn't expect to ask out a titled Douluo. World, hurry up and destroy yourself. Who am I, Referee Dodo, to be able to have a sweet romance with a titled Douluo level powerhouse? Referee Dodo had originally thought that being able to find a gentle, handsome guy at the Spirit Emperor or Spirit King level to be her boyfriend would have been excellent, but now she suddenly discovered that the boy she had asked out was actually a titled Douluo. Hiss. It's over, there's completely no chance. There might have been a chance with a Spirit King or Spirit Emperor, but the other party is a titled Douluo. How could he possibly fancy a Spirit Elder like her? Unless the other party is blind. Fu Yi, it's over, I'm blind. Chapter 119, Referee Dodo's Springtime, the Tianshui team's conspiracy. The birds have vanished from the 1,000 mountains, 10,000, what was it? I forgot. Anyway, just know that this is meant to express a deep concept. After learning that Fu Yi was a titled Douluo, Referee Dodo stopped thinking about dating him. After all, given their respective statuses, it was impossible for the two of them to be together. Half an hour later. Brother Fu Yi, Dodo is unhappy. Referee Dodo was slumped over the dining table, her cheeks flushed with an unnatural crimson. That's right, this little girl had been drinking. Watching this little girl drink herself into such a state, Fu Yi couldn't help but feel a wave of helplessness. He could naturally guess what she was thinking. Later, she even used the alcohol as an excuse to tell him many little secrets that even Aunt Chin hadn't told him, though Fu Yi could clearly feel that she was deliberately distancing herself from him. It seemed she had decided that the two of them were parallel lines destined never to intersect. In his eyes, Referee Dodo was actually a very rational young lady. She knew what she wanted and would strive for that goal, but she also knew what she should and should not think about. A titled Douluo and a Spirit Elder, the gap between these two ranks was simply too vast, too wide to bridge, and too daunting for her to even imagine. Sigh, this girl, Referee Dodo, is quite pitiful. If your excellency has nothing else to do, please head back. She is safe here with me. Aunt Chin walked over from the bar after seeing that Referee Dodo was drunk. Fu Yi shook his head at Aunt Chin. From now on, this little girl will follow me. I will not mistreat her. Amidst Aunt Chin's look of utter disbelief, Fu Yi stood up and walked over to Referee Dodo. She was already drunk, her face a mass of crimson. Your excellency, it is fine. She is beautiful, rational, and decisive enough in her actions. Is that not enough? Fu Yi gathered her into his arms. This appeared to be Referee Dodo's first time drinking. After all, only seasoned alcoholics or novices like her would be able to guzzle down glass after glass of high-proof liquor. There are 20 million gold coins on this card. Aunt Chin, you won't need to run the shop anymore. In the future, when I have time, I will bring Referee Dodo to visit you. Fu Yi placed the card on the table, then vanished into the night amidst Aunt Chin's look of utter disbelief. Referee Dodo, you little girl have truly seen your suffering come to an end. Tears welled up in Aunt Chin's eyes. After all, for a girl with an ordinary background to rely on her own abilities to become a gold medal referee at the Great Spirit Arena was an extremely difficult feat. Meanwhile, the members of the Tianshui team were lying in wait in the shadows. Big sister Referee Dodo's background is quite pitiful. True, but that is no reason for her to snatch away our brother Fu Yi. Should we wait another night? Then tomorrow night we will. No way, I am the big sister here. Tomorrow, UAA and I will go first, and the rest of you can line up afterwards. Shui Binger struck a big sister pose. Big sister, you are bullying us. You Harrow put on a weak appearance. Woo woo woo, as expected, only I, Shui Wu, and Harrow are the ones getting hurt. Shen Luyu wore a face full of little green tea expressions. Actually, I already did it a few months ago, cough cough, and the day before yesterday I even. Shui Wu's face was filled with smugness. What did you say? They spoke in unison. Dot dot dot. Don't think this is unreasonable, their affection for the protagonist had long since reached 100%. It's just that the final barrier hadn't been broken, and they hadn't done the deed yet. Soto City, Rose Hotel. It was still the place where the dream began. The decor was still beautiful, and the clerk was the same one from last time. The best room. Money is no object. Understand. Understood. Late at night, in the super suite on the top floor of the Rose Hotel, the Moonlight Lake. Today was the night of the full moon, and from the top floor, one could better receive the radiance of the silvery moon. After freshening up and helping the little girl, referee Dodo, wash up, Fuyi lay down on the soft, silver bed, feeling thoroughly satisfied. With the casting of the time barrier, looking out from inside the barrier, one would find that the clouds outside were drifting very, very slowly. Fuyi was not the type to take advantage of someone in a vulnerable state, with the exception of a Wu, of course. For a rational girl who dared to love and hate like referee Dodo, Fuyi did not want her to engage in that kind of deep relationship with him while her consciousness was unclear. At the very least, he had to wait until she was sober. Of course, Fuyi would certainly not touch what he shouldn't, but he would hold her when he should, and touch her when he should. It would be a fool's game not to take advantage of the benefits. After some modifications by Fuyi, referee Dodo, who originally had a beautiful girl vibe, was dressed by Fuyi in pure white silk stockings and a white gold skirt. He even drew a few little golden hearts at the corner of her eyes. Now, lying in the moonlight, she had quite the aura of a moon angel. Whatever, Fuyi had plenty of time anyway. He held the fragrant, beautiful girl, referee Dodo, and slowly drifted off to sleep. I don't know how much time passed, perhaps 8 hours, perhaps 10. Referee Dodo's beautiful eyes slowly opened a crack. Looking at the very unfamiliar ceiling, she felt that something was wrong. She wanted to move, only to discover that she seemed to be held by someone. This discovery brought her back to her senses instantly, and she remembered that she seemed to have gotten drunk and passed out at Aunt Chin's hotel. But how did she get here? And the one holding her in his arms was. Referee Dodo turned her head to see who was holding her, but when she saw that face, her entire brain crashed. Ah, how could it be Fuyi? Fuyi also woke up because of referee Dodo, who was fidgeting in his arms. His deep, gilded eyes looked lazily at referee Dodo, who was struggling in his embrace. Referee Dodo, you're awake. Fuyi looked at the waking referee Dodo with a smile on the corner of his lips, while referee Dodo's expression was extremely rich upon seeing that Fuyi had also woken up. Fuyi, no, your excellency, I really don't know anything. Referee Dodo was on the verge of tears. She was a spirit elder, and to wake up after getting drunk and find herself sharing a bed with a titled Douluo powerhouse, was this kind of story really not something out of a novel? What, you've eaten me clean and now you're turning your back on me? Seeing referee Dodo like this, Fuyi became interested in teasing her. No, your excellency, I really can't remember. I was really drunk. She was panicked, referee Dodo was very panicked. If you told her she could fly, she would believe it, but if you told her she had slept with a titled Douluo, she would refuse to believe it even if she died. I really, MMPH. Watching referee Dodo's panic state, Fuyi decided to use some physical therapy. A warm tongue circled within, and referee Dodo's originally panicked eyes became bewildered at this moment. She hadn't expected this handsome excellency to actually kiss her. There is an old saying in Washa that goes well, not resisting is accepting. Since the beginning had already been made, the subsequent events would naturally not be left behind. And so, in that bed scattered with moonlight, a flush of crimson quietly emerged. Chapter 120, The Sisterly Dispute Between Shui Binger and Shui Yuir. Happiness knows no time, once is a whole day. Under Fu Yi's diligent instruction, referee Dodo, the gold medal commentator, finally learned another foreign language. However, everything was so difficult at the beginning. After all, it was a new experience, and referee Dodo's adaptability wasn't that strong yet. But who was Fu Yi? With a cheat code at his disposal, how could he watch referee Dodo suffer? He directly arranged some no-side effect technology and hard work. In the early morning, Fu Yi lay on the big bed, feeling satisfied, while the girl lying limp and powerless in his arms was none other than referee Dodo. Feeling the warmth in his arms, Fu Yi thought it was very nice. Compared to Zuqing and Xiao Wu, referee Dodo gave him the feeling of a little sister next door, and this feeling was very wonderful. Last night, in the midst of their joy, referee Dodo poured her heart out to Fu Yi. However, Fu Yi, this playboy, naturally told referee Dodo about having several girlfriends. However, with the system there wouldn't be a Shira field. Although he was shameless, he was not incompetent. In the future, he could lead all his girls to become gods, allowing them to live forever with him. In a while, it would be time for the Continental Advanced Spirit Master competition, so he also planned to let these little girls absorb the immortal herb and some vicious beast spirit bone. Just as Fu Yi was thinking about future plans, referee Dodo, that little glutton, seemed to have woken up. Hiss Tilda, it hurts. Referee Dodo let out a low moan of slight pain, but she quickly came to her senses. My little white dove, were you happy last night? Fu Yi gently held her in his arms, pressing his cheek against her snow-white neck, breathing in with greed. But soon, it was almost an instinctive reaction of Fu Yi's body. Ying. No, you can't. Cough cough, it was definitely an accident, this was absolutely not intentional by Fu Yi. Hee, this is an accident. At this moment, referee Dodo was held tightly in Fu Yi's arms, unable to move a muscle, while Fu Yi's face carried a hint of apology. You're bullying me. Referee Dodo's face was flushed with embarrassment. This guy Fu Yi was too bad, and this was not what her little sisters had told her. She was finding it very difficult to even get out of bed now. Alright, now that you are already my little wife, what's wrong with bullying you a little? Regarding referee Dodo's rebuttal, Fu Yi indicated that he had already occupied the high ground. HMPH, who is your little wife? I am not. HMPH, you little bad girl, except for the beginning where I was the one who initiated it, the rest was all requested by you. After a long while, Fu Yi carried referee Dodo away from there. As for her job at the Soto City Great Spirit Arena, if she lost it, she lost it. He would just let her stay in the academy for a while, and when the Continental Advanced Spirit Master competition was about to start, he would send her to Bibidong. Do you like the profession of a commentator? Fu Yi walked while carrying referee Dodo, not very fast. I like watching battles between spirit masters, and I also like guessing their combat awareness. Being a commentator is not only profitable, but it is also my hobby. Hearing Fu Yi talk to her about her profession, referee Dodo immediately began to talk endlessly about her past. Unknowingly, they arrived at the hotel belonging to the Tianshui team. At this time, the team members had already woken up early. Seeing Fu Yi, this playboy, holding referee Dodo, a little beauty he had just met, they all felt a bit jealous. Brother Fu Yi is so bad, clearly we were here first. I think it is necessary to punish Brother Fu Yi. The little girls were chattering and plotting something in front of Fu Yi. Referee Dodo naturally heard the words of these little beauties. She had seen them yesterday, and that powerful ice and snowstorm was something she couldn't resist even after exhausting all her efforts. Seeing Fu Yi walk in, the little girls slowly dispersed. They looked at each other, and at this moment, Shui Binger gave a look to Xiao Wu, and a mischievous look appeared in Xiao Wu's eyes. Brother Fu Yi, is this the new sister? So cute. Xiao Wu stepped with lotus steps and arrived in front of him in an instant, then kissed Fu Yi's cheek without any hesitation. Mwah, I will help Brother Fu Yi hold the little sister first. It just so happens that we can get to know this little sister too. Xiao Wu took referee Dodo from Fu Yi's hands in a few quick moves. Referee Dodo was a little stunned, and when she came back to her senses, she found that she was already held in the arms of another girl with stunning beauty. Referee Dodo, Xiao Wu, ya jay ya. Brother Fu Yi, we have already called for the carriages. I will take the little sister to get more familiar with those little girls. A total of 3 carriages were rented, one for Xiao Wu, referee Dodo, Zhu Zuyun, Zhu Zuqing, Wu Ling, and Ning Rongrong, one for Shen Luyu, Yu Haro, Shui Wu, Du Guyan, and Meng Yiren, and one for Fu Yi, Shui Binger, and Shui Yuer. At this moment, Fu Yi was very confused. After all, what on earth were these 2 little girls doing? White silk stockings, ice blue short skirts, at this moment, they had casually tossed their little white leather boots aside and were sitting there with their legs tilted in such a seductive way. Brother Fu Yi, Binger originally wanted to have some wonderful things happen with you last night, but my plan was ruined by some unknown little bird. So, Brother Fu Yi, how are you going to compensate me? Shui Binger's ice blue eyes carried a hint of jealousy, and her fair little hand slowly climbed onto Fu Yi's chest. Brother Fu Yi, although that may be so, I was the first girl to confess to Brother Fu Yi, okay. Sister just saw your looks and acted on it later. Shui Yuer directly occupied Shui Binger's original position, and Shui Binger was pulled behind her. Shui Binger. I am the sister, Yuer, you should listen to me. Seeing her good sister Yuer, slandering her there, Shui Binger directly put on her sisterly airs, intending to use her seniority to suppress Shui Yuer. Blay, I am the younger sister, you should yield to me. Shui Yuer also refused to give in at all. However, at this moment, Fu Yi, who was lying in the carriage, finally couldn't help but speak. How about I? However, Shui Binger and Shui Yuer stood up at the same time, and each used one little white silk-clad foot to directly block Fu Yi's mouth. Shui Binger, this is a matter between us girls. Shui Yuer, Brother Fu Yi, you just wait there for the result. Shui Binger, Shui Yuer, I'll go first. 2.5 minutes later, the space barrier was released, the time barrier was released, the concealment barrier was released. 10,000 words omitted here. Chapter 121, Active, Passive. Shui Yuer and Shui Binger were carried back by Fu Yi, as they were so sore from their bickering and provocation that they couldn't even sit up. However, their sorry state wasn't seen by Yu Haro and the other girls, as the leaders of the Tianshui team, they had to save some face, right? Late at night, the 3, wounded, referee Dodo, Shui Binger, and Shui Yuer, were placed in a room to rest. Deep in the night, the bright moon shone into the bedroom. Shui Binger's beautiful eyes trembled slightly, and Shui Yuer also slowly opened her ice blue eyes, her face twisted in a hint of pain. Because of their movements, referee Dodo, who was sandwiched between them, was woken up. Unlike Shui Binger and Shui Yuer, she had already regained some chi and was gradually adapting to her current body. Shui Binger, Shui Yuer, sister. This isn't right, this is completely different from what I saw in books. Although it hurts a lot, Brother Fu Yi is so gentle to me. Shui Yuer covered her blushing cheeks with a small quilt. They had read in books that a girl's first time would be a bit painful, but they didn't expect it to be this painful. Are you guys also? Just as Shui Binger and Shui Yuer were talking, referee Dodo, who was sandwiched between them, joined the chat. Hey, you're that pretty sister with the white wings from the Great Spirit Arena. Woo woo woo, so much life chi, clearly, we came first. Shui Yuer was very unhappy. She was clearly the first to confess, but she wasn't the first one. Anyone who has lived in a girl's dormitory knows that a girl's dorm is way more than a boy's dorm, so. 1 minute later. Shui Binger, sister, your bottom is so white and smooth, can I touch it again? Phi asterisk musical note. Shui Yuer, sister smells so good, like milk. B. Referee Dodo, no, you really can't touch there anymore. Sigma Xu degree D degree winking faced Xu. On the other side, in the bathroom of Fu Yi's room, the little kitty Zhu Zuqing was scrubbing herself clean. So, big sister Binger and big sister Yuer are. Zuqing was full of curiosity. She knew that after her first time, she couldn't get out of bed for 2 days, and these little sisters were probably the same. Just as you thought, they've become your little allies. Fu Yi would never compromise on his status in the family. Of course, he felt that the white silk feet stepping on the face thing could happen more often. It was quite stimulating. Husband, haven't you and little sister finished washing up yet? However, just then, Zhu Zuyun walked in with cat-like steps and gently opened the bathroom door. The magnificent view was laid out directly before Fu Yi. It'll be done soon, Before he could even finish speaking, Zhu Zuyun slammed the bathroom door shut and lunged at Fu Yi like an octopus. Her pink lips pressed against the back of Fu Yi's ear. We're taking a mandarin duck bath together today. ... Morning is good, noon is also nice, but late night is even more tempting. Feeling the cool breeze, Fu Yi stretched as he faced the morning sun. Heaven knows how difficult this vixen Zhu Zuyun was last night. They say women become like wolves and tigers after a certain age, and Zuyun is not even 20 yet. Fu Yi couldn't hold back last night either. He used 3 24-hour time barriers before he felt satisfied. Who is Fu Yi? He had never fallen behind in the battle of wits with his wives. However, correspondingly, Zhu Zuyun probably wouldn't be able to appear in front of these little girls for the next 2 days. And because they had just finished the competition, Fu Yi gave this group of girls a month-long vacation. As for whether they had a vacation or not, it didn't seem to matter to them. After all, most of the Tianshui team members were picked up from outside by Han Rian. This place was their home. Meng Yiren and Du Guyan hadn't arrived long ago either, and they had no intention of going back. Xiao Wu, that little girl, was even more ruthless, saying she didn't want her mom, just him to keep her company. I just hope Ai Yin can refrain from spanking her daughter's little bottom when she hears her say such things. Within the residential area belonging to the Tianshui team. That's right, the residences of the Tianshui team members were separated from the ordinary members of Tianshui Academy. However, the dining areas, such as the central cafeteria and the simulated cultivate grounds, were shared. Yet, just as Fu Yi stepped out, he was met by a tall girl with black hair and gold eyes. Yo, isn't this my little husband? I'm already your little wife, yet you haven't come to find me after so many days. I'll get life chi, you know. Fu Yi felt a twitch in his heart upon hearing her tea-like words. Or is it that husband dislikes me for not being pretty enough, or unable to satisfy you? She slowly walked in front of Fu Yi, lifted his chin with her fingertips, her eyes full of teasing. Yanzi, this matter, Shish tilde it's too late to say anything now. Just come to my room peacefully now, and you won't have to worry about the rest, husband. ... Unknowingly, another year had passed. Fu Yi had spent every night of this past year in dire straits. There was no helping it, he had to fill the hole he dug himself. But his harem group was really starting to take shape. A Wu, Ai Yin, Yuehua, Xiao Wu, Erlong, Rian, Zuqing, Zuyun, Yanzi, Shui Wu, Binger, Yuir, Haro, Luyu, Referee Dodo, It is a bit too many, huh? However, Ning Rongrong, Meng Yiren, and Wu Ling, these 1 big and 2 small girls who hadn't joined the group yet, were always huddled in the corner whispering recently. Of course, Fu Yi wouldn't pry into their privacy. Now, there was about half a year left until the Continental Advanced Spirit Master competition. Fu Yi reckoned it was time to let them eat the immortal herbs. At noon, Fu Yi called all the little girls from the Tianshui team to the training room. Brother Fu Yi, what are we practicing today? Shui Yuir's little face was flushed. She lunged at Fu Yi and immediately occupied his left arm. Yuir, stop messing around. I have serious business to discuss with you all this afternoon. Hearing Fu Yi's words, Shui Yuir reluctantly let go of his arm and ran to Shui Binger for comfort, not forgetting to make a funny face at Fu Yi before leaving. Hee, brother Fu Yi, stop keeping us in suspense. We're all here. Shui Wu, Omicron equals Omega less than equals Rho. Brother Fu Yi, just tell us, we're all very curious. Chapter 122, Absorbing the Immortal Herb, Collective Breakthrough. Princess Shui Ke was currently mingling in the crowd, having also received the summons to come here. One must know that besides cultivating, she usually spent her time learning various massage techniques taught to her by Fu Yi, and now she had even taught herself a new subject. Although it was not exactly a proper course. Since everyone is here, line up and come over one by one. Oh. The rest of the girls. Especially Shui Yuir and Shui Wu, their cheeks were flushed red, and they looked at each other with expressions of utter disbelief. There is only half a year left until the Continental Advanced Spirit Master competition. I have prepared some immortal herb for everyone that can improve the quality of your spirit and your own potential. As Fu Yi spoke, he took out the immortal herb he had prepared in advance from the system space. Wow, such a fragrant scent. Little stars twinkled in Shui Binger's ice blue eyes. Come here, Binger, this is your immortal herb, the octagonal mysterious ice grass. It can further purify the ice attribute within you. This is for Yuir, like your sister, it is also the octagonal mysterious ice grass. Zuqing, Zuyun, these are yours. They are 2 dark night star divine plant. This immortal herb comes with darkness and wind attributes, making it the most suitable for you. Rongrong, this is yours, the silk velvet fragrant tulip. As for the effects, you will know after you consume it. As Fu Yi handed the last immortal herb to Ning Rongrong, the distribution of the immortal herb for the day finally came to an end. Most of them were now curiously playing with their respective immortal herb, except for Du Guyan, who was sitting right beside him. She had already consumed an immortal herb, and eating another would be detrimental to her body. Brother Fu Yi, why didn't you give sister Du Guyan an immortal herb? Seeing Du Guyan sitting on the sofa stretching nonchalantly, Ning Rongrong voiced her confusion directly. It's fine, little sister Rongrong. I consumed an immortal herb back when I was 6 years old. Otherwise, how do you think I, at such a young age, could have reached the level of a level 65 spirit emperor? Du Guyan stood up and pinched Ning Rongrong's tender little cheek, thinking that this little girl was truly cute and that one day she would directly recruit her to join them and be good sisters. Yes, Yanzi had already consumed an immortal herb at the age of 6. You all should eat yours now. The improvements the immortal herb will bring you will be enormous, it can make up for the defects in your spirit and allow your spirit to undergo a positive evolution. Fu Yi had already informed them how to consume the immortal herb, and he believed that after today, both their spirit power and spirits would see a huge improvement. Brother Fu Yi, are we going to absorb the immortal herb here right now? Yes, no one will disturb you if you absorb the immortal herb here. Those who finish absorbing it early can directly enter a state of cultivate and wait for the others. The immortal herb is a good thing, especially since after absorbing it, both the spirit and the speed of cultivate increase significantly. Got it. Soon, they swallowed the immortal herb and entered a state of meditation, while Princess Shui Ke and referee Douluo looked at the immortal herb in their hands, somewhat lost in thought. They couldn't believe that they actually had a share of such good things. But soon, their eyes filled with a bit of determination. Their talent was not good, and now this was a great opportunity to change their own talent. At the very least, they could improve their strength so that Fu Yi could be more comfortable when spending a spring night with them. Just after all the little girls entered the state of meditation, that little girl Douluo Yan actually started getting restless. Brother Fu Yi, look, these stinky little sisters are all ignoring you, but I. Rip. Hey, little Yanzi, there are still people here. It's only fun because there are people here. ... Unknowingly, 2 hours passed quietly. Douluo Yan was lying on the sofa with a face full of intoxication, and Fu Yi's eyes also seemed somewhat unsatisfied. Although the vast majority of people here were his wives, there were still a few who were not. Wu Ling, Ning Rongrong, and Meng Yiren, these 3 little girls were still waiting to be developed. These 3 girls only knew about his relationship with Xiao Wu, but as for the fact that their sisters were in his shape, they were completely unaware. After all, among everyone, only these 3 were assigned to live in a 3-person dormitory. Although they often saw 2 or 3 little sisters not coming to class because of Cultivate, they felt that all of this was very normal. Brother Fu Yi, Yu'er's spirit seems to have evolved into ultimate ice, just like my sisters. The little girl Shui Yu'er was the first to wake up. Upon seeing Fu Yi sitting on the sofa, she jumped into his arms in a few steps. Well done, Yu'er. You also smell fragrant. After absorbing the immortal herb, one's body would emit the faint fragrance contained within the immortal herb, which smelled refreshing and pleasant. Shui Yu'er's body was currently cool and refreshing. It was clear that her spirit had just completed its evolution, and she could not yet fully control it herself. Fu Yi pressed one hand onto her small mounds. With a gentle stream of spirit power injected into her body, the icy intent on her body gradually dissipated. Although Shui Yu'er was thinking about some inappropriate things at the moment, she also noticed that she was now able to fully control her newly evolved spirit. Thank you, brother Fu Yi. Kiss. Shui Yu'er planted a series of fierce kisses on Fu Yi's mouth. After her spirit evolved, she could clearly feel that the spirit power, which previously required her own guidance to enter her body, was now naturally surging into her body. Alright, your sister and the others are about to wake up, so stop acting silly. Fu Yi pinched her little cheek, it was very smooth and tender. Blay, Sister Douluo Yan is so mean, actually secretly eating so much behind our sisters' backs. Shui Yu'er looked at Douluo Yan, who was sitting to the side, and a wicked smile curled up at the corner of her mouth. She then leaned over and sat on Douluo Yan, bringing her little mouth close to the other's ear. Sister Douluo Yan, I am Zuyun. Don't mind me, I'm just joking with you. Fu Yi was just watching the actions of this little girl and Douluo Yan, and then he saw Shui Yu'er reach her cool little hand into the other's skirt. A quarter of an hour later, except for Ning Rongrong, Meng Yiren, and Wu Ling who were still absorbing the immortal herb, the rest of the little girls had woken up one after another. By this time, Douluo Yan had recovered some of her strength and sat up. However, Shui Yu'er was looking at Douluo Yan with a flattering smile. Sister Douluo Yan, I was wrong, please show mercy. At this moment, Shui Yu'er was being held by Douluo Yan, lying on her lap. As Shui Yu'er said, show mercy, she actually did, raise her hand high. You dare to tease your sister Douluo Yan. Today, I'm going to make your little butt split into 8 pieces. No, Sister Douluo Yan. Brother Fu Yi, Sister Douluo Yan is going to hit your little wife, hurry up and tell her to stop. It's useless, I was already his wife before you all. He can't stop me from spanking your butt. Chapter 123, half a year later, initiative from Ning Rongrong. As time passed, the little girls from Tianshui Academy had fully absorbed their immortal herbs. Now, their strength had advanced by leaps and bounds, and there was no one left with spirit power lower than a level 40 spirit ancestor. Zuqing and Zuyin's spirits had evolved from Hell Civet into the Dark Night Star God Cat, controlling darkness, wind, and the power of stars. Wu Ling's spirit evolved from the original Light Dark Peacock to the Yin and Yang Chaos Peacock, controlling the powers of Extreme Yang and Extreme Yin. The original 5 girls of the Tianshui team also saw significant improvements in their spirits, though theirs had all elevated their innate ice attributes to the level of ultimate ice. Now, if Yu'er and Binger used their martial soul fusion skill, they could easily defeat even a spirit emperor. Meng Yiren's snake staff spirit began to evolve in the direction of a dragon after consuming the golden dragon sweet potato, transforming into a spear which could be called the golden earth dragon spear. Now, like Douluo Yan, her spirit could also be considered in the category of a super spirit. The improvements for Douluo and Shui Ke were undoubtedly the greatest. Douluo had consumed the moon-scattering immortal herb, which had been recommended to Fu Yi by the system, and sure enough, after consuming it, her white dove spirit underwent a heaven-shaking change. 4-winged moon-piercing pigeon, quality, super spirit. When she used her spirit under the moonlight, it could even rival a pseudo-divine rank spirit. Shui Ke had consumed the sun-chasing immortal herb, and after this, her spirit evolved into a super spirit, similar to Douluo's, but Shui Ke's spirit was elevated to the pseudo-divine level under the sun. Brother Fu Yi, my spirit power has reached level 40. Oh, mouth, oh. After absorbing the tulip of exotic silk, the little girl Ning Rongrong flew over and crashed into Fu Yi. You have to know, she had jumped 4 levels in one go. She held onto Fu Yi tightly and wouldn't let go, while Shui Wu and the others, who had already absorbed their immortal herbs, looked at Ning Rongrong with motherly smiles. If new sisters joined, they would definitely agree 100%, not for any other reason, but just to defeat Fu Yi in that aspect once. The immortal herbs will greatly improve your cultivation aptitude, and you should have discovered by now that your spirits have evolved. Furthermore, after consuming the immortal herbs, there will be no cultivation bottlenecks until the spirit saint level. As for the significant increase in your strength after consuming the immortal herbs, that seems insignificant compared to the 2 points above. Fu Yi's words still couldn't dampen the excitement on the girls' faces. You have to know, this kind of opportunity was rare and hard to find. Brother Fu Yi, I'm already level 50. Zhu Zuyun, Zhu Qing, Shui Wu, Shui Binger, Yu Haro, Shui Yuer, and Shen Luyu all revealed sly smiles. Hee, we've also reached level 40. Wu Ling, Ning Rongrong, Meng Yiren, and Dodo also revealed sweet smiles. After all, they were a bit younger. Zhu Qing had absorbed a vicious beast level external spirit bone, which was why her strength increased so quickly. Brother Fu Yi, I've also reached level 30 spirit elder. Shui Ke hopped over to Fu Yi, at 1.45 meters tall. She was small and very cute, and she was also his legal wife. He casually picked her up and held her in his arms, which made all the girls feel a little jealous. The girls thought, just because she's short, delicate, pretty, and knows how to give massages, she gets special treatment. Shui Ke knew very well that the big sisters here were all very kind, except for occasionally joking with her. They were very good to her at all other times, and they didn't look down on her because she was bought or because her talent was poor. Life here was 100 times happier than in the Imperial Palace. Although she couldn't see her good big brother Shui Qing, she had gained so many good big sisters. On the other side, inside the Heaven Do Imperial family, at the Crown Prince's residence, Qian Runshui, disguised as Shui Qing, was sitting at her desk, looking depressed as she reviewed the Empire's bills that the old guy Shui Yi had brought her, saying that she wasn't young anymore and should care about national issues. Originally, hearing that the other party was going to gradually hand over court matters to her, she had been very happy, but what the hell were these ghost bills? IOUs owed to local officials. No, was the Heaven Do Imperial family so broke that there wasn't even a drop of oil left? Looking at the debt of hundreds of millions of gold coins, Qian Runshui expressed that she didn't care about being crown prince anymore, hundreds of millions. Even if she were the holy maiden of Spirit Hall, she couldn't come up with so much money in a short time. And why did that old guy Shui Yi throw the bills to her? She was just the crown prince, did he expect her to help him pay off the debts? Young lord. Just then, a black shadow appeared instantly and knelt on one knee in front of her. Speak. The matter you wanted me to investigate has been found, the Heaven Do Treasury and Princess Shui Ke, she was. At this moment, after hearing the report from Snake Lance Douluo, Qian Renzu's eyes widened, and then a look of unhappiness appeared in her eyes. J. Sai tilde all right, you may leave. Qian Runshui sighed, and then Snake Lance Douluo left silently. Fu Yi, you are a real bastard, you actually emptied all the savings of the Heaven Do Imperial family, and even kidnapped my good sister. Time passed very quickly, in the blink of an eye, half a year passed, and the relationship between Fu Yi and this group of little girls became even closer. Especially Shui Ke, this little loli. At first, Fu Yi let her rest every other day, but later, after she gradually adapted to the intensity, she was involved in activities almost every night. And this 1.45 meter tall legal little loli had been studying with Fu Yi and the other little sisters for more than half a year. Now, apart from cultivation, she was discussing academic issues with Fu Yi. Of course, Fu Yi naturally wouldn't favor one over the other. For the little girls who wanted to discuss more academic issues, Fu Yi would not refuse any of them. Because of the time barrier, he always had enough time to accompany his wife group. In the middle of the night, Fu Yi was very free tonight. The continuous feeding for 3 or 4 days had made all his little wives full, and today they all grouped together and said they wouldn't come no matter what. He rarely had free time. Although, it was indeed very refreshing when not free, both physically and mentally. Tonight, there was no beauty in his arms, only he was left alone. It was so boring, he wished a woman would fall from the sky. So boring. If he had known, he wouldn't have exerted so much effort these past few days. Now this group of little girls were all hiding from him, afraid of being pulled into the room by him to do some shameful things. However, just as Fu Yi was frowning, a light knock came from the door. Knock, knock, knock. Is brother Fu Yi there? It's me, Rongrong. Ning Rongrong's crisp voice came from outside the door, and Fu Yi was confused. After all, why would Ning Rongrong come to find him so late? Fu Yi didn't think too much and got up to open the door for her. What if she had a question about cultivation that she wanted to ask him? Creak. The door was slowly pushed open, and what came into view was Chapter 124, Wife Plus 1. Rongrong, is there something you need, coming to see me so late? Fu Yi looked at Ning Rongrong's attire. Disc, interesting. Brown leather boots, white stockings, a powder blue princess dress, she was dressed like a young lady from a wealthy family. But why was she coming to see him so late? He had to keep in mind that he was usually busy at this time. Hee, brother Fu Yi, it's a bit cold outside. Let Rongrong come inside and sit for a while. Ning Rongrong took a small step and slipped under Fu Yi's arm into his room. Fu Yi was very puzzled. What was this little girl trying to do today? Sigh, you girl. Helpless, since she had already come in, he couldn't very well kick her out. This wasn't the first time Ning Rongrong had been to Fu Yi's dormitory, but it was the first time she had come alone. Brother Fu Yi, my spirit has evolved into the 9 treasure glazed tile. Brother Fu Yi, my spirit has evolved into the 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda. I just came to thank you. Ning Rongrong looked back at Fu Yi, her eyes seemingly filled with emotion. Have you told your father about your spirit upgrading to the 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda? He was a bit suspicious. Could it be that old fox Ning Fengji had come up with this idea? Letting Ning Rongrong come to thank him so late at night. No. Dad doesn't know that my spirit has evolved yet. I want to tell him during the Continental Advanced Spirit Master competition. She walked into Fu Yi's room with a light expression, smoothly took off her brown leather boots, and jumped directly onto Fu Yi's special large bed. Brother Fu Yi, Rongrong can't sleep at night, so. Good grief, this little girl wasn't even pretending anymore, she actually pulled the quilt over herself. Fu Yi, well, though it was unexpected, he quite liked it. Ning Rongrong curled up in the small quilt, only exposing her eyes, looking at Fu Yi with a somewhat timid expression. Was it okay? She was asking if it was okay. Sigh, you girl, fine. But I snore when I sleep, so don't blame me if you mind. Fu Yi was helpless. Thinking of Princess Shui Ke, who had washed up and waited in bed beforehand, Ning Rongrong was different, she went straight for the kill, getting under the covers right in front of him. I've already washed up. Ellipsis. Shortly after the lights went out, Fu Yi closed his eyes and didn't move, but soon, a small hand climbed onto Fu Yi's shoulder. Fu Yi, tisk, I wonder who taught her this. Zhu Zuyun, Achu, who is thinking of me? Before he knew it, the night had passed quietly. When the first ray of morning sunlight shone into the room, Fu Yi slowly opened his eyes. Unexpectedly, he had slept very comfortably last night. However, he didn't know if that old fox Ning Fengji would come to fight him after finding out about this. Although Ning Rongrong was a support spirit master, she was a true little demoness at heart. Her temper was very stubborn, so helplessly, Fu Yi had to give her some recovery potions that lasted for 3 days. Don't look at Ning Rongrong like a little milk cat now, last night she was a true little leopard. Fu Yi had felt that kind of determination from her for the first time. However, at this moment, a pink silhouette appeared on the windowsill and then she flashed before Fu Yi. Brother Fu Yi, Xiao Wu is here. That's right, the person who came was Xiao Wu. You have to know that in his harem, Xiao Wu was the greediest, and the type who could never get enough. If it hadn't been for the fact that Fu Yi's main focus had been on her recently, she probably would have sniffed out the scent and come over last night. Hey, isn't this Rongrong? Xiao Wu familiarly lifted the quilt and slipped in, but she discovered Ning Rongrong lying in the bed. Tisk, another sister to share the firepower. How nice. But the second she saw her, a gleam appeared in Xiao Wu's eyes, it was clear that she was very much in favor of her joining. But, brother Fu Yi belongs to Xiao Wu right now, so sister Rongrong, you sleep on the side for now. Xiao Wu was worthy of being a 100,000-year-old rogue rabbit. After resting for a day, she was radiant, and her pinkish red eyes looking at Fu Yi carried a hint of teasing. Brother Fu Yi, I've learned some new positions. As she said this, articles of warm clothing with a milky scent directly covered Fu Yi's vision. Early in the morning, Fu Yi had to start building roads again. Ellipsis. Time passed quickly. Before he knew it, a week had passed. Fu Yi brought these little girls to Heaven Do Imperial City again, but this time, those blind nobles dared not target these little girls anymore. 5 billion in compensation, and even Princess Shuike, the imperial princess, had been mortgaged to the other party as a servant. How could these people dare to have any ideas about such a group of plague gods? However, what surprised Fu Yi was that Shrek Academy had actually merged into Heaven Do Royal Academy 6 months ago, and that old fraud Yu Xiaogang had actually managed to snag a tutor position there. Inside the Great Spirit Arena of Heaven Do, Tang San, Tang Chuan, Yu Tianeng, Oscar, Ma Hongjun, Dai Mubai, and Shimo were currently facing off against another unknown team. Third Spirit ability, Thunder Fury. Accompanied by Yu Tianeng releasing his ultimate move to finish, the Imperial Spirit team won this match without any suspense. Little San, well done. That's how you coordinate. A certain bloated, obese middle-aged man standing in the stands had a face full of excitement. When Yu Tianeng and Shimo, standing on the ring, saw his ugly face, they turned their heads away and left. Vice Captain, he looks like an idiot. I want to beat him up. Don't say it, although I really want to beat him up too, he really is my own uncle. I just don't know how he turned into this state. That's right, the person shouting excitedly in the stands was indeed Yu Tianeng's uncle, Yu Xiaogang, and he had used his connection with Yu Tianeng to get through the back door and secure the position of tutor. Regarding Yu Xiaogang's excited expression, only our great filial son, the God King reincarnation Tang Chuan, smiled at him. However, he was also extremely depressed in his heart, because in this world, there was no Blue Tyrant Academy, and this point made Yu Xiaogang's status in his heart gradually lower. If it wasn't for the fact that he still had the valuable identity of being the young lord of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, he would have kicked him away long ago. Chapter 125, The Auction, The Little Cat Girl. Fu Yi looked down at Yu Xiaogang and the others with complete indifference. Now that the two, living Buddhas, Tang San and Tang Chuan, were counterbalancing each other, they would end up in a heated conflict without him even needing to lift a finger. Based on his perception, the potential of the God King's reincarnation, Tang Chuan, was already nearing its limit. A trash spirit is just a trash spirit. Tang Chuan's Blue Silver King could at most support his cultivation up to the Spirit King realm. To continue leveling up, he would have to upgrade his own bloodline. Blue Silver Grass could never become powerful. This was something the people of the continent had experimented with for 10,000 years. The limit for ordinary Blue Silver Grass is a rank 9 Spirit Scholar because it is too weak and too common. Tang Chuan's path of cultivation was also nearing its end. He had likely already noticed his cultivation speed slowing down, gradually failing to keep up with those around him. Tang San can switch to training the Clear Sky Hammer, but what about our reincarnated God King Tang? When the time comes, for the sake of his cultivation, our God King Tang will strike at his own brother. Gia. I really want to see the scene of these two, living Buddha, brothers, born of different parents, killing each other soon. Fu Yi's eyes held a hint of a smile, but at that moment, Shui Binger grabbed his hand. The icy cool sensation instantly brought him back to his senses. Hee, brother Fu Yi, I want to review my lessons tonight too. Heaven Do Auction House was a holy land for the wealthy and the largest money shredder in the Heaven Do Imperial City outside of the brothels. In the afternoon, after all the little girls had finished a match, Fu Yi arranged for them to go back and cultivate. After all, play is play and fun is fun, but the necessary cultivation cannot stop. As for himself, he put on a mask and came to this auction house to find some amusement. Of course, he didn't come specifically to buy a cat girl servant. Walking into the auction house, Fu Yi's first impression was one of magnificence. The soaring dome was painted with exquisite murals, vibrant and colorful, highlighting the immense wealth of the establishment. A massive crystal chandelier emitted a brilliant light, scattering like stars across the spacious area. The floor was covered with a luxurious carpet that felt soft and silent underfoot, giving off a sense of nobility. Surrounding the auction house were tiers of spectator seats decorated with high-end wood and intricate carvings. Each seat was spacious and comfortable, allowing guests the best perspective to watch the auction. The central auction stage was crafted from precious stone, sturdy and solemn. The auctioneer stood on the stage, loudly introducing each rare item. The atmosphere here was tense and enthusiastic. Officials and nobles gathered together, dressed in fine clothes and behaving elegantly, competing to bid for the treasures they desired. Every corner of the auction house exuded luxury and nobility. It was a place where wealth and art merged perfectly. Sir, this is your entry voucher, please keep it safe. As the attendant finished his entry procedures, Fu Yi walked straight inside. The Heaven Do auction house is the largest in the Heaven Do Empire. The seating here is divided into 5 major areas. The 3 rows of seats closest to the stage are red, reserved for the highest-ranking VIPs. Radiating outwards from there, the colors are black, purple, and white in order. The center of the auction house is a large circular stage used to display the auction items. The seats are arranged in concentric rings around it, and these seats are symbols of status and position. However, Fu Yi had come this time to keep a low profile, so he simply took out a card at the 50,000 gold coin level, meaning his seat wasn't of a particularly high grade. The attendants at the auction house were all beauties. They were not just staff, but also auction items. These attendants were bought by the auction house at a young age and trained, so they had no emotions and no soul, their faces always expressionless. Fu Yi felt sympathy for these girls, but he had no interest in them. After all, a shell without a soul, no matter how beautiful, was useless. Soon, Fu Yi arrived at his seat. At this time, there weren't many bidders in the auction center, only about a quarter of the seats were sparsely filled. On the auction stage, a storage spirit tool shaped like a ring was being auctioned, and the price had already reached 70,000 gold coins. To Fu Yi's left, there was a dedicated bidding button with 5 different options, 100, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and 50,000, representing the amount added with each bid. Fu Yi just sat there. Soon, a middle-aged man with an elegant aura sat down to Fu Yi's left. Upon sensing the other party's aura, Fu Yi's brow twitched, though he didn't show any outward reaction. Ultimately, the storage spirit tool was sold to a noble for 83,000 gold coins. The host on the stage held a megaphone and smiled at the bidders. Next, we will auction a rare authentic piece. Interested parties, please pay attention, especially our male guests. As he spoke, he gestured off stage. 3 strong men pushed out a cart, which was covered tightly with a red cloth so the contents couldn't be seen, though from its appearance, it was a large square box. Seeing this, Fu Yi knew very well that what was inside should be the little cat girl from the original story. Because of a spirit mutation, her physique had undergone irreversible changes, which in itself was an extremely powerful talent for a girl. But unfortunately, she came from a fallen noble family. Her father had lost all his assets due to gambling debts, causing this young miss of a noble family to end up as an item in the auction house. The money she was sold for would be used to repay her father's creditors. Meanwhile, the host said with feigned mystery. Can everyone guess what this is? Let me give you a starting price first. The starting bid for this item is 100,000 gold coins, with each increase being no less than 10,000. This is the best of the best. The next second, he grabbed the red cloth and yanked it off. After the red light flashed, what was revealed was not a box but a huge iron cage. Inside the cage huddled a young girl. At this moment, she was only wearing some simple clothes to cover herself. Because she was curled up, her facial features were hard to see, but her figure was nearly perfect. Her fair skin was like warm jade, and her short light green hair gave her an exotic flair. Perhaps the guests are wondering why such a girl could have such a high starting price, the same as the beauties our auction house has trained for years. But if everyone looks closely, you will see her uniqueness. As the host spoke, he took out a stick from somewhere, reached into the iron cage, and gently lifted the short light green hair by the girl's ear, revealing her ears. Those were not human ears, but pointed ears similar to those of a feline. At this moment, the ears turned slightly red because they were touched by the stick. Chapter 126, The Lifelong Ambitious Ning Fengji. That's right, this is a rare cat woman. During her spirit awakening, her body mutated, granting her some feline characteristics. Her eyes, one blue and one green, are quite charming, and she even has a long tail. As the man pressed a stick against the cat woman's waist, her tail was exposed to the public's view due to her fear. The nobles all looked at the cat woman huddled in the cage with greedy eyes. It was clear that every single one of them wanted to make her their own. The refined middle-aged man sitting beside him was the first to lose his composure and decisively press the bidding button. Following his lead, the wealthy and powerful nobles behind him also began to compete for this auction item. 110,000, 120,000, 150,000. It wasn't until it reached 180,000 that the bidding slowly stopped. The person who offered such a high price was none other than the refined middle-aged man sitting beside Fu Yi, though Fu Yi preferred to call him the old fox, Ning Fengji. Fu Yi could smell the stench of that fox on him from half a mountain away, let alone with the man sitting right next to him. 180,000. A white guest has raised the bid to 180,000. Is there anyone who will continue to bid? Soon, another number appeared on the big screen. 190,000. Another white guest has raised the bid to 190,000. Fu Yi was wearing a full face mask, and since they hadn't met in a long time, the old fox Ning Fengji truly didn't recognize him. However, when he saw that the young man beside him was the one raising the bid, a flicker of imperceptible mockery flashed in his eyes. Competing with his 7 treasure glazed tile school in financial power. Without hesitation, he continued to raise the bid. 200,000. This guest actually bid 200,000. Fu Yi saw the other party raise, so he matched it. However, he didn't want to play the one-by-one game anymore. Anyway, he had swindled so much from Shui Yi, what did it matter if he spent a little more to buy a cat maid? 300,000. This white guest actually raised the bid by 100,000 at once. Could it be that he has truly taken a fancy to this little cat girl? Is that why he's offering such an astronomical price? Seeing that the young man sitting next to him had actually raised the bid by 100,000 at once, Ning Fengji's mouth twitched. After all, the money of his 7 treasure glazed tile school didn't just blow in on the wind. Wasn't this 100,000 at a time approach a bit too aggressive? 310,000. A white guest has actually. 2.5 minutes later. Kid, are you doing this on purpose to make things difficult for me? 3 million. Are you here specifically to pick a fight? When the bid reached 3 million, the old fox Ning Fengji finally cursed. He had promised the cat woman's mother that he would buy her, and the mother had promised that her daughter would join the 7 treasure glazed tile school. This was the reason Ning Fengji was willing to spend money to buy the cat woman. After all, once she was in the 7 treasure glazed tile school, wouldn't she be his to do with as he pleased? The characters in the third young master's works are always a bit lecherous. You should know that in the original work, the cat girl in the auction house only used shells to cover 3 points. I changed it here because I'm afraid you all might not be able to accept that. Fu Yi raised an eyebrow but didn't answer him, simply silently clicking, plus 100,000 inches again. Silence spoke louder than words. Ning Fengji just felt as if his face had been furiously kneaded by the other party and then thrown on the ground and trampled twice. Consequently, before Ning Fengji could even react, another series of changes appeared on the big screen. 3,500,000. It's reached 3,500,000. The host felt like he was going crazy. 3,500,000 gold coins. No one had ever spent so much money to buy a slave. One must know that this money could easily buy over 30 beautiful and skilled female slaves here. Ning Fengji's face was livid. As the sect master of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, he had truly never lost when it came to money. But was it really worth spending so much money on a cat woman? One must know that according to Ning Fengji's original plan, he would only need to spend a little over 100,000 gold coins. 200,000 would have already been heaven-defying. But now, 3,500,000. Whoever wants to be this sucker can be. He was a businessman who valued profit above all else. Although the cat woman was special and he had promised her mother, the value of the cat woman herself simply could not be compared to 3,500,000 gold coins. Phew, Tilda kid, you win. But I'd like to see if you actually have the money to pay such an exorbitant fee. Ning Fengji was calculating in his heart, as long as the other party didn't have the money to pay, the cat woman would still be his. Tisk, Ning Fengji, after all these years, your children are everywhere. If I were to tell Rongrong about you buying this cat woman, do you think she would directly sever the father-daughter relationship with you? Finally, Fu Yi stopped pretending, he showed his hand. He lifted a corner of his red full-face mask, revealing his bewitching face. FCK. If you'd said earlier that it was. Never mind, carry on. Ning Fengji didn't finish his sentence and sealed his lips shut, because he remembered the fear of once being controlled by Fu Yi. Yo tilde, as expected of the old fox I've identified, you are indeed smart. Hearing Ning Fengji's instant capitulation, Fu Yi felt quite comfortable. This just went to show that the image he had left in the other man's heart back then was still very intimidating. Alright, the cat woman is mine from now on. However, regarding the matter of you spending 3 million to bid against me for the cat woman, I will have a good chat with that little girl Rongrong about it. Fu Yi revealed a wicked smile. With the temperament of that little witch Ning Rongrong, Ning Fengji would likely need a long time to coax her back. Ning Fengji's words stopped in his mouth, chewing them over repeatedly, but he couldn't utter a single syllable. The tournament is about to start. Rongrong said she has a surprise for you, so don't be absent when the time comes. With the downfall of the evil capitalist Ning Fengji, Fu Yi successfully purchased the cat woman for the price of 3,500,000. Not only the auctioneer and the gathered nobles were present, but even the cat woman in the cage felt disbelief and numbness after hearing that she had been bought by the other party for 3,500,000 gold coins. 3,500,000 gold coins. One must know that the compound interest debt her father had signed was currently only 2 million gold coins. Let us congratulate this white guest for purchasing this unique cat woman for the price of 3,500,000 gold coins. At this auction, Fu Yi only bought the cat woman as an item. After all, he really didn't look down on the rest of the things. Looking at the 99,999 plus items in his cheat code shop, Fu Yi felt a deep sense of powerlessness. He was just too damn rich, he really didn't need anything. It could be said that apart from living things, his cheat code shop basically had everything else. Even a full set of the Dragon God's Spirit Bone was 99,999 plus, what else could you say it couldn't do? Chapter 127, The Real, Little Wildcat. Alright, old fox, I'm going to inspect the goods now. You made me waste so much money, don't forget to treat me to a meal later. Fu Yi said this and left the auction center. As soon as he stepped out, a waitress came up to meet him. Unlike the previous one, this waitress wasn't dressed revealingly, her long dress was silver, and her appearance was even more beautiful. But that was all. Distinguished guest, please follow me. The silver-dressed girl bowed respectfully to Fu Yi and made a gesture of invitation. Following her guidance, Fu Yi walked into a house next to the auction center. The room was spacious, warm, and elegantly furnished, with comfortable brown leather sofas and exquisite fruits placed on a round coffee table. Please rest for a moment, the auction item will be delivered to you shortly. Fu Yi lay back comfortably on the soft sofa. As for the fruits here, they looked quite good, but Fu Yi didn't like them. Before long, pushed by several strong men, a giant iron cage was brought in, and locked inside the cage was the cat girl. As Fu Yi casually took out a black card and handed it to the silver-dressed waitress standing respectfully beside him, the other party very tactfully went to help Fu Yi settle the bill. At this moment, the cat girl was curled up inside the cage, her blue-green eyes filled with fear and resentment. But Fu Yi was not surprised by her current reaction. After all, being auctioned off as an item was not a pleasant experience, and she clearly knew what kind of treatment she would face after being bought. Fu Yi walked slowly to the front of the iron cage, just watching this little girl who still carried a bit of wildness curled up in the opposite corner. At this moment, she wasn't wearing much clothing, just enough to cover her private parts, and under the light, her exquisite face was fully exposed. Click. Fu Yi waved his hand, and the heavy iron cage instantly turned into fragments and fell to the floor beside them. The cat girl was startled by this scene, but upon seeing the cage broken and regaining her freedom, the only thing she could think of was to escape this place. She seemed to know clearly what kind of abuse she would face in the future if she were really taken away from here. Tisk, still a bit wild, but that won't work with me. For a girl bought back like this, there were no special privileges here. After all, he spent a lot of money to get someone, not to do charity. If she were as obedient as that little girl Princess Shui Kei, Fu Yi wouldn't do anything to her. But if the other party tried to run away again and again, he would use his own methods. In fact, when he first branded Zhu Zuyun with a slave mark, he didn't intend to take her into his harem. After all, he didn't want any unstable factors in his backyard, but the other party was too tactful, which gave her the chance to successfully ascend. The same went for Princess Shuike. She was also bought back by Fu Yi for a high price, but she was truly smart. She learned everything as soon as she was taught, just like those massage techniques and the control of those acupoints. She was extremely precise. Most importantly, although she was once a noble princess, she didn't put on any princess airs after coming to Fu Yi's place. Even the girls of the Tianshui team had a good relationship with this logistics staff, Princess Shuike. After all, she was now a grandmaster of massage. 10 minutes of massage, smooth for the whole day. This was also the reason why Fu Yi liked to have this little girl Princess Shuike massage him. Nothing else, it was just comfortable. As for this cat girl, Fu Yi had checked her information with the system at the beginning. She was very clean, and her spirit was a mystic cat that mutated from a black cat. From the system's introduction, he knew that her mutated spirit even carried a trace of auspiciousness. However, Fu Yi didn't feel that there was any auspicious power on her. After all, she had already been placed on the auction block. How auspicious could she be? After thinking for a while, he decided to send this little cat girl to Princess Shuike's little follower. One had to know that the internal affairs of the Tianshui team were basically managed by these two, logistics staff, Princess Shuike and referee Dodo. Now that referee Dodo had been sent by him to Spirit City to be trained by Bibi Dong, after all, she was the future commentator for the Continental Advanced Spirit Master competition in Spirit City. Anyway, Bibi Dong's 9th trial for the Asura God was already at the 8th stage, so she could guide her when she had nothing to do. It was just that Princess Shuike was a bit busy after referee Dodo left, so it was just right to take this little cat girl back to help Princess Shuike. On the other side, Spirit City, Supreme Pontiff's palace, in the secret chamber. Supreme Pontiff, sister, what kind of training is this? Shish tilde don't move around. As the future commentator for the competition in my Spirit City, I need to customize a standard uniform exclusively for you. Put your hands down, they are blocking me from measuring your figure. ... God realm, Asura God temple, on the Asura throne. I laugh proudly, he, I can finally go out. The talent of this little girl Bibi Dong is truly the best I've ever seen in my life. The Asura God sitting on the throne was full of pride. One had to know that one day in the God realm was 1 year on the continent. Now Bibi Dong had already started his 8th trial. One had to know that the content of his 9th trial was to come to the God realm within 10 years to take over his position. Ordinary people could choose to stay on the continent for another 100 years even after accepting the God position. He had been almost suffocated in the God realm, and now that he had finally encountered a genius with twin spirits, he had to give her some special treatment, right? And on his right side, a roasting oven was hanging, and a jet black figure exuding evil energy was suspended above the roasting oven. Asura, you are F***ing. It's been 20 days, a full 20 days. This is 20 years on the continent. Even if I was wrong, you can't roast me with this spirit refining fire for so long. Hearing the other party's painless scolding, the Asura God didn't care, but a mischievous smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Rakshasa, you did things cleanly in the past, and I couldn't find evidence to deal with you, but I can still chat with you for a while about you poaching my inheritor. Aren't you pretty arrogant, old man, claiming you were pure and hadn't done anything bad? Bah. The Asura God said this, stood up with his back to the Rakshasa God, and then a flash of wisdom appeared in his eyes. You old man, just roast up there for a while longer. After I leave this place, I will hand you over to my successor. I remember she suffered quite a bit at your hands, so, he. As his figure disappeared from the Asura God temple, the Rakshasa God could no longer hold it in. Asura, IF asterisk. Hash it hash. If you have the ability, you would hash %. Hash backquote J, convex. Walking out of his Asura God temple, he saw the sea god, who had been his old friend for 30 years. Yo, you haven't found an inheritor yet. Let me tell you, my inheritor has already reached the 8th trial, and the content of my 9th trial is for her to come and take my position within 10 years. Do you know? Sea god, damn it, I originally wanted to have a nice chat with you, but you came straight at me with your ultimate move. Asura God, IF asterisk your hash it hash. IF asterisk hash it at. Asura God. Chapter 128, Cat Girl 90% favorability. Inside the room, Fu Yi had already sealed all the doors and windows with his spirit power. As for this little cat girl who was jumping around, Fu Yi only slightly released a hint of his aura, and she instantly froze in place, unable to move. Methods used for dealing with house cats don't work on wild cats. After all, not everyone has a mind as sharp as that house cat, Zhu Zuyun. The cat girl before him was a wild cat, and an unruly one at that. For such a little wild cat, Fu Yi could only use strength to show her what should and shouldn't be done. She watched helplessly as Fu Yi reached out his palm toward her. She wanted to flee, but she couldn't break free from the overbearing force pressing down on her. Thus, closing her eyes in nervousness, she felt a trace of warmth on her forehead. She quickly looked up only to see a golden energy from the finger of the masked man before her being transmitted into her brow. Veins bulged on her forehead as she desperately tried to break free from this restraint, but the more she struggled, the tighter it became. Cat girl's favorability minus 10%. Cat girl's favorability minus 15%. Hearing the system in his mind reporting the real-time favorability, Fu Yi only found it amusing. After all, he had seen plenty of people with maxed out favorability, but this was the first time he had seen favorability drop into the negatives. Since the favorability was already like this, Fu Yi wanted to see just how low negative favorability could go. As Fu Yi imprinted the slave mark into the cat girl's body, he controlled it to keep the energy exerted by the slave mark at its lowest level. At this moment, his eyes held a hint of curiosity. After all, he was truly curious. If the upper limit of favorability is 100, what is the limit of the lower bound? As the saying goes, one isn't burdened by many debts. Since the favorability was already negative, he might as well let it hit rock bottom. Disc, you're quite a special little girl. I wonder what your real figure looks like. As Fu Yi fixed his gaze on her, panic and fear finally appeared in the cat girl's eyes. However, she couldn't move an inch and could only watch the scene before her unfold. Rip. Asterisk. Accompanied by the sound of tearing fabric, the cat girl, bathed in holy light, appeared before Fu Yi. Disc. Not bad, quite interesting. However, the system reported a rather startling number at this time. Cat girl's current favorability minus 80%. As Fu Yi slowly approached her, the system gave another real-time report. Cat girl's current favorability minus 90%. Disc. This is truly interesting. Minus 90% favorability was a first for Fu Yi as well. The cat girl stared at Fu Yi with a face full of rage, but he simply pinched her chin. Alright, don't look at me with those eyes like you want to eat me. The consequences of me buying you are much better than if anyone else had. After gauging her figure, Fu Yi selected a dark green maid outfit from the system mall. As for doing her right here. Sorry, Fu Yi wasn't that hungry. After all, he was a man with a harem, he wouldn't resort to such things outside. However, this little wild cat could be disciplined later. Fu Yi casually released the pressure on the cat girl. Unsurprisingly, under the influence of this favorability, she resolutely launched an attack on him. But before she could even reach him, he pinned her down onto the sofa with one hand. 3 minutes later, the cat girl obediently put on her clothes, though on her small bottom covered by the maid outfit, there was a large, bright red handprint. Moss, master. One could hear a hint of trembling in her voice. After all, she was truly hurt and frightened by Fu Yi, this brutal buyer. Her bottom was still tingling and hadn't recovered yet. She finally accepted her fate. The person before her was not someone she could resist. Cat girl's current favorability 0%. That's right, after being spanked, this cat girl's favorability actually went back up. However, this might also be because Fu Yi didn't actually take her body. You still seem quite defiant. I can tell you clearly, as long as you behave and don't cause trouble, I won't do anything to you. But if you're disobedient. Fu Yi turned his gaze toward the little cat girl. Then you will naturally find out the consequences. As he spoke, Fu Yi opened the door, and what met his eyes was the silver-dressed girl who had just helped him pay with the black card. Here is your black card. As she handed over the black card, Fu Yi simply nodded without saying much. The cat girl followed obediently behind Fu Yi, her head lowered, lost in thought. Soon, the cat girl's strange animal ears caused the crowd outside to marvel, while those nobles who hadn't managed to bid for her in the auction house secretly pounded their thighs in regret. As for attacking Fu Yi, this masked youth, don't be stupid. Could someone who spent over 3 million just to buy a plaything be simple? They might not be smart, but they weren't that foolish. Not to mention Fu Yi, who had recently emptied the Heaven Do imperial family's treasury along with Princess Shui Kei, they really didn't have the confidence to provoke another such living Yama. Soon after leaving the auction house area, he encountered that old fox, Ning Fengji. Beside him stood an elderly woman with graying hair at her temples, whose appearance bore some resemblance to the cat girl behind Fu Yi. Jinger. As the aged voice reached the cat girl's ears, her eyes widened almost instantly. Mother. Seeing the cat girl rush to the elderly woman and embrace her, Fu Yi looked at Ning Fengji standing before him with interest. Old fox, if you're planning to stir up trouble, don't blame me for beating you up. Fu Yi cracked his knuckles. Ning Fengji's hair on the back of his neck stood up. If anyone else said they'd beat him, he wouldn't believe it, but if Fu Yi said it, he really would. Ahem, I was just asked by her mother to come and see her daughter. Ning Fengji really didn't dare to make Fu Yi unhappy. He was mainly afraid the other party would turn hostile and beat him, the sect master of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, in public. However, Fu Yi turned his gaze to the side. Disc, didn't I tell you before? Don't stay in the space in front of me. As a phantom dragon claw appeared on Fu Yi's right hand, the space before him was instantly torn open. What appeared was the embarrassed bone Douluo, Ji you wrong. Brother, there are still many people here, leave me some. You're so dramatic, get out here. As Fu Yi reached into the rift, a middle-aged man in light brown clothing was dragged out and thrown onto the ground in the next second. Ouch, my butt, you're really not a good friend, everyone is watching. Ji Yu Rong tumbled 2.5 times on the ground before recovering. Fu Yi looked down at this old fellow whom he hadn't seen in nearly 20 years. Not bad, already level 97. You've improved quite quickly, you old geezer. Chapter 129, Gifting Hidden Weapon Schematics to Ning Fengji. Ahem, it's nothing, you two continue chatting. Ji Yu Rong walked behind Ning Fengji with an embarrassed expression. Fu Yi was just as monstrous as he had been 20 years ago. Old fox, is there anything else? If not, I'm taking her back to the academy. Upon hearing Fu Yi's words, a wry smile appeared on Ning Fengji's face. As the sect master of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, the only 2 dark forces that could force him to make concessions were Spirit Hall and, of course, Fu Yi. He knew very well that the other party harbored great secrets, but as a generation of old fox, oh no, a wise man, he would not pry into someone else's privacy. As for where the other party had been during the dozen or so years he had been gone, he had absolutely no intention of asking. Nothing else. I only came over this time to let this mother and daughter catch up, and secondly, I mainly wanted to understand Rongrong's current situation. Upon hearing Ning Fengji's words, Fu Yi nodded in agreement, though he decided to keep the fact that his daughter had already become his wife hidden for a while longer. Rongrong is very diligent in her cultivate. Ever since she joined Tianshui, she has been working very hard, and she gets along very well with those little girls. Ning Rongrong had said she wanted to give Ning Fengji a surprise, so Fu Yi did not tell him that Ning Rongrong had already reached level 48 and that her spirit had evolved into the 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda. That is good, that is good. Hearing Fu Yi's affirmation, Ning Fengji's heart settled down quite a bit. After all, with a limit Douluo like Fu Yi as her teacher, he didn't need to worry about Rongrong's safety or her learning at all. In fact, he had initially thought that Rongrong wouldn't get along with her classmates and would end up being expelled, running back to complain in defeat. I have some fun things here, take them back and have a look. As for whether you want to spread them or not, that is your problem. A mischievous smile curled at the corner of his mouth. One had to know that the current Tang San and Tang Chuan had no connections to bridge a path to Ning Fengji, otherwise, they would definitely have sold their hidden weapons to Ning Fengji at a high price. But Fu Yi was different. He directly gave Ning Fengji the full set of schematics for simple mechanical hidden weapons, such as the powder-shooting shadow, Zug repeating crossbow, flying god claw, and so on, and among them was also the schematic for the large-scale destructive weapon, the Buddha's Fury Tang Lotus. To him, these things were truly tasteless, but for a support system sect like the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School, these things could be considered priceless treasures. Among them, there were over a dozen types of mechanical hidden weapons alone, plus the Buddha's Fury Tang Lotus high-explosive fragmentation grenade, which was enough to allow the disciples of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School to have the power to protect themselves while away from the sect. Actually, the combat power in Douluo continent is quite outrageous. In the Douluo era, a single high-explosive grenade could directly kill a level 95 Super Douluo. Yet in the plot of Legend of the Dragon King, a Super Douluo could withstand the bombardment of an 8th level fixed load soul guidance shell. This setting is truly heaven-defying. High-explosive grenade greater than 8th level fixed load soul guidance shell. However, it is no wonder the system said that Do-I, Do-2, Do-3, and Do-IV are 4 parallel universes. The combat power simply cannot be cross-referenced, so there is no point in comparing them. It's just that he was curious, how was he supposed to go to the Do-2 universe? One had to know that his cheat tool did not have an option to travel to other worlds. Or did he have to max out his spirit power to God King, or perhaps he had to let the plot of Do-I run its course before he could go to other parallel universes. He had no way of knowing these things. But as the saying goes, the boat will naturally straighten when it reaches the bridge. Just because there isn't an option now doesn't mean there won't be one in the future. Since the system said this world doesn't have the 10 great vicious beasts and the Silver Dragon King, it means there is a way to get to the Do second world in his cheat tool, only he hasn't met the conditions to unlock it yet. After much thought, he finally calmed his heart. After all, he still had to live his life in the present first, as for the future and such, he would leave that to the heavens to decide. Looking at the cat girl who was still hugging her mother, Fu Yi gave her a look that said, "We are leaving." "Mom, I'm sorry, I have to go." The cat girl knew very well that she had absolutely no ability to resist the masked man in front of her. Now that her mother was also present, if she didn't obey, her mother might be implicated. "No, I finally found you after so much difficulty, The old woman was unwilling to let her long-lost daughter leave her again, but the cat girl knew very well that she had no right to choose right now. If she didn't return to that man's side quickly, her mother would be in danger. Meanwhile, Ning Fengji was completely immersed in the hidden weapons schematic book that Fu Yi had given him, unable to extricate himself. Slap. Fu Yi slapped him directly on the back of his head. What's going on? Ning Fengji looked up with a confused expression, and then, the moment he saw Fu Yi, a hint of burning passion appeared in his eyes. Wonderful. This is truly wonderful. Your Excellency Fu Yi, are you really going to give this schematic book to me? Ning Fengji was somewhat incoherent as he spoke. One had to know that he was a person with an extremely high standard, and the mechanical hidden weapons recorded on this schematic book, in his view, could completely kill an unguarded Spirit King powerhouse. And that last piece of extremely complex and exquisite hidden weapon was very likely an item used to deal with titled Douluo level powerhouses. At this moment, he couldn't help but use an honorific when addressing Fu Yi, and even his breathing became a bit heavy. Fu Yi looked at the other party with a helpless expression, then turned his gaze toward the cat girl. The meaning was, "I am leaving, shouldn't you also take your people and go?" Who tilde. Ning Fengji let out a long sigh of relief and finally calmed his mind. Great kindness need not be thanked in words. If you have any needs in the future, just ask. As long as I, Ning Fengji, have it, you can come and take it from me at any time. Ji Yurong, that rough fellow, witnessed all of this. He was very confused as to why the sect master would be interested in these drawings filled with complex characters and pictures. He didn't understand, but he didn't ask, because that would make him look stupid. At this time, the cat girl and her companions also heard how Ning Fengji addressed Fu Yi. "Your Excellency. Titled Douluo. Alright, little cat girl, we should go too. In the afternoon, after returning to Tianshui Academy, the little girl Princess Shui Kei was the first to notice Fu Yi, who had just returned. Because she did not need to participate in the afternoon's actual combat training, she was currently practicing yoga under the shade of a tree. It wasn't that Princess Shui Kei wasn't allowed to join the actual combat training, it was mainly that she preferred being logistical support over fighting. After all, after consuming the immortal herb, her talent was no longer much weaker than the members of the Tianshui team. Big brother Fu Yi. Princess Shui Kei, this little loli who was 1.45 meters tall, was not slow at all when she ran. In just the blink of an eye, she had arrived at his side, and then, with a pounce like a hungry tiger, she threw herself into Fu Yi's arms. And this scene stunned the cat girl who was standing behind him. Cat girl, what is the situation? Why is this a bit different from what she imagined? The cat girl's initial imagination, a house like an iron cage, extravagant furniture, a room without sunlight, and herself being tied up with iron chains, becoming a toy for the other party to vent his desires and play with at will. Chapter 130, you were bought too. What a coincidence. So was I. Hey, brother Fu Yi, why are you wearing the red-faced mask that sister Yue made for you? Princess Shui Kei was very confused. After all, brother Fu Yi was so handsome, why would he want to cover his face? Well, I went for a stroll around the auction house. After all, I've emptied out your emperor father's 5 billion gold coin inventory. It would be a bit awkward if they recognized me. Fu Yi said this, and besides, he also wanted to experience the feeling of being a rich person. This kind of inhumane, lavish way of spending money really made him feel quite happy. Bleh, he's not my dad at all. He even mortgaged his own biological daughter to brother Fu Yi. Thinking of this, Princess Shui Kei felt uncomfortable. After all, being sold off by her own father right in front of the buyer, what girl would feel good about that? However, she was quite lucky. Not only did she know this creditor, but he was also very handsome and gentle. That uncle of yours isn't a good thing either. Back then, he acted disrespectfully for his age and even tried to lay a hand on your sisters. However, I've heard that your eldest brother seems to miss you quite a bit. Do you want me to find some time to accompany you back to see him? Over the past half year or so, he had been pestered by that stinky girl, Qian Runshui. Every time he went to find Bibi Dong to do bad things, she would be in the spirit hall 9 times out of 10. Unlike the original story, Qian Renzu's feelings toward Bibi Dong were now like those for a real sister. And after that incident with Fu Yi, plus the old poison master Dugu both secretly poisoning him, Shui Yi's body was becoming increasingly frail. So much so that Qian Ren Shui was now constantly taking over various affairs within the royal family. On the other side, inside the Heaven Do Royal Academy, the stout Yu Xiaoging was letting out bursts of groans inside a dense little grove. At this moment, the inside of the small grove was lined with burly men, each of them was strong and sturdy, panting like oxen. Big brother, this is the Heaven Do Royal Academy. Isn't it a bit to dig a hole and come in? Ahem, the 20,000 gold coins have already arrived in the account. Ali Ge, let's do it, brothers. The sky was approaching dusk, and Yu Xiaogong's eyes were filled with resentment. He naturally knew who had sent these people. Bibi Dong, I hate you. I hate you. Unfortunately, he was currently only a level 24 spirit grandmaster, and his spirit ability was just farting. He was completely unable to resist these guys. To actually insult our most respected supreme pontiff, that deserves punishment. Third brother, go and plug his mouth. You must know that ever since Yu Xiaoging joined the Heaven Do Royal Academy, he could be said to be partying night after night, day after day, living in decadence. Whenever they caught an opportunity, this group of people would sneak in through a pre-dug hole. For some unknown reason, the security system here did not notice them. However, the actual situation was inside the central office of the Heaven Do Royal Academy. Old Meng, don't you think what we're doing is a bit underhanded? A trace of reluctance appeared on Bai Baoshan's face. Sigh tilde, there's no other way. The academy can't even pay wages now. If it weren't for that lord sending us a stack of cash privately, do you think we could live so comfortably? Meng Shenji also had a helpless look on his face. There was no help for it, she gave too much. Moreover, he couldn't stand Yu Xiaogong's style. Someone with no strength, no intelligence, and no looks, who only relied on connections to sneak in as a teacher, he really wanted to expel him. Old Bai, we are also forced into this. As the saying goes, a penny can stump a hero. Let's just turn a blind eye and pretend we don't see it. Jilin also expressed his stance. Inside Tianshui Academy. Brother Fu Yi, who is she? She's so tall, is she a new sister who joined the academy? Princess Shui Ke was put down from Fu Yi's arms and then she turned her gaze to the little cat girl standing in front of her. I was. The little cat girl looked at the little girl in front of her with a nervous face. She could tell that the girl in front of her seemed even younger than herself, but she is a new addition to our Tianshui team. However, like you, she will only be responsible for our team's logistics work from now on. Didn't your sister referee Dodo go to Spirit City for training? This little girl can just help you share some of the pressure. The Tianshui team's logistics work was just delivering juice and towels during training, occasionally preparing medicinal baths and such. The rest of the time was for her own cultivation and learning massage techniques as well as yoga training. After all, the only training time they had every day was those 2 hours. Delivering juice and towels, or preparing a medicinal bath, she could also get in and soak herself. Really, has our team's logistics added another new big sister? Princess Shui Ke's eyes shone with happiness at this moment. After all, logistics was a bit dull. When referee Dodo was there before, the two of them could chat. Now that referee Dodo had gone to Spirit City, she was the only one left in logistics. It was very boring without anyone to talk to. The small, 1.45 meter tall Princess Shui Ke walked straight up to the little cat girl, who was about 1.6 meters tall. Although she was short, Princess Shui Ke's aura was much stronger than the little cat girl's. Big sister, what's your name? My name is Princess Shui Ke, and I'm a logistics staff member for the Tianshui team. Welcome to the team. Seeing the enthusiastic Princess Shui Ke, the little cat girl was stunned for a moment, but she still stammered out her name. My name is Little Cat Girl, and I am a slave bought back by Master from the auction house. After hearing Little Cat Girl's words, Princess Shui Ke's pupils were filled with disbelief. She then cast her gaze toward Fu Yi, seemingly wanting to know what the situation was with this big sister. Well, she was indeed bought back by me from the Heaven Do auction house. However, this little girl is a bit rebellious, so I just gave her a little punishment, that's all. Actually, there was no need to hide this matter. The reason he didn't say it just now was mainly because he was considering the little cat girl's feelings. After all, joining the academy with the status of a slave would, more or less, make her feel uncomfortable. However, since she brought it up herself, there was no need for Fu Yi to hide it for her. So you were also bought back by brother Fu Yi. Hearing this, Princess Shui Ke was even more excited. You must know that she herself was also bought back. Upon hearing Princess Shui Ke's words, Fu Yi's face turned black immediately. Can't this little girl speak properly? This made him sound like a human trafficker kidnapping young girls. What does that mean? The little cat girl was also stunned after hearing the little girl's words in front of her. What did she mean by, also? To tell you the truth, I can also be considered bought back by brother Fu Yi. It's just that my former dad owed brother Fu Yi money and ended up using me to offset 500 million gold coins. By the way, for how much money were you bought back by brother Fu Yi? Chapter 131, Heaven-defying Princess Shui Ke, the proud 500 million gold coin. Heaven-defying Princess Shui Ke, heaven-defying remarks. I. Little cat girl Zhang Jing said 3 eyes in a row, but couldn't manage to blurt out the fourth word. Sister, are you sure being mortgaged for 500 million gold coin is something worth being proud of? Fu Yi, could it be that I broke her? Why are this little girl's thought processes so peculiar now? Indeed, Fu Yi was speechless, truly and utterly speechless. Princess Shui Ke, I'm worth 500 million, I'm proud. How much are you worth? I was bought by Master for 3.5 million gold coin. Helpless, very helpless, utterly helpless. The little cat girl had never encountered such an absurd thing. At this moment, she was wondering if all the girls here had been bought from the outside by this person wearing a red mask. Fine, you little girl, you only know how to cause trouble for me. Alright, I'll leave this little cat girl for you to teach. Fu Yi pinched her exquisite and cute cheeks, and Princess Shui Ke snatched the mask right off Fu Yi's face. Mwah tilde. Without any warning, she leaned in and gave him a kiss. Hee, don't worry brother Fuyi, Princess Shui Ke guarantees to complete the mission. The mask was removed, the seal was lifted, and the beauty level bestowed by the system was no joke. Well, then you should take good care of her. If this little cat girl doesn't listen, just come to me. At this time, the little cat girl also looked up at Fuyi. Because of her timidity, she didn't see him clearly, but she felt he seemed quite handsome. For this little cat girl, the only instruction Fuyi gave in her slave seal was that she must not harm him or the other girls in any form. Like Zhu Zuyun back then, Fuyi gave her the greatest degree of freedom, she would lack for nothing in terms of food, clothing, or shelter. However, Zhu Zuyun was very sensible and smart back then, and after joining the team, she got along well with the girls. Later, Fuyi removed her slave seal. After all, she had become his woman, and it wasn't good for her to keep wearing a slave seal. But if Zhu Zuyun had not listened and had kept trying to escape back then, Fuyi would have made her a real slave. This little cat girl is the same. Fuyi could understand if she didn't listen at the beginning, but if she continued to be disobedient, Fuyi would not let her off easily. After all, he never considered himself a saint. For ordinary girls, Fuyi truly couldn't bring himself to force them, but for the slaves he bought, Fuyi wouldn't treat them like ordinary girls. Slaves should look like slaves. He could give them equal and fair treatment, but that was on the premise that they lived well and didn't cause trouble. After all, if she had been auctioned off by those nobles, the reality would only have been worse. As for being bought by Ning Fengji, do you think that old guy Ning Fengji is a good person? How many people who can manage such a large sect are kind enough to spend money just to help others find their daughters? It's just because they have profit to gain. Of course, Fuyi is the same. The world is big, and there are many girls. Although he couldn't take them all, he had to use some means when he met someone he liked. In the evening, the night was quiet. Fuyi lay alone in his room to rest. You ask where his wives went. Please watch the VCR. Inside the little cat girl's dormitory. Wow, little cat girl Zhang Jing's ears are so soft and fun to pet. Shui Yuer's cheeks showed a touch of excitement. After all, petting a cat is the most comfortable thing. Yeah, little cat girl Zhang Jing's figure is also very good, although not as great as sister Zhu Zuyun's. Yu Hera was full of curiosity, gesturing at the little cat girl's body and comparing it with Zhu Zuyun's. Such beautiful eyes, blue and green, they look so good. Wu Ling was also curiously looking at her from the side. Little cat girl Zhang Jing's tail is really fun to pet, just like a real cat's tail. Du Guyan was constantly stroking the little cat girl Zhang Jing's tail, and as she delved deeper, she gradually reached the base of her tail. Sister, you can't touch there. The little cat girl Zhang Jing sat in the middle of the girls with a blushing face. This was the first time she had seen so many beautiful and cute girls. It's okay, let sister touch it, sister Du Guyan will look after you later. Du Guyan pulled her into her arms, and the little cat girl Zhang Jing felt Du Guyan's strong heartbeat. Ying. A cat's tail cannot be touched, but Du Guyan had touched it. At this moment, the little cat girl Zhang Jing felt as if she had been electrocuted, the hair on her body stood on end, and the fluff on her two animal ears also straightened. Little cat girl Zhang Jing is so cute, how about sleeping with sister Du Guyan tonight? Sister Du Guyan, you're cheating. Don't be like that, let Yu Hero and little cat girl Zhang Jing sleep together tonight. Until late at night, this group of little girls finally tired themselves out. After all, there was an extra little sister with cat ears and a cat tail, and each of them was very curious and excited. And the little cat girl Zhang Jing never dreamed that these older and younger sisters would not mock or look down on her after learning that she had been bought. On the contrary, none of them cared about her background or talent. Compared to her previous life, this created a huge contrast. You know, she had been the least favored in her family before. The only one who loved her was her mother, even her father looked down on her. But the good days didn't last long. Her father became addicted to gambling. In just half a year, he lost all the family's money, and in the end, she was reduced to being sold as a female slave in an auction house, and the mutation of her spirit became a selling point to increase her value. Late at night, Du Guyan, who was sleeping with her, was very life-chi when she saw the handprint on her butt and asked her the reason, but the answer she got left her laughing and crying. So you wanted to escape and resist at the beginning, and were spanked by that bad guy Fuyi. The little cat girl didn't say a word after hearing Du Guyan's words, perhaps because she knew she was wrong, but that had indeed been her instinctive reaction at the time. Little sister, looking at the facts, what you did wasn't a problem, but you may not know that this bad guy Fuyi is a person with principles. Du Guyan, as the second big sister among the girls besides Shui Binger, also began to tell her some things about Fuyi. It can be said that he bought you perhaps just because he thought you were pitiful and wanted to bring you back to live in Tianshui Academy. As a result, you made such a fuss that he was unhappy. After all, he was kind-hearted, but you returned kindness with enmity. You know, with the particularity of your body, even if you ran away, do you really think you could have been safe? Listening to Du Guyan's words, the little cat girl Zhang Jing also began to silently review what had happened today. What a pitiful, silly sister. You need to understand the concept of 3.5 million gold coin. As a result, he had just rescued you and you wanted to escape the next second. It's no wonder this bad guy was life-chi. Chapter 132 Continental Advanced Spirit Master Competition. Du Guyan was whispering in her ear, and little cat girl Zhang Jing also felt that she might have overreacted. After all, although the other party was life-chi, he only tore her clothing that covered her body, spanked her, and didn't actually touch her, and even gave her a set of clothes afterward. Sister Yanzi, I will go apologize to Master tomorrow. You don't need to call that bad guy Master. Let me tell you, you just need to live well here, often find these sisters of yours to play with, and occasionally act cute or coquettish toward that bad guy, and that will be enough. After all, this bad guy isn't the type of man who can't walk when he sees a girl. If you don't initiate, he won't touch you. Hearing Du Guyan's words, little cat girl Zhang Jing's cheeks instantly turned red. Sister Yanzi. Upon hearing Du Guyan's words, a blush appeared in the little cat girl's eyes. In her view, how could a girl as beautiful and powerful as Du Guyan know about these things? Could it be? Shish tilde, you just arrived. Knowing too much is actually not good, so let's go to sleep now. In the end, Douluo went down the path of petting the cat and never looked back, and the little cat girl became their third group pet after Princess Shui Kei and referee Dodo. After all, who could refuse a cute cat-eared girl preparing juice and medicinal baths for you? A beautiful day begins in the morning. In Fu Yi's room, Xiao Wu, Rian, and Erlong, these three generals, had all been defeated by Fu Yi. The three, who wanted to play a wheel war, ultimately lost to Fu Yi due to exhaustion, but for Fu Yi, who had been galloping on the battlefield all night, this was just child's play. In a blink, 2 months passed in an instant. The Continental Advanced Spirit Master competition was about to open. The Continental Advanced Spirit Master Academy competition was the largest spirit competition in the Spirit Masters world, initiated and hosted by the royal families of the two great empires, Heaven Do and Star Luo, and co-hosted by Spirit Hall. The strength of the participants was second only to the Spirit Hall Elite Selection competition. Among the rules, there were several that must be followed. First, the students sent by the participating academies must be under 25 years of age and must be able to maintain a team of 7 people for every match. Second, during the competition, the purpose should be friendly sparring, avoiding injury to opponents as much as possible. Deaths were strictly prohibited. Once there is an act of killing an opponent, the academy will not only bear the corresponding losses but will also be expelled from the Spirit Master competition. Fu Yi was currently in the academy talking to this group of little girls about matters related to the Continental Advanced Spirit Master competition. Before the official competition, we will go through several rounds of preliminaries, and the preliminary competition will be conducted in division slots. Among them, on our Heaven Do Empire side, with Heaven Do City as the center, within the Heaven Do Empire, all Advanced Spirit Master academies that do not belong to other kingdoms or duchies will conduct their preliminary matches in the Heaven Do City division slot. The Advanced Spirit Master academies of each kingdom and duchy will conduct their preliminary matches according to their national divisions. The Heaven Do Empire has a total of 4 kingdoms and 1 duchy. That is to say, counting the Heaven Do City division slot, there will be a total of 6 preliminary competition division slots on the Heaven Do Empire side. Except for one team that has already been guaranteed a spot in the finals, these 6 division slots will compete for 15 qualification spots. Among them, because there are many Advanced Spirit Master academies in the Heaven Do City division slot, and it is a division slot directly under the Empire, there will be 5 qualification spots. The other 4 kingdoms and 1 duchy will each have 2 qualification spots per division slot. The situation in the Star Luo Empire is almost the same as in the Heaven Do Empire. That is to say, through the preliminary competition, there will be 30 Spirit Master teams entering the next stage. These 30 teams will all participate in the finals. But before participating in the finals, there is a promotion match. The so-called promotion match is actually a ranking match for the teams that have already entered the finals. The order of appearance in the finals is determined according to the ranking order. Hearing Fu Yi's words, a glimmer of light appeared in Xiao Wu's eyes. Under 25, brother Fu Yi, does that mean Xiao Wu can also go up and join the fun? Although she was a teacher, her age met the criteria. Calculated by human age, she was only just 23 or 24 years old this year. It completely fits, okay. Shui Binger and the others, nabla. This group of little girls was dumbfounded. Teacher Xiao Wu can also compete. Ahem, Xiao Wu, in our Tianshui team, everyone takes turns to compete. You are already a teacher, you can't compete with your own students. Fu Yi was so helpless. What is this girl Xiao Wu thinking? Currently, the lowest in their team is a level 45 Spirit Ancestor, and generally above Spirit King. They already had Invincible Hard Strength, and now you, a level 98 Peak Super Douluo, also want to go up and play a few rounds. And the little girls below also started discussing among themselves. Sister Binger, what is Sister Xiao Wu's cultivation level now? Du Guyan was a bit confused. She came later, and although Xiao Wu was a teacher here, she had never seen her release a spirit ring. Teacher Xiao Wu is a level 98 Peak Super Douluo. If she goes up. Shui Binger thought for a moment, then finally gave up thinking. Sigh, Invincible, let's just slack off, sisters. No way, a Super Douluo playing in the Spirit Master competition. If she could lose, it would definitely be a rigged match. 3 minutes later. Xiao Wu, is that so, alright. Tilde. After hearing her self-recommendation being ruthlessly rejected, Xiao Wu drooped her rabbit ears and leaned against Fu Yi. And the faces of Shui Binger and the others also revealed a look of disappointment. Tianshui Academy girls, damn, the official cheat was actually banned. Fu Yi. Seriously, can you even play if you don't ban Xiao Wu? A Super Douluo bullying Spirit Ancestors and Spirit Kings is more or less inappropriate. There is 1 week left until the start of the Continental Advanced Spirit Master competition. During this time, everyone should rest well and conserve energy. As for the selection of participants, we will continue to use the old method, randomly grouping and sending them up. You have to know that the current Tianshui team has as many as 11 members. If you are unlucky, you might not even be able to get on stage by the finals. On the other side, inside Heaven Do Royal Academy. According to my inside information, the reward for the champion of this Continental Advanced Spirit Master competition is likely 3 extremely high-quality 10,000-year spirit bones. We must get our hands on them. As the deputy captain of the current Heaven Do Royal Academy, Tang Chuan was passionately telling everyone, and when Yu Tianeng and the others heard Tang Chuan say that the champion's reward this time was actually 10,000-year spirit bones, their eyes also gleamed with light. Xiao Chuan, are you sure your information is accurate? Although there was some excitement on Yu Tianeng's face, he knew very well that with Tang Chuan's status, it was impossible for him to know such important intelligence in advance. For him, who was a god king reincarnated, all information on the continent could not escape his wise brain. He was the god of wisdom Tang San. Chapter 133, Chatting about Ning Fengji's dirt. It was the afternoon, the best time for a nap, and a rare moment of leisure for Fu Yi in his day. He didn't need to worry about the Continental Advanced Spirit Master competition at all, since after Du Guyan, 3 more Spirit Emperors had appeared in his team. Shui Binger, Shui Yuer, and Shui Wu were the big sisters of the Tianshui team, and with the aid of the immortal herb, their speed to cultivate was like riding a rocket. Zhu Qing, Wu Ling, and Meng Yiren had already reached the peak of the spirit ancestor realm at level 49, and even Ning Rongrong, the weakest in the team, now had the strength of a level 47 spirit ancestor. The rest of the little girls had all reached the Spirit King level, and Du Guyan's strength had now reached the peak of the Spirit Emperor at level 69, just one step away from the Spirit Saint realm. Referee Dodo and Princess Shui Kei had not slacked off on their cultivate after eating the immortal herb, and their current strength was far greater than before. As for that little cat girl, Fu Yi did not give her an immortal herb. After all, immortal herbs were for his wives, and her current status was just a maid. Little cat girl current favorability 85.6%. Fu Yi didn't know what was going on. He had left her alone for 3 months, but her favorability kept shooting up. Of course, maybe it was because he had given her a stable and comfortable living and learning environment, making her grateful in her heart. Knock, knock, knock. A light knocking sound came from the door, and Fu Yi naturally knew who it was. Come in. Hearing Fu Yi's voice, the person knocking outside the door seemed to stand there stunned, or perhaps standing there thinking, before slowly pushing the door open. Not taking a nap in the middle of the afternoon, what are you doing here? Little cat girl. That's right, the person who came was the little cat girl he had bought from the Heaven Do auction house 3 months ago. Fu Yi was currently with his back to her, lazily lying on the large brown-black sofa filled with sunlight, sunbathing. With a spirit master's physique, the ultraviolet rays of the sun would not harm his skin at all, so Fu Yi loved to lie on the soft and comfortable sofa to sunbathe at noon. The little cat girl wanted to say something, but didn't seem to know where to start. If you have something to say it. If not, go back and cultivate and rest. In this Tianshui Academy, I will not restrict your personal freedom. For Fu Yi, he already had 2 big cats, and in terms of figure and appearance, they were much higher than the little cat girl. Fu Yi didn't know what she was thinking, but as long as she didn't think about escaping and stayed safely in the academy to cultivate, Fu Yi didn't want to force her to do anything. In the future, he might go to other parallel universes of Douluo, and the only ones he could take with him were his wives. Self-reflecting, apart from that blunder with A Wu, he hadn't forced any girl. Willing is willing, unwilling is unwilling. Perhaps Zhu Zuyun only did that to survive, but feelings grow over time. They had been together for almost 2 years, and they were very familiar with each other. As for this little cat girl, after the series of events 3 months ago, Fu Yi's expectations for her had become not very high. Fu Yi rarely hid the fact that he had girlfriends, but Meng Yiren and Wu Ling didn't know. The 2 of them only knew that he was a couple with their Xiao Wu, but they didn't know that their good sisters had already fallen. The little cat girl did not choose to leave after hearing Fu Yi's words, her mouth slightly open as if she wanted to speak. After a long time, Master. Fu Yi didn't chase her away just because she was standing there, just quietly lying there sunbathing. I want to apologize to you. The little cat girl's voice was a bit hurried, and it was obvious that her emotions were fluctuating greatly at this moment. Without too many words, expressed a lot of meaning. Master, The little cat girl knew very well that she had nothing to give Fu Yi, except. If there's nothing, go back and rest. Your situation is similar to that little girl Princess Shui Kei. She has a jerk father, and you have a gambling father. Fu Yi's words were exceptionally flat, as if he were talking about some ordinary things. If you want to regain your freedom and live a peaceful life, then cultivate well in this academy. In less than 5 years, I will take the team and leave here, and by then you will naturally regain your freedom. Hearing Fu Yi's words, disbelief and shock appeared in the little cat girl's eyes, but there was no joy in her eyes. Master, are you leaving here? The little cat girl's words were a bit stuttering at this moment, but Fu Yi did not respond to her statement. Then what about me? Master, are you going to abandon me? The little cat girl's blue and green eyes looked at Fu Yi, who was sunbathing leisurely, with some loss of focus. She didn't understand, why was this? That depends on your own wishes. To be honest, I don't like forcing others. Fu Yi turned over and looked back at the little cat girl standing behind his sofa. At this moment, noticing Fu Yi looking at her, her heterochromatic pupils became a bit hurried, and even her 2 little hands were at a loss. Treating you like that back then was just to make you honest and quiet. As for the golden mark on your brow, it was just to prevent you from hurting those little girls like Princess Shui Kei. Speaking of this, Fu Yi's tone changed. But you also have to remember, I bought you back simply because I saw you were quite pitiful, and it was a pity for you to fall into the hands of those decadent nobles, that's all. Listening to Fu Yi's words, the little cat girl fell into silence. She knew very well that what the other party said was true. Don't think that the middle-aged man who looks refined and brought your mother along is anything good. I have known him for more than 20 years. The only reason he was willing to bid 2 million gold coins against me was that your mother agreed to the request he made. Fu Yi's voice drifted into the little cat girl's ears, but at this moment, there was some confusion in her eyes. He is the sect master of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, a complete businessman. Do you really think he didn't continue bidding later because he didn't have money? No. He just felt that you weren't worth that price at all, and your mother probably signed your indentures with him, which is why he was willing to spend money to buy you. Chapter 134, The Proactive Little Cat Girl. Hearing this, the eyes of the little cat girl widened. She had to know that back then, her mother had been the one urging her to go with that middle-aged man. I heard every word you and your mother said clearly. Of course, that old fox Ning Fengji heard it clearly too, but as you saw later, he didn't dare to show any temper in front of me. Fu Yi stretched and slowly stood up, shifting his gaze toward the little cat girl. You come from a noble background, so you should understand the situation among nobles well. In super sects like the 7 treasure glazed tile school and the blue lightning tyrant dragon, the things that happen are just infinitely magnified versions of what happens among small nobles like you. But Tianshui Academy is still very clean. Apart from me, the team leader, everyone inside is a girl. After all, in Tianshui Academy, there was only his small team composed of a dozen wives, and many times, it was this group of young girls who made the first move on him. Yawning, a trace of sleepy tears appeared in the corners of Fu Yi's eyes. Just like what I told you at the auction house back then, behave yourself and don't cause trouble, and I won't do anything to you. Everyone has the right to choose, and here, I will give you enough fairness and freedom. He was a little sleepy. Although he was now a cheating demigod, his past life's habits made him feel sleepy at noon without realizing it. If there's nothing else, go back and rest, I'm going to take a nap too. Fu Yi issued an order to leave. After all, he still had to go to Bibi Dong's place tonight. Bibi Dong was now very close to becoming a god, and he knew the temperament of that old thing, the Asura god, very well. He estimated that Bibi Dong's ninth trial might be exceptionally simple, perhaps even allowing her to go to the god realm early to take over his position as the god of enforcement. When he returned to Spirit City after more than a decade, Bibi Dong had already told him about what happened inside the Hell Road. And because Bibi Dong had absorbed a full set of vicious beast spirit bones, plus consuming an immortal herb to sublimate her spirit, she had actually forcibly killed her way out of the illusion set by the Rakshasa. Later, when she left, she also saw the Asura god he had mentioned as she wished, and received his god position trial. However, over these years, Bibi Dong had maintained an unhurried, 100% steady attitude toward these trials. But during the 7th trial, the other party appeared directly and delivered the Asura god sword into Bibi Dong's hands, stating that her 7th trial was complete. Regarding this, Bibi Dong indicated that she still had to wait for her husband, so she couldn't complete the trials and go to the god realm so quickly. Therefore, she had dragged out the 8th trial for 7 or 8 years. With her current strength, completing the 8th trial would be very simple. The only reason she hadn't completed it until now was purely because she wanted to play here for a few more years. After all, she didn't know the content of the 9th trial. Just looking at the Asura god's eager expression when he delivered the divine artifact to her during the 7th trial, she was afraid the content of the 9th trial would be to have her go directly to the god realm to inherit the god position. Meanwhile, in the god realm, at the sea god temple. Achoo, achoo. The Asura god sneezed twice in a row, and the sea god leaned back slightly, his old face full of disgust. I say, Asura, you're at the god king level, can you still catch a cold? Hearing Poseidon's words, a trace of embarrassment appeared on the Asura god's face. Sigh, who's to say? But I feel like this isn't a cold, but rather someone cursing me. Asura rubbed his chin in thought for a while, then suddenly pulled out his belt. Holy crap, what are you doing? I am male, I like women. Even if I don't have a wife right now, I absolutely don't have those thoughts about you. Poseidon was startled by the Asura god's action. What was this for? Forcing a man? Damn it, it must be the Rakshasa whom I have trapped and roasting on the spirit refining fire cursing me. Otherwise, with my physical constitution, how could I possibly sneeze? Hearing the other party's response, the sea god Poseidon finally put his hanging heart to rest. After all, if this guy Asura god really went crazy, he wouldn't be able to handle it. The difference in strength between a god king and a level 1 god is not just a little bit. We don't have any entertainment facilities in the god realm. Do you want to come with me and whip that guy a couple of times with a belt for fun? Wouldn't that be a bit inappropriate? Just tell me, are you going or not? Going. Meanwhile, the Rakshasa god, who was tied up and being roasted evenly over the spirit refining fire, suddenly felt a chill in her heart. That's not right. Why do I have a bad premonition? Lower realm, Tianshui Academy, inside Fu Yi's single villa apartment dormitory. The little cat girl did not leave. At this moment, her eyes were fixed on Fu Yi, saying nothing. After a long time, rustle, rustle. A faint sound came from behind the sofa where Fu Yi was. Fu Yi thought she was preparing to leave and had just gotten into a comfortable position to take a nap. Master, please take me. I know I don't have anything to repay you with, but as long as you are willing to keep me by your side, even if you make me the lowest ranking concubine servant, the little cat girl is willing. The little cat girl knew very well that it was Fu Yi who had given her such a good life, she could not be ungrateful. Rather than gambling on a future with no direction, she was more willing to follow Fu Yi and leave together in the future, even if it was in the capacity of a servant or maid. As for why she thought this way, perhaps it was because Fu Yi hadn't done anything to her after buying her back, perhaps it was some things Princess Shui Kei and Du Guyan had told her about themselves, or perhaps it was because of Fu Yi's handsome looks. In her heart, if the master was truly willing to take her, even if it was just as a personal maid, she would follow the master wholeheartedly from now on. After hearing the little cat girl's words, Fu Yi slowly opened his eyes. It was evident that there was some surprise in his eyes. After all, when he first bought this little cat girl, she had dared to attack him. Although he had spanked her little bottom into 8 pieces at the time, it had made her calm down. Now that she was saying she wanted to voluntarily become his concubine servant, Fu Yi still felt a bit unreal. This feeling was as if he had coerced her, but he clearly hadn't threatened her at all. He had even promised to remove the brand on her after he left, giving her absolute freedom. Looking back at the little cat girl, she was now standing in front of him, stark naked with a blushing face, her body covered in bright holy light. Seeing this, Fu Yi raised an eyebrow, a trace of playfulness appearing on his cheeks. And the little cat girl, seeing Fu Yi's expression, felt a bit nervous. After all, every girl in the Tianshui team was not inferior to her at all, and the looks she was proud of in the outside world could only be considered average here. If there was one attractive point, it should only be her cat ears and cat tail, which had mutated due to her spirit mutation. At this moment, she plucked up the courage to walk with cat-like steps to the front of Fu Yi and slowly knelt down in front of the sofa. Master, I. Chapter 135, Competition Opening. At noon, the sky was clear and bright. In the dormitory of Fu Yi's private villa apartment at Tianshui Academy in Ningbing City. Fu Yi was sitting lazily on the sofa, his expression full of enjoyment. It was clear he felt extremely comfortable. Little cat girl was currently giving Fu Yi a localized massage. Her exquisite little face was flushed red, but she was extremely serious. Although it was her first time doing this, her movements were light and gentle. As little cat girl's movements became more skilled, her cheeks had long since turned crimson, and Fu Yi gave a thumbs up for her novel massage technique. Fu Yi stroked the cat while receiving her massage, feeling incredibly comfortable. One must know that a cat's ears are very sensitive. After being toyed with in Fu Yi's hands for a while, little cat girl, this little kitten, was actually becoming dazed and weak. Fu Yi was not some wicked capitalist who only made the kitty work without letting her eat. When the kitty was tired, she needed to rest. He smoothed the kitty's tail all the way down to the base, and at the moment he touched the very end, she collapsed onto the sofa as if she had been electrocuted. Thus, amid her expression full of confusion and helplessness, Fu Yi slowly picked her up. Fu Yi declared that as a diligent gardener, he would definitely nurture these flowers to grow more and more lush. Accompanied by the blooming of a bright, crimson flower, Fu Yi knew his work had officially begun. 1 week later, the Continental Advanced Spirit Master Competition qualifiers officially began. Because this was a major event that only occurred after a long time, Fu Yi had deployed over a dozen limit Douluo puppets at Tianshui Academy to protect the safety of the academy. Erlong and Rion had also come here to watch these young girls compete. The location of the Continental Advanced Spirit Master Competition was set within the Heaven Do Imperial City. After a week of deployment, it had been transformed into a luxurious competition venue. Erlong, Xiao Wu, and Rion were currently sitting in the best viewing spots in the luxurious VIP area watching the match. Because of the parasols, they didn't feel the heat, even though it was afternoon. Soon, all the participating teams arrived in an orderly fashion from outside the arena to the center of the field, and Tianshui Academy, led by Shui Binger, slowly walked out of the tunnel at this moment. One must know that Tianshui Academy's influence in the Heaven Do Imperial City was immense. They were the goddess group for young spirit masters across the entire continent. Due to special reasons, Fu Yi sat at the very top in a seat level with Ning Fengji, right next to the emperor of the Heaven Do Empire, Shui Yi, whom he had previously swindled out of 5 billion gold coins. Big brother Fu Yi, would you like to eat some grapes? Princess Shui Ke just peeled them. Hee hee, master, little cat girl has also prepared fruit juice for you. That's right, little cat girl and the former little princess of the Heaven Do Imperial family, Princess Shui Ke, had also been brought up by Fu Yi. They sat by Fu Yi's side, not only having exclusive, soft, elevated chairs, but also 2 small tables in front of them to hold fruits. Watching his daughter, whom he had sold off, chatting, laughing, and feeding grapes to Fu Yi, Shui Yi felt as miserable as if he had eaten excrement. Ning Fengji's gaze toward little cat girl revealed a hint of regret, but buying a cat girl for 3.5 million was truly not worth it. Not to mention that Fu Yi, who had outbid him, had recently swindled Shui Yi out of 5 billion gold coins, and besides, he simply couldn't afford to provoke the other party. However, whether it was a cat girl or not didn't matter to him at all now. What was important were the blueprints Fu Yi had given him back then. Recently, he had his trusted craftsmen in the sect manufacture the components in batches, and after assembling them himself, he had actually managed to create a few of the items. Just as he had thought, the weapons among them could completely be used to deal with spirit masters below the level of Spirit King. As for that Buddha's Fury Tang Lotus, which had been specially marked, he hadn't made it. For no other reason, although there were enough original materials, an accident occurred during assembly, and it actually exploded right in front of him. Fortunately, he had Ji Yu Rong guarding him at the time, otherwise, he would have likely perished on the spot from that blast. This precisely demonstrated the power of this kind of weapon. Although this thing was extremely complex to manufacture and could not be mass-produced at all, and could even only be used once. But this was a weapon capable of threatening titled Douluo-level powerhouses. According to Ji Yu Rong's description at the time, the explosion caused by an assembly error could completely kill an unprepared titled Douluo. And because of the uniqueness of his spirit, Ji Yu Rong had absorbed all the shockwaves from the explosion into a different dimension. Otherwise, with that blast, the secret room where Ning Fengji was located might have been directly blown to collapse. However, just producing the parts for that thing had taken over 2 months with a dozen workers rushing the work day and night. Now, the metal materials in his 7 treasure glazed tile school were only enough to make one more. But with the experience from last time, he believed that in 2 months, this ultimate weapon would be unveiled in his 7 treasure glazed tile school. And the production of various small hidden weapons such as the Zug crossbow and sleeve arrows had already gotten on the right track. He would equip the core disciples of the 7 treasure glazed tile school with full sets of hidden weapons, and by then, their self-preservation capabilities would definitely be greatly improved. Thinking this, a satisfied smile appeared on Ning Fengji's face. It was fortunate that he hadn't made an enemy of this pervert Fu Yi back then, otherwise, how could such a heaven-sent opportunity have fallen upon his 7 treasure glazed tile school? Very delicious. You 2 little girls should also sit down and rest for a while. I'll give you 2 a break during this period so you can have a good time for a few days. The overall strength of Tianshui team had already far exceeded all teams of the same level, then winning the championship was almost an inevitable result. Of course, there would inevitably be some people with ill intentions thinking about playing dirty outside the arena, but Fu Yi had placed 9 limit Douluo level black armored puppets in everyone's shadows. Even if Qian Daoliu came, he would be beaten up, and as for whether he could leave afterward, that remained to be seen. Meanwhile, Shui Xing, who was standing behind Shui Yi waiting, had an expression as if his mother had died, and the white beard on his face had completely fallen out, giving him an effeminate feel. Accompanied by the speeches from Shui Yi and Ning Fengji, the competition kicked off. The old fox Ning Fengji had originally wanted to take the microphone and let Fu Yi say a few words, but he was glared back by him with a single look. The MC on the side of the VIP platform announced loudly. The team drawn to face the Heaven Do Royal Academy second team will be the only match today. After winning, they will gain 1 point in advance, but after losing, they will be directly eliminated from the competition. Now, I will announce the draw results. First round of qualifiers, Kanghui Academy vs Zixing Academy. First round of qualifiers, Aokalan Academy vs Flame Brilliance Academy. First round of qualifiers, Heaven Do Royal Academy second team, against Tianshui Academy. Chapter 136, The Weak Heaven Do Royal Academy second team. As the other teams gradually departed, Shui Binger and the others were currently playing rock paper scissors to decide who would stay for the match. 3 minutes later, the 4 little girls hopped and skipped away from the area. It was clear that they seemed quite happy. Then I guess I'll be the one leading the team for this match. Du Guyan watched as Shui Binger and Shui Wu left the arena hand in hand, and she had no choice but to take on the duties of team captain. After all, although she was the strongest, she respected the original team captain, Shui Binger, and the vice captain, Shui Wu. Since she had joined later and they were all sisters, she was happy to enjoy the leisure. However, now that they had left the field, she, the big sister, would naturally be the one leading the team. Sister Yan, let's go, and beat these sissies with one punch. Wu Ling's expression was full of excitement. After all, Fu Yi had told them that if they could win the championship in this tournament, he would give each of them a special reward. Although Wu Ling didn't understand, in her heart, as long as it was something brought out by big brother Fu Yi, it was definitely a good thing. Hee, I feel like we've already won. Wu Ling, look at those sissies from the Heaven Do Royal Academy second team on the opposite side. After seeing Sister Yan, they've all wilted like frostbitten cabbage. Soon, with the departure of the other teams, the master of ceremonies on the field began the announcement. Next, let us invite the Heaven Do Royal Academy second team to enter the arena. As his words fell, cheers erupted from the packed spectator stands. It was clear that these spectators seemed to enjoy watching such large-scale matches. In fact, there were a total of 5 arenas on the competition grounds, but the other 4 were not open today and were covered with thick black cloth. And next, it is time for our popular team, the Tianshui team members, to enter the arena. Accompanied by the master of ceremonies' high enthusiasm, the atmosphere of the entire venue was stirred up by him. Tianshui team. Goddesses. ... A sound like a mountain collapsing and a tsunami sweeping over came crashing down. It must be known that the members of the Tianshui team were all 1 in 10,000 beauties, and their own talents were astonishing, completely not losing to male geniuses of the same age. However, in this lifetime, because of Lu Erlong joining the Tianshui team, they were not short of money, and Han Rian did not need to make her students go out and show their faces for the sake of gold coins. But this couldn't stop the fact that the Tianshui team's reputation on the continent was simply too high. Shen Luyu and Yu Hera were very calm after seeing this scene of a vast sea of people. After all, they had experienced it before. And as Du Gubo's granddaughter, Du Guyan was also very indifferent in responding to these cheers. However, the 3 little girls, Ning Rongrong, Wu Ling, and Zhu Qing, had never seen such a scene before. Although they were very nervous inside, they pretended to be calm and composed on the surface. Meanwhile, on the high platform, Heaven Do Empire Emperor Shui Yi. Sect Master Ning, I wonder which team you have confidence in to win the championship in this tournament. Shui Yi looked at Ning Fengji with great interest, and upon hearing Shui Yi's words, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. That would naturally be the Tianshui team. Hearing Ning Fengji's answer, the corners of Shui Yi's mouth twitched slightly. After all, his family fortune had been hollowed out by that pervert next to him because of Tianshui Academy, and now he trembled a little whenever he heard this name. Oh, I wonder what is the reason that makes you, my loyal subject. My daughter Ning Rongrong is in this team. ... Silence was the order of the evening. On the competition field, Du Guyan walked at the very front. The 7 people opposite her, upon seeing their opponent, were all trembling like mice seeing a cat. Big Sister Yan, I just came over to show my face, can we not hit the face? At this time, the captain of the Heaven Do Royal Academy second team, Shui Bang, bowed and cupped his hands towards Du Guyan with a fawning expression. Sure, if you forfeit now, I won't hit you. You should know that I have already withdrawn from the Heaven Do Royal Academy. Looking at this group of noble young masters and softies, Du Guyan didn't have a good temper in her heart. After all, things like forcibly abducting innocent women could only be considered minor matters for Shui Bang. The evil deeds he had committed were simply too numerous to count. Abduction, imprisonment, forcing good women into prostitution, she had heard her grandfather talk about such things many times. Just because he was the son of that old thing Shui Yi, he would only be grounded for a few days after such things were discovered. Big brother Shui Bang, we. One of the young men gesturing with an orchid finger looked at Shui Bang with a nervous expression. However, when facing his lackeys, Shui Bang revealed a completely different expression. We cannot forfeit. If we forfeit, the face of our royal family will be completely lost. Shui Bang knew very well that they couldn't win at all, but forfeiting in the first match was absolutely not allowed. Their second team represented the dignity of the Heaven Do royal family. Both sides take your positions, the match begins. Following the Master of Ceremonies announcement, the 7 members of Du Guyan's team instantly had their spirits possess their bodies, and their respective spirits appeared on their bodies. 9 treasures turn out glazed light, first is power, second is speed, third is spirit. Ning Rongrong did not drag her feet at all, and 2 buffs were cast almost instantly. Zhu Zuqing and Shen Luyu, one an agility attack type and the other a power attack type, instantly attacked the 7 people opposite them after receiving the speed buff. Behind them, their spirit rings were revealed, yellow, purple, 3-ring spirit venerable. Of course, this was also the cultivation level they revealed to avoid unnecessary trouble. After all, exposing their 10,000-year 4th spirit ring did not bring them any benefits. Seeing the 2 girls, Zhu Zuqing and Shen Luyu, carrying terrifying aura and about to rush to the front, the 7 of Shui Bang were actually scared into a huddle. After they came to their senses, they cast their spirit abilities and threw them at Zhu Zuqing and Shen Luyu. For a moment, the 2 of them were unable to get close directly. However, as 2 beams of light poured into the bodies of Du Guyan and Wu Ling, the next moment, 3 gorgeous spirit rings appeared behind Wu Ling. Yellow, purple, over-limit spirit rings. 3rd spirit ability, Yin and Yang displacement. With the possession of Wu Ling's spirit, the Yin and Yang Chaos Peacock, when the 7 opponents gathered together, a dark Taiji diagram appeared in front of Du Guyan, and under the feet of Shui Bang and his 7, a white Taiji diagram instantly rose up. Almost instantly, the 7 of Shui Bang were directly pulled to the front of Du Guyan. Before they could figure out the situation, Du Guyan had already finished charging her power. Accompanied by an illusory golden dragon shadow, she blasted it directly onto the 7 people of Shui Bang, and this battle had reached its end. Boom. The power of Douluo Yan's punch actually sent this group of noble disciples flying, causing the walls outside the arena to crack. Having done all this, Douluo Yan and the others casually clapped their hands and gathered together with relaxed expressions. Hee hee, I told you it wouldn't take 5 seconds. Chapter 137, Princess Shuike, Loving Father and Filial Daughter. Wu Ling looked at her good friend Ning Rongrong with a look of great emotion, while Ning Rongrong looked back at her good friend with a somewhat melancholy expression. Wu Ling, so your third spirit ability can actually perform group teleportation. I thought you could only teleport individuals. Ning Rongrong was unconvinced. After all, in previous battles, Wu Ling had only ever teleported single individuals. Who could have known she was capable of group teleportation? NYA, you have to admit defeat when you lose. Outside the arena, in the spectator stands, there was complete silence. Wait, what exactly just happened? They had only seen 2 girls instantly surround the opposing 7, then those 7 people instantly appeared in front of the team, and finally, they were knocked down with a single punch. Although today's match was just a warm-up, there was no need for it to be this fast. From his high seat, Ning Fengji saw his daughter, under Fu Yi's guidance, actually master the 9-orifice heart control to the level of the 7-orifice exquisite heart so quickly. To say he wasn't excited would be a lie. One must know that a year ago, Ning Rongrong had just barely entered the 3rd orifice. Now, she could actually boost at least 2 different powers for her teammates simultaneously. The MC commentating on the match was also stunned for a long time after seeing this scene. He had just shouted the start, and now he had to shout the end. This salary is way too easy to earn. Wow, big sister Yanzi is truly strong. She sent those sissies flying with a single punch. Little cat girl Zhang Jing couldn't help but exclaim after seeing this scene. Although Shui Yi was displeased after hearing Zhang Jing's words, he dared not erupt because Fu Yi was sitting right there. At this moment, Princess Shui Ke also nodded in full agreement. Although my former 3rd brother spends his days lingering in brothels, is unlearned and unskilled, understands no etiquette, and has no manners, his strength is truly weak too. Princess Shui Ke's words directly carved 2 deep bloody gashes into Shui Yi's already riddled body, and at this moment, Ning Fengji also looked at this former empire princess with eyes full of curiosity. After all, he might not believe others, but the words of a former empire princess still carried some weight. Really, although his strength is weak, is his character truly that unbearable? Little cat girl Zhang Jing was now interested too. After all, nobles were the same everywhere, but she hadn't heard much from her good friend about her former family affairs. I've heard many palace maids talk about him, but they all seem to despise my former 3rd brother. Plus, I've even seen my 3rd brother pass out in the royal garden with 2 deep dark circles under his eyes. With the dirt spilled by the former little princess, Princess Shui Ke, Ning Fengji, who was present, and Ji Yurong, who was watching the drama unfold from within the space, couldn't help but lament the extravagance and chaos of the royal family in their hearts. Although Ning Fengji secretly kept a few beautiful girls for his own amusement, he had helped their parents overcome financial crises, and they were all there voluntarily. Comparing the two, Ning Fengji felt that he was already a qualified gentleman. After hearing these things, Fu Yi just smiled and said nothing. After all, although he couldn't be counted as a heinous villain, he wasn't exactly a good person either. What's wrong with people visiting brothels? What's wrong with playing with their own palace maids? That was their family business. As long as it didn't affect him, Fu Yi couldn't be bothered to care about such trivial matters. As Princess Shui Ke spilled the beans about Shui Beng like a joke, Emperor Shui Yi's face had already turned black. However, when the other party wanted to speak up and stop Princess Shui Ke, a single look from Fu Yi made him sober up a bit. Shui Yi, that was close. I almost lost my head. In fact, Shui Yi inviting Fu Yi to sit here was just empty pleasantries, but what he didn't expect was that the other party actually came. And he even brought his own little daughter and the cat girl from the auction a while back. As the MC announced the victory of the Tianshui team, today's warm-up match officially ended. By this time, Princess Shui Ke had shifted the gossip from Shui Beng to Shui Yi. One must know that as the little princess once most doted on by Shui Yi, she possessed quite a bit of dirt on him. At this moment, she turned her gaze toward her former father, with a mischievous grin on her face. This white-bearded uncle, I have some more dirt on you here. Do you want to hear it? Ning Fengji. Ji Yurong. Holy crap. Spirit Hall Bishop Solace. Oh. Little cat girl Zhang Jing. Wow, fresh gossip about the emperor. Fu Yi. Tisk, interesting. Ahem, daughter, look, father. However, before he could finish his sentence, Princess Shui Ke directly interrupted him. This uncle, please don't try to establish a relationship. My bastard of a father kicked the bucket a year ago. I'm just a little orphan who only knows how to hide behind big brother Fu Yi now. After Princess Shui Ke said this, Shui Yi's originally pale old face visibly turned green, then purple, then black. My father kicked the bucket a year ago. This uncle don't try to establish a relationship. I am just a little orphan. Princess Shui Ke was playing the victim with every sentence, leaving everyone nearby stunned. It could be said that she was inflicting 800 points of damage on herself to deal 12,000 to the enemy. Alright, little K, although your father died early, you shouldn't talk about him like that. As the saying goes, the dead deserve respect. It's not good to keep bringing it up. As soon as Fu Yi spoke, critical hit times 2. At this moment, he picked up the 1.45 meter tall little lowly, Princess Shui Ke, into his arms, and then looked at Shui Yi with a gaze full of nuclear kindness, meaning that Princess Shui Ke was his person now, and if he dared to scold her today, he would dare to topple his imperial throne. At this moment, except for Shui Yi and Shui Xing, the others like Ning Fengji were holding back their laughter. There was no help for it. The Heaven Do imperial family, which couldn't even pay salaries nowadays, was indeed a bit of a mess. One must know that those 5 billion were the national treasury that Heaven Do had accumulated for 1,000 years, and it had been completely wiped out by Fu Yi in one fell swoop. Ahem, if there's nothing else, we should be going. The team is waiting for me to have a late-night snack. Old man Shui Yi, we'll see each other tomorrow. Saying this, Fu Yi put down Princess Shui Ke, who was sitting on his lap, and then leisurely left the scene with the 2 little girls. Your Majesty, the 7 treasure glazed tile school has matters to attend to today, so I shall take my leave first. Your Majesty, I also. A minute later, only Shui Yi was left on this high viewing platform, blowing in the cold wind. At this moment, he wanted to fly into a rage, but he was afraid of being heard by Fu Yi and the others who had just gone down. In the end, he had to swallow those filthy words back into his throat. However, just as Fu Yi left the Imperial City, he discovered that Bishop Solace of the Spirit Hall, who had been slacking off and watching the fun from behind, was still following him. Is there something you need? Fu Yi turned around to look at Bishop Solace following behind him, his golden eyes carrying a hint of malice. Chapter 138, New version of the 3 scumbags, Tang Hao plays wild. This is a letter the Supreme Pontiff asked me to deliver to you. Please take a look. Bishop Solace didn't even dare to breathe too loudly at this moment. After all, given the Supreme Pontiff's attitude toward Fu Yi, he didn't dare to show the slightest disrespect. Fu Yi opened the letter, only to find a single sentence inside, and also, a Supreme Pontiff token. Upon seeing the Supreme Pontiff token inside the letter, Bishop Solace knelt down immediately. Bishop Solace of Spirit Hall pays respects to you, my lord. 3 minutes later, Fu Yi returned to the Tianshui team. As for the letter Bibi Dong had asked that guy Bishop Solace to deliver to him, it basically said that he should use the main entrance when he comes to see her in the future. Use the main entrance when you come to see me in the future. That old thing, Qian Daoliu, won't dare to say anything. Damn it, why does this feel like a husband sneaking out to have an affair? After Fu Yi, Erlong, and the others finished dinner with the little girls at his Juxiang pavilion, they prepared to return to the hotel booked a month in advance to rest. After all, for the next month, they would be competing against those so-called geniuses outside every day. How could they manage without proper rest? As for Princess Shui Kei and the little cat girl, Zhang Jing, they just needed to eat well, drink well, and have fun. Fu Yi considered this month a long vacation for the two of them. If there was a match, they would follow Fu Yi to watch it. If there wasn't, Fu Yi would take them out for a stroll. Fu Yi, Xiao Wu, Lu Erlong, and Han Rian would each take 3 or 4 little girls out. After all, apart from Xiao Wu, who was a peak level 98 super Douluo, the other 3, Fu Yi included, were at the limit Douluo level. Coupled with so many limit Douluo level black armored puppets, it would be difficult for anything to happen to these little girls now. For the sake of fairness, the 4 of them would take turns watching over them. Fu Yi took Binger, Shui Wu, Princess Shui Kei, and Yue. Xiao Wu brought Wu Ling, Zhu Qing, and Rongrong. Han Rian followed with Shen Luyu, Yu Haro, and Meng Yiren. Erlong led Yanzi, little cat girl Zhang Jing, and Zhu Yun. It was divided perfectly. Fu Yi took 4, and each of them took 3. Anyway, there were many fun places in Heaven Do City. A large group of people would be too conspicuous, so splitting up like this looked much cleaner. After sorting out how to have fun the next day after the match at the dinner table, they returned to the booked hotel together. It was the same recipe, the same taste. Just like when the Tianshui team came to Heaven Do City for practical training, Fu Yi had booked the entire top floor. However, on their way back to their accommodation, they saw a very interesting scene. In Heaven Do, outside the hotel, the 3 scumbags are drunk by the roadside. God King Tang, visiting the brothel, gets slapped across the face outside. Please sing to the tune of Zombie. Smack. Even from a distance, Fu Yi could hear the loud sound of a slap across the face. Just as Fu Yi curiously looked not far away, guess what he saw? Ma Hongjun and Dai Mubai were actually drunk and passed out under the table. And in a dark alley not far away, 3 slightly thin figures were thrown out by 4 or 5 big men. PFFT, if you don't have money, don't come here to play. You 3 real losers, you want to spend a night of spring with our girls for 30 gold coins. Do you think we're beggars here? Following closely behind was a short and fat madam. She scanned the 3 people who were already struggling and unconscious with a sharp and mean gaze. HMPH, with just this little ability, you call yourselves spirit masters. Our girls had just warmed up and you were already done. Even if you are spirit masters, you are trash among spirit masters. The 3 of them are yours now. 1 person stays to guard the door. Don't let these penniless wretches into our shop to get freebies from our girls. As the madam walked into the dark alley with an arrogant air, the 5 men looked at each other, and the excitement in each other's eyes was visible. Boss, you go first. I'll watch the door. Call me when you're done. Old Fourth, you're always the most sensible. This time, you guys go first. As the boss, I should lead by example. As the few strong men dragged the 3 into the depths of the dark alley, Wu Ling and Shui Binger slowly spoke up. That looks like Tang San and Tang Chuan from the Great Spirit Arena in Soto City before, and the one next to them seems to be called Oscar. It seems so, but these kinds of people deserve it. Wu Ling and Shui Binger looked at each other, and the disgust they felt for them was visible in each other's eyes. As for where Flender and the others were, they were naturally drinking and chatting in a private room on the 2nd floor. The truth was that Oscar had instigated Tang Chuan to come out and play, and Tang Chuan felt it was doable, so he pulled in Tang San. Tang San didn't agree at first, but he couldn't resist his dear brother's persuasion, and later he called Ma Hongjun and Dai Mubai. These 2 were really too drunk and had forgotten that they no longer had that functionality, only remembering when they were helped to the 1st floor. The follow-up was that Oscar thought the price for whoring here was the same as in Soto City, but after finishing. Ahem. Douluo continent, the most improper Xuanwan continent, those who know, know. Let's go. Respect personal destiny and don't interfere with their unhealthy lifestyle. Fu Yi was truly helpless. He had basically never messed with Tang San and Tang Chuan, even if he did take action, it was because they provoked him first. Now Tang San was going to a brothel for a freebie. However, this reincarnation practicing God King Tang really had some tricks up his sleeve. First, he crippled Tang San's first spirit ability, and then he guided Tang San to go to a brothel. And Tang San was worthy of being a Buddha-level figure, slaughtering his own brother's first spirit ring, and then choosing a century-old one for him. Now these 2 living Buddhas were restricting each other, and Fu Yi felt that he didn't even need to make a move, they would wipe themselves out on their own. As for Tang Hao, that old guy, he was truly ridiculous. It was a marriage without any emotional foundation, and even the children were like they were picked up from a trash can. According to the tracker he left on Tang Hao, the other party was currently drinking in a tavern in the Star Luo Imperial City, thousands of kilometers away. Tisk, Tang San and Tang Chuan, these two turtles, were really successfully raised by the other party. On the other side, inside the Star Luo Imperial City, in a small tavern in a dark alley, Tang Hao casually took out dozens of gold coins. Although the clothes he wore were tattered, he was actually holding an alluring nightclub girl in his arms. Oh my, brother Rishan, you're so bad, so masculine tilde. The heavily made-up nightclub girl acted coquettishly in Tang Hao's arms, and upon hearing her voice, Tang Hao gulped down a mouthful of strong liquor. Ha 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 ha. That goes without saying. I, Tang Rishan, am the most virile man. Nightclub girl's inner thoughts. Damn it, if it weren't for the money compensation for mental distress, I wouldn't be held in the arms of a stinking beggar like you. Chapter 139, Instant.